The story begins with a young man waking up in a messy hotel bed with a girl by his side. At that moment, the young man rubs his eyes as he tries to understand what is happening. He then sits up startled and tries to remember how he ended up in that place. Looking back, the boy realizes he had a very intense night with a beautiful stranger. At that very second, his phone lights up and shows a message notification from his ex-girlfriend. The messages were from her demanding attention, but he remembers very well that the girl dumped him back in college. Because of this, the young man is confused by the tone of the conversation since she had blocked him a long time ago. Then, when checking the date on the device's calendar, a huge realization hits him. Shock takes over his face as he realizes he has actually traveled back in time. In his past life, his ex humiliated him and dumped him for a wealthy man, saying he was worthless. That left him devastated, showing that reality had crushed his love in a cruel way. Back in the present, he deduces that the girl only messaged him to ask for money as a gift. Laughing at himself, the protagonist realizes how blind and foolish he used to be because of this fake love. Without wasting time, he turns the tables and sends a message breaking things off once and for all. The young man refuses to be betrayed again and claims he does not have a single shred of regret. Suddenly, a blue screen pops up congratulating him on his attitude and activating a tycoon system. The shock is immediate when he notices that he received the classic cheat package for someone who gets a second chance at life. The screen shows a passive income per second, generating an absurd fortune every month without any effort. In addition, the system offers a novice package, and he quickly accepts to open the gift. As a reward, the young man gets millions in his account along with a luxury car and a user-friendly scanner. The transfer goes through right away, confirming everything, but that scanner leaves him quite intrigued. While he was thinking about the skill, the beautiful woman beside him grumbles in her sleep. Taking advantage of this moment, he decides to test his new tool on her to see how it works. The display reveals her name as Xiao and shows her friendship and intimacy levels. He understands most of the attributes but gets curious about her relationship status. Upon clicking, he discovers that it marks intimate relationships, indicating that he was her very first. The night before, the young man was drinking at a bar because he was sad about his ex's disdain. It was there that he met the young woman, who was also trying to drown her own sorrows in a drink. Sighing, he deduces that the girl gave herself to him out of sadness and not love at first sight. Suddenly, the woman wakes up blushing and quite startled, interrupting our hero's thoughts. The young woman notices his attitude and comments that he sighs and shakes his head, just like when he was drinking, calling him a natural charmer. At that, the young man flashes a confident smile while looking at the beautiful woman lying in bed. He approaches her, denying that he was thinking about the past, while the blonde asks the reason for so many sighs at dawn. With a charming tone, the protagonist replies that he only regretted not meeting her sooner, leaving the girl super embarrassed. At that moment, the system reappears, giving rewards for his quick actions, yielding a critical card and a new skill. The young man is completely surprised to realize that the tycoon system also works for this type of situation. Without wasting time, he activates his new skill and goes in for an intense kiss, wanting to make the young woman feel out of this world. The woman pulls back in shock, noticing that the feeling of that kiss was totally different and much better than the previous ones. But the charmer soon warns her with a mischievous smile on his face that the real fun was just beginning. With that, the beautiful girl completely surrenders to the young man's charms, experiencing an unforgettable night of pure romance. The next day, the boy wakes up stretching peacefully until he notices a large amount of cash tossed across the bed. He looks at the bills, deducing that the woman left him about 10,000, thinking he was some kind of paid companion. At that, the young man finds a note where she thanks him for the great night and states that it was the payment for good service. While getting dressed, the young man finds her attitude curious but soon sets that aside to focus on the new card gained from the system. The display points out that the item multiplies expenses, generating a large refund and motivating him to buy a multi-million-dollar vehicle. Looking out at the city, he promises not to waste this second chance, swearing to become the greatest tycoon this world has ever seen. Then, the protagonist walks through the streets, planning to gather initial capital to invest in major technology stocks. Getting close to his new sports car, he decides that using the money to buy real estate would be the best move at the moment. Suddenly, a very attractive woman appears leaning against his vehicle, asking seductively if he was the owner of the car. Without showing much emotion, the young man just confirms her question and asks what the girl wanted from him. The young woman immediately makes a pitiful face, asking for an urgent ride, claiming that a pipe had burst at her house. Instantly, the scanner is activated, revealing that the young woman has already had 28 partners and has a very high intimacy level. The young man finds that high level of friendship right off the bat bizarre and decides to just walk right past, ignoring the girl. Once inside the vehicle, he denies her a ride, saying that sharing space with 28 other guys would be a bit too crowded for him. With that, The hero accelerates his luxury machine, leaving quickly and leaving the gold digger eating dust in the middle of the street. The woman is indignant and wonders how that stranger knew exactly the number of guys she had gone out with. Still confused, she tries to fix a hair to hide her embarrassment while an elderly plumber walks right past her. The old man overhears the talk about a leak and offers to unclog her pipes, causing immediate disgust in the young woman. The girl hugs her purse defensively, finding the situation absurd, and insults the worker, calling him gross. Confused, the gentleman defends his job, questioning why only younger guys should be allowed to provide that type of service. The people around begin to laugh at the gold digger's face while the old plumber walks away confused. A young man approaches the gentleman and explains, laughing, that the pipes she wanted cleaned were of a completely different kind. The elderly man finally understands the situation while the girl kicks a trash can, dying of embarrassment. At that, the young woman grumbles furiously at her lack of luck while rubbing her foot, which hurts from the impact. Changing scenes, we see a real estate agency where the real estate agents observe a yellow sports car approaching. A veteran agent thinks it is just a rich boy showing off and sends the rookie named Xiao to deal with him. The clerk gets nervous about going alone, but her superior tells her to just follow standard procedure. With a gentle smile, the young woman introduces herself and asks how she can help our protagonist. Jiang Cheng says he is looking for a house, and the girl asks about his budget and preferences. Meanwhile, the veteran smokes a cigarette, thinking the rookie would learn a lesson about choosing clients. The young woman shows some small and cheap apartments, but the young man asks to see places in the 1 million range. Totally surprised by the request, the agent quickly agrees and starts researching the options. Minutes later, she asks rather awkwardly if the tycoon has any requirements regarding the property's location. The hero asks for areas that are easy to rent out and notices that the girl is indeed very new and inexperienced in the business. Using his scanner, he discovers that the young woman is 19 years old and has never had intimate contact with anyone. Soon, the clerk shows well-located properties with prices ranging from 800,000 to over 1 million. At that moment, the young man remembers that his critical card has a limit of exactly 1 million. He realizes that if he buys something cheaper, he would end up losing a lot of money on the system's multiplier bonus. So he proposes to buy 5 houses at once if the girl can lower the price to exactly 1 million each. The real estate agent's eyes widen, unable to believe what she was hearing. The young man confirms that he will pay for everything in cash and will even leave the properties for her to manage the rentals. Thinking about the giant commission, the young woman is overjoyed and promises to get that discount no matter what. Outside, the veteran overhears the conversation and almost cries with regret for having dismissed the boy. An hour later, the store manager appears with the contracts, finalizing the 5 million sale. Jiang signs everything confidently and mentions that he will look for the rookie again on his next purchase. The girl celebrates her 50,000 commission and wonders what kind of billionaire that boy could be. Next, the system announces that the critical cards were a success, granting absurd multipliers. The young man is shocked because he expected a smaller bonus and is grateful for having insisted on the exact price. Soon his level increases, and his passive income rises to almost 1 yuan for every single second he breathes. Amazed by the 230 million he received, the young man deduces that this girl is his lucky charm. The young man thinks about how different this life with cheats seems and decides to be rich and reckless for once. Soon the young man asks the real estate agent to talk a bit in private, leaving the manager very curious. The boss whispers to the rookie to treat the client to dinner and ensure a good relationship with the tycoon. At that, the protagonist imagines a future where the two would have many romantic moments and a life full of luxury. The girl gets completely embarrassed and starts stammering, not knowing how to react to his request. She suggests that they get to know each other better first, but he just laughs and asks for her account number for a transfer. Totally confused, the clerk questions why the boy wants to send her money out of nowhere. With a charming smile, he explains that the young woman was his lucky star and he wanted to give her a thank you gift. Even so, the beautiful young woman still does not understand absolutely anything of what the client was talking about. Minutes later, she lets out a shocked scream upon looking at her phone and seeing a transfer of 350,000. The hero smiles, finding the amount fair since her help brought a multi-million-dollar profit, and generating good karma never hurts. With this, her friendship level rises to 85, making the young woman ask for his contact info, beaming with joy. The young man observes the numbers changing and realizes how powerful money can be to win people over. While they exchange contacts, the girl begins to notice how truly handsome the young tycoon actually was. The agent even thinks that it would not be a bad idea to spend a night with him if the boy really wanted to. However, the protagonist just thanks her for the hard work and says goodbye, saying he needed to go home. At that moment, the young woman runs after him desperately, trying to stop him from leaving so soon. But the hero was already inside his luxury car and just waves with a smile, setting up a meeting for the next time. Upon seeing the vehicle leave, the beautiful woman suddenly feels a huge emptiness in her chest without understanding why. 20 minutes later, our protagonist arrives home, announcing his return to his family. His mother welcomes him with a slice of very cold watermelon while his father asks about the graduation trip. Eating the fruit, he replies that he wants to visit Modu University to get to know the place before enrolling. The father agrees with the idea and says that his mother would make a transfer to cover the son's travel costs. However, the woman complains, saying that giving easy money would turn the boy into a spoiled kid who would never find a wife. The comment hits the young man hard, but he swears that this time he will find a wonderful daughter-in-law for his mother. The next day, we see the young man boarding a plane, complaining about the tight fit of the economy class seats. So he starts squeezing through the aisle, asking other passengers for permission to find his seat. At that, he bumps into a beautiful girl in a white shirt and recognizes her instantly, calling her by the name of Jo Ying. The surprise is mutual, and they discover that by a huge coincidence, they ended up buying seats right next to each other. The young woman thanks him politely while making room for our hero to finally settle into his seat. At that, a boy with glasses approaches Jo Ying, flirting and saying it is a great honor to fly beside her. The hero soon intervenes and asks the young woman to take the window seat, pushing the intruder aside. The guy with glasses gets irritated, stating that that seat belonged to the lady and that they could not just switch seats like that. With a confident smile, Jiang warns him that the two are together and do not need any permission to sit down. Once settled, the annoying guy keeps trying to strike up a conversation and asks the reason for the beautiful girl's trip. The young woman ignores the rookie and throws the question back to Jiang, who replies that he is traveling purely for business. He adds that he was bored at home and therefore decided to take a vacation to relax a little. The boy with glasses tries to fit in by introducing himself as Qian Shen and mentions that he is also traveling. Thinking highly of himself, he offers a ride in his father's car, claiming that airport taxis are a total rip-off. But the protagonist politely declines, warning him that his hotel already includes transportation and they do not need help. Qian Shen questions mockingly which hotel it would be, and our hero replies that he booked the luxurious Amini engine. The young man gulps because he knows that this is a billionaire place built with ancient relics and is very expensive. Trying not to look bad, the annoying guy says that regular rooms do not have airport transfers, but Jiang reveals he rented a villa. The intruder is left completely speechless and shocked by our protagonist's level of wealth. Upon hearing this, Jo is surprised because she knows that a villa costs 80,000 a night, and she did not imagine he was so rich. The young man smiles modestly and returns the compliment, remembering the past of his beautiful classmate. Back in school, the girl was super rich and famous, arriving every day in very expensive imported cars. She was the darling of the school and intimidated the boys, but she was always very humble and focused only on her studies. Jiang remembers that back then he only had eyes for his ex and heard rumors that Jo's family had gone bankrupt. With a somewhat sad look, the young woman lowers her head, confessing that she is no longer part of the elite group of rich kids. The hero notices right away that he touched on a sensitive subject and decides to change the direction of the conversation as quickly as possible. The two then begin to reminisce about funny school stories to try to break the heavy mood. The tactic works very well, and the beautiful young woman smiles again, saying that their school was a pretty crazy place. Discreetly, the young man uses his system and discovers that her friendship is at level 75. This number leaves him thoughtful, as it indicates that the girl had already paid a lot of attention to him since their school days. Time flies by, and they finally land at the airport, being greeted by a woman holding a sign. The beautiful clerk introduces herself as the private butler of the villa, leaving the hero impressed with the service. He then asks about his classmate's destination, and the girl says she is going to stay at a friend's house and will take a taxi. Without taking no for an answer, Jiang asks the employee to give his friend a ride before they head to the hotel. From afar, Qianshen watches everything, dying of envy, and plans a way to get even to try to win the girl over. 25 minutes later, the girl thanks him for meeting her friend and asks for his contact info, promising to pay for a meal in the future. At that, the hero agrees with the idea, warning her not to forget, while the young woman smiles with her phone in hand, super grateful. With a charming smile, the protagonist says it was nothing, and says goodbye while the two scan their phones peacefully. On the other side, the young man with glasses sees the young woman leaving in the car and laments in frustration for having lost his big romantic night. Sometime later, the tycoon arrives at his luxury villa and concludes that that wonderful place was worth every single penny spent. At that moment, the butler gently announces that the bath was already ready, and the young man agrees, thinking it is a great idea to relax. Soon the employee begins to unbutton our hero's shirt, leaving the boy shocked by that level of service. The beautiful woman explains that undressing clients is part of the package, but warns that his undergarments must be removed by himself. Once inside the warm water, the young man tries to stop the young woman from staying there, but she sits on the edge of the pool with a towel in hand. The clerk puts on a soft glove and warns that scrubbing the guest's back was also one of the perks of that multi-million-dollar hotel. With that, she begins a relaxing back massage, leaving the tycoon impressed with that wonderful sensation. The woman gets all wet and imagines that it would not be bad at all to have something more with that boy, since he was extremely charming. At that, the butler approaches, noticing that the boy's body was boiling, and asks provokingly if the water was too hot. The protagonist turns completely red at the situation and tries to dismiss the inappropriate thoughts that were beginning to invade his mind. 5 minutes later, the woman announces a special reception for VIP guests that night and invites him to participate. She explains that it will be a casual auction of rare jewelry hosted by a major client, and that he did not need formal clothes. Later, the hero arrives at the big event accompanied by the employee, who proudly introduces him as an honored guest. The friendly woman says goodbye with a smile on her face, wishing the young tycoon a wonderful night of fun. Upon entering the hall, the boy notices that the auction was already in full swing, with multi-million-dollar bids being finalized at every moment. Then the announcer proclaims the next item, which is a very rare wristwatch from a brand that is comparable to the best in the world. The big screen shows the limited edition piece, and the presenter reveals that the starting bid would begin in the 15 million range. With that, the crowd gets excited while the old man on stage begins to encourage the guests to spend their vast fortunes. The man raises his hand with great enthusiasm and finally declares that the bidding for that valuable piece was open to everyone. Analyzing the market on his phone, our protagonist discovers that the value of this model would double in about 5 years. Thinking of an easy 10 million profit, he quickly raises his sign, offering 15.5 million for the golden jewelry. But the competition heats up when another rich guy enters the game, trading multi-million-dollar jabs until the boy offers 18 million. The people around begin to whisper, impressed, questioning the identity of that crazy young man who spent so much money. No one else dares to top the amount, and the announcer drops the gavel, selling the rare watch to the newest billionaire in the place. Soon two well-dressed young men approach to make friends, and the hero recognizes them as the richest heirs in that city. The wealthy young man explains that the other guy was only bidding for him and asks with a smile if the young man was some kind of collector. The hero denies it, saying he is not a collector, and that this was his very first purchase just for the novelty of it. Laughing, the rich kid thinks it is incredible that he spent 18 million, and the young man explains that he arrived in the city yesterday for college. Surprised, the blonde comments that the boy being only 18 years old makes everything even more epic and shows great respect. With that, the hare hugs him friendly, inviting the protagonist to go out together sometime, and he agrees with a smile. Suddenly, the system warns him about a level up, now guaranteeing an absurd multi-million-dollar income for every single second that passes. While walking down the stairs, the young tycoon is caught by surprise when he comes face to face with the beautiful woman with whom he had that night. The blonde also recognizes him immediately and is totally shocked to see him walking through the luxurious hallways of the place. The young man approaches charmingly, reminding her of the payment, and the young woman jokes, saying she thought he was just a student. At that, the boy states he's a student and invites her to go to his multi-million-dollar villa to ask for a little more special attention. The beautiful woman accepts the invitation right away and warns him with a seductive look that he would need to work even harder this time. At that moment, a man in a suit appears, shouting furiously, telling the blonde to let go of the hero's hand immediately. The fellow confronts the woman, questioning if she had no shame walking around with other guys while she was engaged to him. Completely worked up, the fiancée insists that the engagement party had already happened, and therefore she was forced to marry him. But the girl feels disgusted and reveals that he only wanted the marriage as a cover to hide his infinite love affairs. Then the system pops up giving two choices, the first being to run away like a coward and the second to give the fellow 2 good slaps. The protagonist thinks the choice is obvious because he would never back down, and asks if the physical power increase also applied to romance. After the system confirms it, the young man wastes no time and lands a slap with all his strength right on that annoying ex-fiancé's face. Angrily, the boy says he detests men who do not own up to who they really are and follows up with another big slap, knocking his rival to the ground. The coward on the ground begins to whimper and shout for security while the woman is amazed by the hero's attitude. The guards arrive trying to calm the situation down, but the fellow cries, demanding that they call the police to arrest the boy. The humiliated man threatens to sue the security guards, making the workers ask for calm so as not to offend the rich folks. At that moment, the beautiful young woman hugs the hero, promising to defend him to the police, claiming that he merely saved her from harassment. The furious fellow warns that he will get the camera footage to prove everything, and out of nowhere, a scream for help echoes through the hallway. A crazed man armed with a knife appears, attacking an employee for refusing to reveal a guest's room number. Panic takes over the place instantly as people run desperately, fleeing from the crazy criminal. Totally losing it, the intruder threatens to take everyone's life there if they do not hand over his woman and her lover. Terrified by the situation, the cowardly ex-Fine tells the security guards to quickly look for that couple to save his own skin. At that, the system gives two options, which are to run away or stop the crime, gaining more good looks and a special divine message technique. Focused on the reward and wanting to ensure everyone's safety in the hall, the hero decides to act and go after the thug. But before taking action, the young tycoon activates his enhancement item, gaining 10 times more physical attributes for the big fight. After using the system card, the young man feels an immense power running through his veins, and is amazed by the strength he gained. With inexhaustible energy, the hero charges at the armed thug with impressive speed to save the security guard. Without giving him time to react, he lands a powerful punch right on the criminal's face, disarming him at that very instant. The impact is so strong that the madman flies backward, falling knocked out on the ground in front of all the startled guests. The beautiful young woman is completely shocked to realize that besides being filthy rich, the boy was also a true monster in a fight. Seeing the young man's absurd strength, the cowardly ex-Fine trembles with fear, thankful for not having been beaten up like that earlier. But our protagonist does not let him off easy and soon lifts the whining fellow off the ground with a single hand without the slightest effort. Around them, the wealthy guests begin to praise the hero's courage and good looks, applauding the way he resolved everything quickly. Soon the police arrive to arrest the intruder, and the officers thank the young tycoon's bravery for preventing a major tragedy. However, the coward takes the chance and accuses the young man of assault, asking the guards not to be fooled by his appearance. Confused, the officer approaches and questions seriously if the boy had really beaten that man as he claimed. Quickly, the beautiful blonde steps forward and defends the hero, explaining that the fellow was trying to force a fake marriage. At that, the system announces that the young woman's friendship rose to 90, proving she was in love with our protagonist. Getting into character, the young man hugs her affectionately and promises that he would never let the trash take advantage of her kindness again. The policeman concludes that it was all a misunderstanding, but the ex-fiancé flips out with rage and demands that everyone check the security cameras. Realizing that the annoying guy would not give up, the young man decides to teach him a lesson and prompts the system to use his pure bad luck card. In that exact instant, an aura of bad luck covers the coward's body, indicating that something very bad was about to happen. Suddenly, his phone rings with the bank warning that $200,000 were withdrawn from his account in a major scam. Before he could focus on the theft, a woman runs in desperately, warning that a giant tree just crushed his car. Totally in a panic over the absurd financial loss, the fellow runs off in tears, forgetting the police in the fight he caused there. With his rival out of the way, the tycoon smiles satisfied, saying that karma acted fast, and calls his beloved back to the room. Once alone in the villa, the beautiful woman sits the boy on the bed and begins to unbutton his shirt to see if he was hurt. With great confidence, the hero reassures her, guaranteeing that a weak loser like that could never manage to hurt him. But the young woman approaches very seductively with a loving look, insisting that she needed to check his body for safety. While caressing him, she asks if the boy minded the fact that she had a fiancé, and the young man denies it, saying he was just surprised. The blonde explains that everything was arranged by her sick grandfather, and that soon after she discovered that scoundrel's many disgusting betrayals. With teary eyes, she questions if the young man was truly willing to keep that kind of more casual relationship with her. Without hesitating, the protagonist pulls her into an intimate embrace and guarantees that he would take very good care of her, erasing any remaining doubt. At that, the young woman blushes deeply, surrendering to the romantic moment, and the two enjoy the luxurious night in the best possible way. In the morning, two maids clean the totally messy room and are stunned, commenting on the great vigor of today's youth. The employees continue cleaning the room and joke about the young man's energy, feeling a little hint of envy toward the blonde. Later, we see the young couple having a beautiful breakfast in a restaurant while the boy checks his phone. On the device's screen, he sees a post from his old classmate showing off several expensive watches received as gifts. Finding that very superficial, the protagonist has a better idea and asks the blonde to lend her legs for a photo. The woman asks if it is his birthday, but the hero says he just wants to post something, and she agrees, finding the idea fun. With a smile on her face, the beautiful young woman leans against the window and lifts her legs, wearing a very elegant high heel. At that, the young man takes the photo, thinking that his 18-year-old gift was much better and faster than any car. The tycoon then publishes a collage of the photos on social media with just a bunny face in the post's caption. The post goes viral right away, and his classmates are dying of envy, finding their own luxury gifts a total joke. Other boys cry with sadness, hugging pillows while lamenting that they did not have the same luck as our hero. Changing scenes, the young man arrives at a luxury car dealership and immediately asks to see the models available at the location. The friendly receptionist politely agrees and guides our protagonist through the huge showroom full of multi-million-dollar vehicles. Inside, a bald rich guy tries to impress a beautiful red-haired actress, promising to buy whatever car she wanted. The old man tries to grab the young woman, stating that he would give her daily rides, but the young woman dodges and says she only wants the leading role. Observing the scene from afar, the young man notices the harassment and sighs, noting that he ended up dropping right into the middle of a big drama. Looking closer, the boy recognizes the redhead, remembering that she will become one of the most famous and wealthiest actresses in the country. The businessman keeps insisting on the car and inviting the young woman for a drink, but she declines the offer, making up an excuse. Irritated by the rejection, the fellow threatens to cancel the movie's investment and even put her name on the blacklist. Even cornered, the brave actress maintains her firm stance and warns that she will not give in to that gross old man's whims. At that exact moment, a large blue screen appears glowing in front of the young tycoon, indicating a new special mission. The system asks him to save the girl and sign a contract with her, but the hero knows he needs to show that he is very rich. Speaking very loudly, the young man asks about the conditions to buy the most expensive model, and the saleswoman explains the exclusive rules. Pretending innocence, the protagonist stares at her with a confused look and asks if that meant he could not buy it. The young woman thinks for a bit and warns with a smile that if he really wanted that model, a small chance would still exist. She explains that he could take the spot of some cancellation by paying a higher fee, and the hero immediately accepts to pay everything in cash. The employee's eyes widen, completely stunned, and she wonders if the boy had any idea of the absurd value of that vehicle. On the other side, the nasty old man hears everything and grumbles curiously, wanting to know from which rich family that brat belonged. The redhead also stares at our hero, impressed, because even that businessman hesitated to spend just $3 million on a car. Gulping, the poor saleswoman warns that the total price of the customized model would reach the $50 million range. Without showing any surprise, the tycoon agrees to the price, and the woman asks for a minute to fetch her manager desperately. Soon the manager arrives with that blonde rich kid, who greets our hero, surprised to see him wanting to buy that model. With a modest smile, the young man explains that he just arrived in the city and therefore decided to buy a little car casually. The blonde friend is stunned by the answer and comments that this casual attitude was another level of displaying wealth. At that, the rich kid explains to the manager that the protagonist wore an 18 million watch, guaranteeing the sale right away. The tycoon remains calm with his hands in his pockets while his very expensive jewelry shines, calling everyone's attention there. Totally shocked, the manager stares at the valuable piece and thinks about how filthy rich that mysterious client really was. Without wasting time, the salesman shakes the hero's hand, guaranteeing that the credit check would be bypassed to speed everything up. From afar, the redhead and the nasty old man watch everything in shock, noticing that the boy was spending fortunes as if it were nothing. Intimidated by the young man's wealth, the bald businessman gives up on the purchase and invites the young actress to go out and drink with him. But the beautiful young woman declines the offer, making up another excuse, saying she needed to return to the company urgently. Furious, the fellow threatens to put her name on the industry's blacklist and leaves, leaving the girl in a bad situation. At that moment, a familiar voice calls her, and the beautiful actress turns around confused, trying to figure out who is saying her name. Our protagonist approaches charmingly and states he overheard the fight, offering to invest in her career. Completely red, the young woman questions if the proposal was real, fearing that the boy would also ask for dirty favors in return. Maintaining respect, the tycoon mentions that he was busy, and they agree to talk better the next day, exchanging their contacts. At that, the two scan their phones, adding each other, and the redhead says goodbye full of hope about her great future. Returning to business, the young man asks when the car would be ready, and the manager warns that it would take at least 1 year. The hero sighs a bit disappointed with the delay, because he wanted to enjoy his new multi-million-dollar machine as soon as possible. Seeing the situation, his blonde friend invites him to a major vehicle fair that would happen soon to buy something right away. Later, the young man goes to a luxury restaurant where the beautiful woman from that night calls him, waving in a gorgeous dress. The blonde guides the boy to the table in a very intimate way and suggests that he try the local restaurant's famous crab rice dish. She continues showing the various fancy and expensive dishes she had ordered especially to please our protagonist. But the young man slyly hugs her from behind and whispers in her ear, saying he was only interested in savoring her. Totally blushing, the girl asks the tycoon to give her a break, claiming that he had been very intense the night before. With a seductive smile, he agrees to let her rest as long as she called him by a much more affectionate and cute nickname. Then the young woman gives a sweet kiss on his face and calls him hubby, leaving the hero super satisfied with that treatment. Sitting at the table, the young man asks if the blonde knew the redhead from the store and discovers that both worked at the same company. The clerk gets a bit tense with the question and asks anxiously if the boy was feeling any attraction toward the actress. He denies any romance, explaining that it was just a casual encounter, and asks if the young woman saw any potential in her. Thoughtfully, the woman replies that the company did not value the actress but admits that she had a lot of talent to become successful. The blonde promises to help the boy win over the beautiful actress and guarantees that she will always be there for him without causing any major problem. At that, the young man caresses the blonde's head, promising to treat them all very well, and the girl soon asks if he will invest in the redhead. The tycoon confirms the idea, but the woman warns that breaking the actress's contract and starting a company would cost many millions. With this, the hero asks the blonde not to worry about the funds, promising to let her manage everything, even earning shares. But the young woman declines the shares, preferring to focus only on the company's management while receiving a generous salary for her work. Then the boy thinks that attitude is complete nonsense, reminding his partner that there was absolutely no need to be formal. At that moment, the girl gets emotional, revealing that her life was empty before him, and finally confesses to feeling truly alive. At that, the two hug each other with a lot of affection while setting up a new meeting for the next day, enjoying the moment well. Smiling, the young man quickly notices that his future new multi-million-dollar star was in quite a hurry to close that deal. The next day, the beautiful redhead approaches the impressive yellow car to finally greet our great protagonist. The actress enters the luxury vehicle with a beautiful smile and guides the tycoon to drive to a fancy restaurant to talk. Once at the place, the boy asks if her project was very expensive, and the young woman explains it is just a cheap 5 million series. Finding the value low, the young man loses interest, but the actress quickly argues that smaller productions yield much faster profits. Surprising the woman, the hero agrees to invest the money without even taking a look at the script for that new series project. The tycoon grabs his phone, ready to transfer everything on the spot, leaving the actress even more stunned by such a mysterious investor. However, the young man imposes the condition of her joining his company, guaranteeing to pay the heavy contract fine without having any difficulty. The redhead suspects so much kindness, knowing that no one in the business would offer such large financial help without wanting something in return. At that, she considers giving herself to the boy because he is gorgeous, but soon reprimands herself to maintain her principles firmly. Curious, the young woman asks if he already owned an agency, and the young man guarantees that he will open one very quickly if she agrees to close the deal. The protagonist criticizes the old agency, promising to focus all resources solely on her career during the next 2 years. With blushed cheeks, the beautiful actress stares at him very seductively and asks if the investor would have any other extra condition. The hero flashes a mischievous smile and guarantees that he would never force her to do anything sketchy with other people in his newest company. Very happy with the proposal, her friendship increases, and she immediately asks for the date to sign the papers, and if she should already call him boss. The tycoon finds the word distant, preferring to be called Big Brother, making the young woman try to guess his true age. The redhead thinks 20 years is a lot and remembers that the young man just entered college, easily deducing that he was only 18. Slyly he jokes, saying he thought she was talking about another size, making the embarrassed girl call him a pervert. The young woman tries to pay for lunch, but the hero warns her that his true return will be seeing the young woman acting well in the future. The system gives him shares in an investment firm, creating the perfect excuse for the tycoon to manage to justify his fortune. The boy calls his parents, letting them know about his financial success, just so he won't need to give several difficult and annoying explanations in the future. His father gets very proud of the firm, and the young man keeps up the act, warning that his monthly income would exceed 600,000. At that, the proud father talks on the phone, bragging that his son is making more than 7 million a year. The tycoon then asks if his parents want any gift, but they only ask for the boy to stay humble. Changing scenes, we see the hero finishing his meal and inviting the beautiful employee to walk around a bit more. The redhead soon suggests going to a mall to buy new things, and the protagonist agrees, asking to get moving. Arriving at a multi-million-dollar watch store, the young woman is shocked by the high prices while a salesman welcomes them. Walking through the place, the actress ends up running into a famous coworker who asks what she was doing there. Rather awkwardly, the young redhead hesitates to call the boy boss and just answers that she was accompanying a great friend. At that moment, the nasty old man beside the woman looks at the hero's partner, evaluating her beauty with malice. With this, the system reveals the famous woman's status, showing that she has already had intimacy with 78 wealthy men. The old man soon wants to know who that rookie girl was, and the famous woman answers mockingly that she was just an extra. Trying to make a move, the businessman hands over his card, offering large investments if the redhead wanted to record something. The star immediately makes an ugly face, thinking that her colleague was far inferior and only served to please bosses in bed. Having no patience to put up with that fake friend's provocations, our heroine cuts the topic short and decides to leave. Meanwhile, the clerk presents a beautiful women's model available for the price of 380,000 coins. The protagonist finds the value too low to gift his mother and demands to see pieces worth at least 500,000. Hearing this, the famous girl gets furious for having suffered at the old man's hands, just to get something much cheaper. At that, the redhead pretends to read a magazine, laughing hysterically inside upon seeing that arrogant woman's shocked face. The young man approaches, asking if the employee liked anything, but she denies it, saying she has no money for that. At that moment, the system launches a new mission, and the tycoon offers to pay for any jewelry the young woman chose. The beautiful young woman refuses to accept that luxury, guaranteeing that she would buy everything with her own effort in the future. From afar, the envious woman concludes that the couple was just acting to show off and plans a way to humiliate the two. Soon the elegant salesman returns, bringing wonderful watches for the young billionaire to try on right there on the couch. The luxurious golden accessory fits perfectly on the young man's arm, matching his natural good looks very well. With that, the hero asks for his beautiful colleague's opinion, who praises the luxurious piece with a shy smile on her face. Since the strap seemed a bit loose, the redhead decides to adjust it, and the boy agrees, dropping a very provocative comment. Totally blushing, the beautiful actress understands the double and tender words and wonders if her boss was hitting on her. The young woman's friendship goes up, and the protagonist laughs at the situation, asking the employee to pack both watches at once. The clerk stammers, unable to believe the huge amount being spent with such ease by that client. Seeing the scene, the old man and the envious woman stand open-mouthed, noticing that the youths were not just pretending to be filthy rich. Then the tycoon asks for help choosing his mother's gift, and the employee points out the most elegant jewelry on the tray. The salesman explains that the jewelry possesses 450 diamonds, costing more than 800,000. At that, the young tycoon asks the beautiful actress to try on the luxurious accessory on her own wrist. Admiring the piece, the hero states that both are much better than the cheaper model, leaving his rival furious. Without hesitating, the protagonist hands over his dark card and tells the employee to wrap all 4 watches. The redhead tries to take off the accessory, but the young man holds her hand gently, warning her that that was a gift for her. Totally blushing, the beautiful young woman declines the treat, saying it is something too expensive to manage to accept just like that. With a smile, the boy asks her not to overthink it because the payment has already been made, and there was no way to return it. He also explains that that youthful model would not suit his mother, serving then as a welcome gift. Approaching, the young man stares at her intensely, asking if the girl was really going to reject his great kindness. Thinking not to offend her future boss, the beautiful actress thanks him for the gift while her friendship goes up quite a bit. The salesman returns the card, confirming the purchase of more than 4 million, and hands over a special store freebie. From afar, the envious woman bites her lips in anger upon realizing that a rookie gained something much more expensive than her jewelry. Wanting to get a freebie too, the nasty old man tries to ask for one, but the employee politely denies the offer. Irritated by the humiliation, the nasty rich guy turns his back and leaves, complaining that the boy ruined the mood. The other clerk asks if the envious woman still wanted to close the purchase, and the woman covers it up, warning that she would return later. At that, the system confirms the mission's success, informing that the young man would receive a random refund for his good deed. A blue screen shines, and our hero hits the jackpot, gaining a triple multiplier yielding more than 13 million. The tycoon checks his phone, seeing the money hit his account, and plans to buy more gifts to win over the redhead for good. Walking through the mall, the protagonist asks which purse the young woman would like, and she tries to refuse, dying of embarrassment. Ignoring the refusal, the young man asks the saleswoman for help, who soon shows the 2 most popular models in that fancy store. Without thinking twice, the young billionaire flashes a large smile and tells the woman to charge everything to his multi-million-dollar card. The employee thanks him for the 120,000 purchase while the actress stares at the boy completely amazed. With very red cheeks, the beautiful star reflects on the enormous financial power of her newest and charming boss. Once inside the car, the actress thanks him for everything and invites the tycoon to come up to her apartment and drink something. With a charming tone, the hero jokes, saying that handsome boys need to take care of themselves so they don't suffer abuse from women. But soon the young man cuts the joke short, asking her to rest early while the girl says goodbye with a beautiful smile. Seeing the vehicle leave, the young woman's friendship reaches 80, proving she was totally enchanted by the youth. At that, The protagonist drives with a confident look, having the absolute certainty that he would soon conquer the redhead's heart. Arriving at his luxury villa, the butler offers a warm bath, but our hero prefers to swim a bit while drinking champagne. The employee observes the boy's beautiful body in the pool and swears to provide the best possible service to please that rich guy. Relaxing in the pool, the tycoon asks the manager if the hotel offered any unique and extremely expensive dish. The beautiful woman confirms having high-class options and suggests special dishes with rare fish and white truffles. Hearing this, the young man remembers that these ingredients cost millions and realizes it is the perfect time to use his food card. Getting out of the water, the protagonist approaches the employee with a seductive look, asking her to arrange a relaxing massage. Totally blushing, the manager promptly agrees, suggesting that they return to the room to start the special service. Once on the luxury bed, the beautiful clerk begins to take off her jacket, revealing a wonderful body ready for work. Without wasting time, our hero lies face down, anxiously awaiting the perks from that stunning woman. At that, the young man feels her soft touch and is surprised, thinking it would be just a simple back massage. With a sweet voice, the woman warns that was a specialty of the hotel and asks the boy to just close his eyes and relax. At that moment, the beautiful employee climbs on top of the youth, starting a much more intimate treatment full of ulterior motives. The tycoon soon realizes the young woman's real intentions while she rubs against him, ensuring an unforgettable VIP service. Totally blushing, the hero reflects on that absurd level of service and deduces that maybe he was overthinking things too much. After the end of the service, the woman says goodbye professionally, and the young man sighs, confirming that he had imagined too many things. The next day, we see a large luxury auto show packed with photographers admiring the beautiful cars and the gorgeous models. Walking through the event, the protagonist is disappointed to notice that the most expensive vehicle in the place didn't even cost $3 million. Suddenly, the young billionaire spots a familiar group in the middle of the crowd and recognizes his old classmates there. The boys were admiring our hero's beautiful childhood friend, discovering that she worked as a car model in the city. The beautiful young woman posed elegantly on top of a vehicle wearing a stunning red dress that called a lot of attention. At that, the young man remembers that the girl had rejected the graduation trip invitation, claiming to be very busy with work. Without wasting time, the tycoon approaches, greeting his old classmates, who are completely shocked by his presence. With a confident smile, the hero jokes, complaining that the class had organized a fun outing without letting him know anything about it. The young men gulp, breaking into a cold sweat over the awkward situation, since they really had left the boy out on purpose. Trying to hide the guilt, one of the rich kids laughs nervously and points to his friend, throwing all the responsibility on him. Changing the subject, the girls in the group notice the protagonist's face and are amazed by how charming he looked. Joining the joke, the friend hugs our hero, asking mockingly if he had gotten any plastic surgery. Soon one of the girls points to the stage, defending the beautiful classmate's work and silencing the envious boys around. Using the system, the tycoon checks his classmate's status and is stunned to discover that her friendship level exceeded 90. Confused, the youth reflects that they barely spoke at school and feels sorry for his friend, who was completely in love with her. Without suspecting a thing, the green-haired boy approaches the protagonist, asking excitedly what he was plotting. Feeling sorry for his classmate, our hero just gives a little pat on his shoulder, asking the fellow to take care of himself, leaving the friend confused. The young tycoon approaches and praises Jo Ying, saying she was even more beautiful than before. The beautiful girl asks if he was there to see the event, and the boy agrees, saying he was just taking a look. At that moment, an envious old classmate mocks them, questioning if they really planned to buy that very expensive vehicle. Another boy agrees, stating that imported model easily exceeded 5 million coins. The class representative keeps provoking our hero, suggesting that he had no money at all to be there. Seeing the commotion, the beautiful model apologizes, warning that she was working and could not make much noise at the location. Bothered by the protagonist, the rich kid invents that he got good grades and his family wanted to give him a luxury car as a gift. But the beautiful young woman politely rejects the flirtation, asking the annoying guy to go look for more information from the other salesman. The envious fellow keeps insisting, and our hero soon mocks that terrible attempt to call the beautiful model's attention. Angrily, the fellow challenges the tycoon to buy a vehicle right then and there, and the boy accepts, asking if the model came with it. The young woman blushes, thinking it was a joke, but the protagonist guarantees it is true, leaving his rival even more irritated. At that, a manager in a suit approaches the group to understand the reason for so much noise around that beautiful car. The man soon gives a big scolding to the girl, warning her that she was paid to work and not to chat with friends. Trying to come out on top, the class leader accuses the youth of causing the confusion on purpose and demands the purchase of the vehicle. Ignoring the annoying guy, the protagonist admires the perfect combination of the beautiful automobile with the striking presence of his gorgeous friend. The manager notices the valuable watch on the young man's wrist and changes his tone, guaranteeing that the model would accompany the car's sale. Smiling confidently, the tycoon takes his luxurious dark card from his pocket and tells the man to swipe the total amount at that very moment. The classmates are completely shocked, remembering that the model easily exceeded the huge sum of 8 million. One of the girls in the group almost has a fit upon realizing that her old classmate could spend so many millions just like that out of nowhere. The envious guy tries to intervene, telling the young man to stop pretending, but our hero soon calls him stupid in front of everyone. The salesman agrees with the protagonist, guaranteeing that the huge commission from that multi-million-dollar sale would go entirely to Zhou Ying. The beautiful young woman's friendship goes up quite a bit, and the boy demands the manager again regarding the girl coming along with the purchase of the machine. Sweating coldly, the representative mentally prays that the boy's card rejects the giant purchase and makes him look foolish. The young man asks to speed everything up and asks if he could take the vehicle today, being promptly guided to the VIP room of the place. Seconds later, the card machine beeps, confirming the gigantic cash payment and sealing the big deal perfectly. The manager returns the card with a huge smile on his face and tells the beautiful employee to take very good care of the young master there. The envious rich kid freezes in shock upon seeing the multi-million-dollar purchase, realizing how much he had humiliated himself for nothing there. The green-haired friend is astounded by the young man's wealth and already asks for a ride while the young woman's friendship skyrockets. One of the classmates wears glasses and reminds them that the imported car possessed only 2 seats, leaving none for them. Envious of the situation, the other girl states that she would sit in the passenger seat since the model supposedly went out with several men. Sitting down, the hero reflects confusedly on the reason why that envious girl's friendship level had gone up so much out of nowhere. Looking at the beautiful model, the youth agrees that that luxurious machine matched her beauty perfectly. Meanwhile, the envious woman concludes that the boy broke up his relationship because of the model and plans to get revenge somehow. At that, the other classmate is shocked to find out about the breakup, remembering that the old couple seemed to get along super well. Standing up, the tycoon embraces the young woman's waist, stating that any man would fall in love with that great star. Shocked, the friend notices the multi-million-dollar watch, accusing the young man of pretending to be poor during their entire time at school. With a modest smile, the protagonist invents that his family rewarded him with a fortune for his good grades on the exams. Unable to accept the situation, the representative changes the subject, calling everyone to dinner before it got late. Taking the chance, the fake friend invites our hero to eat with them, suggesting a trip to the mall right after. However, the youth politely declines the offer, warning that he already had other plans for that very busy night. Trying not to lose the opportunity, the girl blushes and asks the rich guy to stay in touch as soon as they returned home. Saying goodbye to the model, the young man mentions that he would take one more lap around the showroom, while the beautiful young woman thanks him with a smile. With a charming tone, he stares at her closely, telling her not to be so formal and arranging to meet next time. Later, a saleswoman presents a beautiful pink vehicle, stating it is a luxurious model perfect for female clientele. Observing the machine, the boy imagines a very romantic scene and concludes that that would be the ideal gift for his beloved. The tycoon soon questions the value, and the woman answers that the total price would easily reach the 9 million range. Without letting the employee finish speaking, the rich guy hands over the card, closing the gigantic purchase at that very instant. Next, the hero requests the delivery service, and the clerk agrees, guiding him to a comfortable area to sit. He declines the seat, explaining it was a gift, promising to send the lucky lady's address as quickly as possible. On the other side of the showroom, a famous girl was doing a livestream, displaying the beautiful pink car to all her fans. Taking advantage of her fame, she interacts with a multi-millionaire fan, trying to convince him that buying that machine would be a good deal. To bring in more audience, the young woman focuses the camera on our protagonist, promising to interview him if she hit her likes goal. However, a saleswoman in a suit soon interrupts the recording, asking if the woman was there to actually buy something. Totally embarrassed by the call to attention, the celebrity stammers, confessing she only wanted to admire the beautiful machine. Maintaining a serious posture, the employee demands a proof of income, causing a big commotion in the livestream chat. The girl thinks the demand is unfair and points to the hero, claiming that he didn't need to prove anything to enter the store. With her pride wounded, the famous woman stays quiet while her own followers begin to mock the embarrassing situation. Meanwhile, the beautiful model reflects on what happened, still shocked to see her classmates spend so many millions in one afternoon. Totally blushing, the beautiful young woman admits that even at the peak of her family's wealth, they wouldn't manage to splurge like that. Changing scenes, We see the tycoon stretching, happy for having dispatched the gift, and going to fetch his new Ferrari. The salesman soon hands over the keys and asks about the license plate, making the hero think that getting a local registration would be pretty difficult. Suddenly, the system appears offering a random license plate with the boy's initials, proving to be a very thoughtful help. Quickly, an employee arrives handing over an envelope and warns that the vehicle's registration was ready to be installed. Installing the item, the worker is totally shocked to notice that the letters formed exactly that young tycoon's name. Observing the scene, the manager is completely speechless upon realizing the size of the power that wealthy client possessed. With a smile, the hero calms the salesman, saying that he merely reserved the plate beforehand, but the man knows that that was a lie. Pretending to believe it, the employee praises the young man's huge luck, guaranteeing that the choice of that registration had a lot of meaning. Minutes later, the worker bows very respectfully, warning that the installation of the beautiful plate was finally completed. Seeing so much respect, the manager deduces that the boy must be the billionaire heir of some extremely powerful family in the country. Finishing her shift, the beautiful model approaches our protagonist and thanks him very gently for all the help today. The young woman mentions she was leaving work and invites the wealthy youth to have dinner together, wanting to reward his great effort. At that exact moment, the boy's phone begins to ring suddenly, interrupting the romantic mood that was emerging between the two. Answering the call, the youth replies calmly, trying to find out who would be the person calling at such an inopportune time. On the other end of the line, the green-haired friend cries desperately, saying he has been abandoned and asking for company to drink heavily. The protagonist is surprised by his classmate's drama while the model stares at him, trying to understand the situation that was happening. The hero explains the drama of his abandoned classmate and promises to schedule the big dinner with the beautiful young woman for the next day. The young woman agrees with a smile, scheduling the outing for another date, while the youth mentions he would go investigate his classmate's problem right away. Arriving at the bar, the hero jokes about the boy not jumping into the river, and the friend cries, asking him to just sit and drink together. In tears, the classmate confesses that he discovered he was just a backup plan for the girl, and the tycoon asks him to keep telling the story. The suffering youth laments that the envious girl always bossed him around, but all it took was for the rich kid to look and the young woman followed him like a puppy. Noticing the young man's huge drama, the protagonist asks him to stop stalling and go straight to the main point of the whole story. Slamming his glass on the table, the boy reveals he followed the two and witnessed passionate kisses and hugs that left him devastated. Eating a snack, the hero reminds him that the two never actually dated, and the friend cries, complaining about the great sarcasm at that hour. The youth advises the young man to forget the young woman, letting her find trouble with his rival, and the suffering fellow questions if he knew something. Drinking, the tycoon reveals rumors about the envious girl's chaotic life and reminds him that he always tried to warn his classmate about her danger. Regretful, the youth admits his own blindness and decides to drown his sorrows in the drink, quickly clinking glasses with our protagonist. Leaving the bar, the hero puts his drunk friend in a taxi, ignoring the promise of being consoled if he ever suffered for love someday. Standing beside the car, the young tycoon decides to pull up an app to call a driver, proving to be very responsible. Out of nowhere, a beautiful woman leans against the vehicle, lying that the Ferrari belonged to her boyfriend and warning the boy to stay far away. Proving to be the owner, the hero unlocks the vehicle, and the young woman invents being tipsy from drinking, making up a cheap excuse to flirt. The hero stares at the woman and jokes, saying she didn't look anything like his girlfriend, leaving the gold digger in shock. At that, the young woman tries to flirt, praising his voice and asking about driving with one hand, but the youth cuts her off with a lesson. She then approaches very provokingly, offering to play games together with him, wanting to win the young man's attention. Maintaining his cold posture, the tycoon rejects the offer, inventing that he played another type of game to drive the gold digger away. At that moment, the famous pink-haired girl from the mall approaches, asking if the hero had called a ride-share driver. The girl introduces herself to the stream and finds his face familiar, while the chat soon recognizes him as the rich guy from the event. With a seductive smile, our hero approaches the camera, warning that filming someone this handsome cost a lot of money. Totally red, the streamer apologizes for the blunder and turns the camera quickly, dying of embarrassment from the boy's scolding. The youth finds it curious that she streams and drives at the same time, and the young woman asks permission to record inside the vehicle. Once inside the luxury machine, the girl flips out with joy, showing the Ferrari to her fans and praising its great speed. Reading the chat, the young woman gets a bit nervous noticing her followers commenting on the car's exclusive plate being a billionaire thing. Wanting to please the wealthy youth, the beautiful driver leans in offering her great driving services for free, but the tycoon just extends his hand, refusing the offer, claiming that accepting free things always ends up generating a headache. Changing the subject, the protagonist questions if the young driver actually possessed any experience driving super sports cars. Confident, the girl takes the key, and the system reveals that her intimacy status was 0, proving she was very pure. The beautiful streamer asks if she could keep recording just her own face, and the hero allows it, finding the attitude curious. With that, the youth tells her to start the ride, and the girl adjusts her phone on the dashboard very carefully to begin the trip. The driver confesses to her fans being tense while piloting an expensive machine and focuses all her attention on the very busy road. Analyzing the young woman's provocative lines, the hero concludes that anyone would find her easy if they didn't know about her real purity. The tycoon decides to check the stream's numbers and finds it all very sad, noticing that the top donor sent only pocket change. Upon looking at the numbers, the boy notices that the beautiful woman's daily income was miserable, barely enough to cover her normal bills. Seeing the young woman's failure on the internet, the youth sighs, thinking that working solely as a driver would yield much better cash. The young woman explains to the chat that she makes videos showing the city's traffic because she doesn't have major talents and tries to strike up a topic. She asks how he entered the store so easily earlier, and the rich guy replies that someone saw him buying his luxury Ferrari. Hearing this, the driver's eyes widen, completely stunned upon discovering that he had just bought the multi-million-dollar vehicle. At that, the luxury sports machine speeds through the streets, winning the admiration of all the viewers watching the stream. Arriving at the hero's villa, the girl returns the keys, and the youth praises the smooth ride, promising to hire her more times. With very red cheeks, the beautiful streamer thanks him for the praise, feeling her heart beat faster for the charming rich guy. Curious, the young woman asks the type of video he used to watch, and the tycoon replies with a large smile that he is a fan of beauties. Taking advantage of the big opening, the young woman strikes a seductive pose, asking the billionaire to support her stream as a big fan. With a smile, the hero shows his free viewer profile to the beautiful young woman, proving not to be a rich donor. At that, the pink-haired young woman gives a seductive look, asking to come in and have a drink with him as a form of support. Finding it funny, the tycoon denies the offer, imagining that the gold digger just wanted to create drama for her channel. Even so, the beautiful influencer bites her lips and imagines very indecent things happening between the two. However, the protagonist rejects the drink, claiming that the hotel's water was bad, and promises to buy her tea next time. The rejection leaves the young woman frustrated while her followers in the chat begin to insult the boy in every way. Surprisingly, the young woman's friendship increases, and the youth waves from afar, planning to invite her to eat later. Walking through the hallways, the rich student reflects on needing to practice his social skills for the future. Once back at the luxury restaurant, he asks the manager to prepare the most expensive dishes in the place for 5 people. The clerk blushes, explaining that just 2 rare fish would cost about 1 million each. Without caring about the absurd value, the youth just smiles and tells the beautiful employee to arrange everything quickly. Later, his old classmates arrive in the hall and are amazed by the fancy banquet on the table. Totally in shock, one of the boys comments that just those 2 fish could already buy an entire car. At that moment, the manager gently explains that that fish was one of the rarest and most expensive seafood items in the world. She also presents a dish with white truffles, revealing that the full dinner exceeded 3 million coins. The huge value leaves one of the girls stunned, thinking that that amount would buy a giant mansion in her city. Being a great host, the hero invites everyone to eat without ceremony, while the envious ones thank him for the invitation. After the meal, the friends try to invite the rich guy to drink, but he rejects the offer, stating he is already satisfied. With this, the group of students says goodbye, waving and promising to reserve a cool place to meet up later. Soon the employee applies a discount and warns that the total expense came to almost 3 million, and he pays on the spot. Suddenly, the system returns the money with an absurd bonus, generating an incredible profit of 140 million. The protagonist smiles amazed upon realizing that inviting those people yielded him a true divine fortune. The beautiful clerk confirms the transaction and says goodbye to the billionaire, asking to be called if he needed anything. Already resting in his room, the youth grabs his phone to distract himself a bit and enters the streaming app. He decides to look for that car girl's channel and notices that the young woman possessed high-level beauty in the system. Quickly, the magical interface presents him with millions of virtual coins, raising his profile to the maximum level. The boy then creates a creative nickname and comments on the stream, asking if the young woman wasn't going out that night. Upon seeing a user of such a high level enter the room, the beautiful influencer's eyes widen, completely impressed. With a sweet smile, the streamer welcomes him with joy and explains that she would participate in a channel battle soon. Soon the screen splits, showing the start of the virtual duel against another influencer of a very arrogant appearance. Seeing the rival's profile, the hero notices that the woman possesses only 69 beauty points in the system. Confused, the young tycoon reflects how a beautiful girl of level 94 could lose to someone inferior. On the screen, the opponent pretends to be friendly and asks the beautiful young woman to help her pass that first round of the duel. At that, the beautiful streamer sighs sadly, knowing she needed to win twice to manage to pay her rent. With a forced smile, the girl greets her rival, asking her top donor to go easy in the virtual duel. But the arrogant woman gives a wink, telling her wealthy fan to just save energy for the next phases. At that moment, the system launches a mission, offering a giant multiplier of up to 50 times if he helped her. To cheer up her main fan, the young woman strikes a very provocative pose, asking if he would like to request something. Smiling, the rich guy reflects that being that beautiful influencer's top donor, things could change between them. At that, the beautiful young woman makes a drama, asking for donations from fans while the chat just laughed, saying they wouldn't spend a cent. She gets very stressed by the annoying comments and tries to hide it by praising the bunch of cheapskates in her live stream. Finding the situation funny, the youth decides to play around, sending very cheap gifts to test the girl's reaction. Totally surprised, the beautiful streamer leans in front of the screen, thanking her benefactor in a very sweet way. However, the employee soon darkens her face upon realizing that the high-level user had donated only a miserable amount. On the split screen, the beautiful young woman sighs discouraged while her old rival displayed the expensive gifts she was winning. Through the chat, Jiang Cheng arranges to make her win if she became his driver, and the young woman accepts the proposal on the spot. Immediately, 3 luxury rockets appear in the stream, leaving the beautiful girl completely shocked and happy. The young woman thanks him emotionally, wanting to know what the tycoon wished to see, while her rival freezes in shock on the live stream. Envious, the arrogant woman bites her lips in anger for not expecting such a rich fan to emerge, just like that out of nowhere. Being very fake, the old woman invites the multi-millionaire fan to visit her, but the redhead soon names him moderator to keep him there. Not knowing how to dance, the beautiful influencer decides to sing a song for her hero, but ends up singing terribly out of tune. Finding the young woman's desperation cute, the rich guy laughs at the situation, and lets her know through the chat that she could do whatever she wanted. Fearing being eliminated, the nasty woman pretends to cry, begging for her rich fan to turn the score of that match around. With the stakes sky high, the platform's magical system finally announces the official start of that battle of giants. Quickly, the old woman's fan begins to send several luxury rockets, and she soon celebrates in a bizarre way to the camera. Finding that very interesting, Jiang Cheng smiles confidently, deciding to send 3 more expensive treats to his ally. On the other side of the screen, the old woman enters absolute despair, noticing that the wealthy youth had tied the score quickly. But soon the opponent's fan sends 5 more rockets, making the woman flip out with joy while the young woman gets very sad. Seeing his friend's sadness, the student laughs at her lack of experience and begins tapping the screen, preparing a super combo. Suddenly, the beautiful girl's live stream overflows with multi-million-dollar gifts, making her think her phone was freezing. Seeing 20 rockets falling on her screen, the redhead is completely shocked by such generosity from her big fan. On the other side, the arrogant woman tries to call her sponsor, breaking into a cold sweat upon realizing that the rich guy had vanished. The beautiful young woman analyzes her opponent's silence and deduces that that giant donation had guaranteed her victory. At that, the old woman bitters total defeat while our heroine invites the tycoon to see her driving in the future. With all this excitement, the girl's channel ends up breaking the 10,000 simultaneous viewers mark in the blink of an eye. Very moved, the beautiful employee bows, thanking him for the gift, and asks what the youth wished to see now. Noticing that the platform's filter worsened her beauty, the hero tells the girl to turn off the effect, surprising the chat. Totally insecure, the young woman hesitates, warning that her real face could end up scaring her newest benefactor. Fearing losing the billionaire's support, the redhead sighs and turns off the visual enhancements, already waiting for several insults. But to everyone's surprise, the beautiful young woman's natural appearance reveals itself even more stunning and draws praise. Moved, the star realizes that her true face didn't ruin the live stream, but rather attracted a shower of new followers. Gaining confidence, the beautiful driver begs for the rich guy to help her in the next phase, and the hero tells her to start right away. The second round soon begins, revealing a new adversary with a schoolgirl look who praises our heroine's rich fan. Being very opportunistic, the pigtail girl tries to steal the protagonist's attention, promising to dance for him. Realizing her rival's dirty move, the redhead sores her face and decides to start the virtual battle as quickly as possible. At that, the opponent pretends innocence, thanking in a very sweet way for the 5 rockets sent by her own rich fan. Finding that amount pathetic, the student smiles confidently and decides to send the same 5 rockets without any effort. On the other side of the screen, the beautiful girl makes a heart with her hands, thanking the hero and calling him the greatest of all. Seeing the tie, the rival tries desperately to call her donor but ends up realizing that the fellow had fled the live stream. With this, the broadcast advances, showing the redhead's easy victories against other very bizarre content creators. Thanks to the protagonist's unconditional support, the young woman reaches the grand final and faces a very stunning woman. Totally nervous, the short-haired young woman recognizes her new rival, discovering that she was one of the most famous on the site. The elegant woman displays respect for the rookie and suggests starting the challenge directly, because she knew of our tycoon's wealth. Without wasting time, the famous woman starts a super elegant and attractive dance to guarantee donations from her wealthy fans. After a few minutes, the star finishes her presentation, sending a charming kiss to all her viewers. Relaxing on the couch, the hero praises the beautiful presentation while the chat comments that the redhead had no talent to win. Reading the provocations, our heroine makes a sad little face and begs for the wealthy youth not to abandon her right in the final. Suddenly, the girl takes a big fright upon being pulled back with everything, falling onto the bed together with a mysterious classmate. The system suddenly suggests a partner exercise, and the redhead freezes with embarrassment in the arms of that beautiful friend of hers. But the young woman soon recovers her focus, deciding to set embarrassment aside to focus on winning that big tight final. On the screen, the young redhead begs for her fan to keep helping, promising to dance whatever he wanted if she won. At that moment, 3 rich donors from the rival side send 3 super luxury rockets each to the beautiful famous woman. Feeling her enemy's mockery, the beautiful model uses cleverness, pretending to cry and thanking her fan for the huge help. Reading the chat, the tycoon realizes that everyone was doubting his fortune, thinking that his big money had run out. With a confident smile, the youth reminds himself of having billions in his bank account and refuses to accept a defeat like that. Suddenly, the redhead's screen fills with multi-million-dollar gifts, making the beautiful employee think her phone was broken. The beautiful girl is completely stunned to see a gigantic animation of 20 shining rockets dominating her chat. Still in shock, the young woman lets her audience know that that was a true battle of gods, surpassing any mortal. With very red cheeks, the influencer makes a little heart, thanking her dear billionaire for his generosity. Thanks to this large donation, our heroine's score surpasses the 1,500,000 mark, humiliating her old rival. Totally desperate, the famous woman breaks into a cold sweat, fearing losing the big dispute against that little rookie of the platform. The arrogant woman slams the table, furious for realizing that her supporters stopped donating while the redhead won much more. On the other side, the beautiful young woman reflects emotionally that she never imagined receiving such wealth during her whole long life. At that, the opponent bites her lips, begging in a very provocative way for her fans not to stop with the gifts. But her top sponsor cuts her off on the spot, warning that he wouldn't spend anything else, leaving the nasty woman on the floor. Without making an effort, the tycoon closes the diamond purchase tab, observing the time run out, confirming his victory. Winning the duel, the beautiful redhead's popularity explodes, gaining 50,000 followers at once for her new channel. Very happy, the star offers her personal contact to the hero, promising to do whatever he wished to satisfy him. The young woman soon asks if she could be his driver, and the rich student accepts, passing the address of his luxury hotel. In the meantime, some viewers read the conversation and recognize our protagonist as the extremely wealthy guy from the event. The chat goes into madness, noticing that the billionaire had bought a super imported machine at the start of that very same afternoon. Grabbing her other device, the beautiful girl finally sends the friend request, raising her intimacy level with him. Checking the information, the rich guy sighs, noticing that only 5 points were missing to guarantee the system's big prize. But suddenly a magical screen shines, announcing an absurd random gain yielding more than 2 billion to his account. Smiling a lot, the hero caresses his chin and concludes that making money displaying luxury on the internet was incredibly easy. Already on the next day, we see the youth waking up with a message from his newest friend, asking if he needed her today. Analyzing his phone, the tycoon praises the beautiful woman's attitude for always placing herself at his disposal well in advance. Meanwhile, the redhead waits anxiously in her room, unable to sleep the whole night, praying to receive some good response. Going to brush his teeth, the billionaire lets her know he had scheduled an appointment with a classmate, needing a ride very much. Jumping with joy, the beautiful young woman hugs her pillow, falling madly in love upon receiving the long-awaited contact from the boy. Thinking about her meeting, the beautiful redhead hugs her pillow, wanting to sleep soon to be well disposed for the rich guy. However, the anxiety of serving the boy leaves her even more agitated, and she rolls in bed trying to calm down anyway. Already at night, the protagonist arrives at the place and is surprised by the punctuality of the young woman, who insists on driving for him. Getting into the car, the driver comments that the destination bar was very famous, and the youth soon asks her to show the way. Arriving at the trendy place, two random women notice our hero's beauty and his luxurious brand watch. At that, a group of costumed girls notices the tycoon's expensive clothes and decides to approach to try their luck. Quickly, the opportunistic beauties surround the boy, asking for his contact and offering company for that night. Using the old seduction tactic, a girl dressed as a bunny pretends to stumble and throws herself right into the student's arms. Holding the young woman, the billionaire notices her move while the girl thanks him with a look full of ulterior motives. Ignoring the bunny, two other beautiful women invite the young master to come into a private booth and have fun together. Seeing that scene, the redhead is completely shocked and without reaction upon noticing her boss surrounded by so many beautiful girls. Being very cruel, the other women push the beautiful driver aside, telling her not to get in their way. Feeling a big tightness in her heart, the influencer loses her patience and shouts, demanding that everyone get out of her front. With a brave attitude, the beautiful young woman advances through the crowd of women to rescue her precious sponsor. At that moment, she holds our protagonist's hand with quite a lot of force, proving she wouldn't give up on him so easily. Looking at her rivals, the brave redhead warns out loud that handsome youth already had an owner, leaving them all confused. Frustrated with the situation, the gold diggers give up on the rich guy and leave to look for a new wealthy target throughout the trendy bar. Finding that jealousy crisis funny, Jiang Cheng pulls the girl by her waist and asks if he had an owner in a mocking way. Totally blushing, the employee pushes his chest and invents that she only wanted to help because he seemed too surrounded. Smiling, the hero thanks her for the help but warns her not to bother next time, leaving the girl a bit sulky. At that, a friend in a suit approaches, calling the protagonist young master, and jokes about the bar's warm welcome. The fellow comments that the girls ignored him completely and soon notices the beautiful driver, asking who she was. Jiang Cheng presents the young woman as his private driver, and the friend praises the youth's great style, guiding him inside. Walking through the luxurious hallways of the huge event, the group observes the trendy environment packed with rich people. The place was full of beauties working in eye-catching clothes, ready to please any millionaire client. Quickly, several beautiful receptionists bow respectfully, greeting our powerful hero by his name. Being treated like a true king, the tycoon receives the seductive looks of several wonderful women at the same time. With quite a lot of confidence, the student waves to the girls and praises the excellent service provided by the place's management. Excited, his rich friend asks the manager to prepare a combo of very expensive drinks to liven up their big night. Enchanted by all that luxury, the young redhead confesses that she had only seen this famous drink through videos on the internet. The classmate in a suit finds the drink cheap and reminds them that the rich guy had spent millions on a fish the night before. Excited, the friend tells the girls about the multi-dollar dinner, leaving all of them completely shocked. At that, several beautiful waitresses dressed as bunnies approach the table, bringing the luxury bottles of drink. The beautiful employees serve the young men's glasses, ensuring the best possible service for those VIP clients. At that moment, a beautiful brunette with a generous cleavage introduces herself as Xiao Qing, wishing to toast with the protagonist. Using the system, the hero checks the young woman's attributes, noticing that she possessed a figure of level 98. Amazed, the tycoon concludes that her beauty was rare and that she would look even more beautiful with a little makeup. Without wasting time, the charming student clinks his glass with the brunettes, accepting the toast with very good grace. From afar, the red-haired driver observes the scene, feeling a big tightness of jealousy in her heart for being left aside. Totally bothered, the employee reflects on the boy having spent so much on her and now being with others. Approaching, the beautiful star tries to get into the mood and offers a special toast to her big sponsor. With a charming smile, the youth hands over a can of energy drink, asking the young woman to hydrate herself a bit more. Declining the drink, the girl states she is still full of energy, and the hero jokes, saying he can't manage to notice that. Blushing, the redhead provokes the boy back, abandoning the suggestion that he come a bit closer to observe much better. Evaluating the situation, the billionaire decides to focus only on the driver, leaving the beautiful brunette for another occasion. Realizing the mood, the beautiful young woman mentions she would dance a bit, promising to return to toast with him right after. At that, the protagonist leans in and proposes leaving together that night so he could evaluate her energy. Hearing the proposal, the pink-haired young woman remembers advice from the internet and decides to play a bit hard to get. Trying to maintain her posture, the young woman gently pushes him away, asking if he thought she was such an easy woman. The boy sores his face irritated, thinking that he had spent millions and she still played silly little games with him. Without patience to put up with that type of drama, the wealthy youth gets up from the couch, leaving the influencer confused. Walking through the private booth, the student decides to go to the beautiful women who were dancing on the floor to distract himself. A beautiful dancer stops her presentation and asks seductively if the tycoon had liked her steps. Soon another girl in a very low, cut red dress approaches, wanting to know his opinion about her. Our hero praises the young woman's performance, stating that the young woman's curves were truly very interesting. Liking the praise, the woman in red leans against the billionaire's body in a clear flirt full of ulterior motives. Taking advantage of the opening, the youth embraces the dancer's waist, inviting her to continue the night in a private place. At that moment, the brunette from before returns, grabbing his arm, asking to also participate in that meeting. Embraced by the two, the youth notices the dispute between them and wonders until when his reason would manage to endure that. Laughing a lot, the protagonist suggests the three of them go together to his hotel, guaranteeing that the night would be fun. Toasting with the beautiful girls, the hero's friend finds everything very funny and praises his sense of humor in front of everyone. The companion lifts his glass excited to keep drinking while our protagonist decides to step away with the dancers. Full of ulterior motives, the women approach even closer, wanting to toast with that incredibly rich young master. Seeing the brunette display confidence, the driver gets sad, deducing that she was being ignored for playing so hard to get. At that, the pink-haired young woman sighs, seeing the trio leaving, and reflects that she would even consider giving him a chance if he tried. Totally regretful, the girl admits she was already prepared for something like that, and just got a bit shy at the time. At that moment, the tycoon gives a side smile, noticing that her friendship level had gone up exactly as he planned. For the next 2 hours, our hero has fun flirting with the dancers, ignoring the presence of his beautiful driver. After enjoying the party a lot, the group finally decides to say goodbye, arranging to schedule a new drinking session in the future. Already outside, the employee points to a taxi while the billionaire places the two luxury women in the back seat. Being very gentlemanly, the youth hands a stack of cash to the driver, demanding that he drop the ladies off safely. Shocked for being sent away, the dancers shout for the rich guy, not believing that the night had ended that way. The student then walks to his car and calls the driver's attention, who wakes from her trance, entering the luxury vehicle. Half an hour later, the couple arrives at the hotel, and the protagonist questions the reason why the employee was entering the room with him. Totally red, the young woman invents that catching transport at this hour was dangerous and asks if she could sleep at the location today. With this, the hero mocks, remembering that she wasn't an easy girl, and soon transfers the ride's value to her phone. The young woman tries to disguise her embarrassment, stating she was only joking before, and the boss tells her to leave once and for all. Unable to hold herself back, the star holds her beloved rich guy's shirt and shouts, letting him know she wouldn't return home today. Maintaining calm, the boy agrees to her stay and lets her know that the beautiful young woman could choose any spare room there. Soon the employee takes courage, suggesting they share the huge bed, but the tycoon refuses, saying he doesn't sleep with strangers. Observing the girl sitting on the bed, the rich guy concludes that his big plan worked. All it took was for her to take action. At that, the driver kneels on the floor, crying heavily, and holds our protagonist's leg in a big act of desperation. Surprised, the student asks the reason for the crying, and the young woman laments, thinking he hated her for having refused earlier at the bar. Analyzing the girl's purity, the hero sighs, noticing that being so innocent also generated unnecessary confusion. Feeling sorry, the billionaire kneels to comfort his beautiful ally, asking her to stop crying at that instant. And in this moment of great emotion, their faces approach, and the young master gives a warm kiss to his beautiful special guest. With intertwined hands, the pink-haired young woman confesses all her feelings, saying she liked that charming youth very much. She reminisces about all the financial help on her channel, revealing that her big passion was born on that exact unforgettable day. Wiping her tears, the boy listens attentively while the young woman calls him a charming prince who saved her from desperation. Totally surrendered to love, the beautiful employee hugs our protagonist very tightly, whispering sweet words in his ear. Smiling, the hero picks her up in his arms, stating he wouldn't let her leave, guaranteeing she would sleep there tonight. Already lying on the huge bed, the beautiful young woman blushes with embarrassment while anxiously awaiting her dear boss. Without wasting time, our protagonist approaches, starting a long and passionate night of love with his driver. During the whole dawn, the young couple enjoys each other's company, strengthening that intimate bond even further. On the next morning, we see a beautiful red-haired manager arriving at the office, being received by a stunning blonde. The woman soon asks the employee to sit down and asks what she needed to talk about right at the start of the shift. At that, the young woman wants to know if the manager knew Jiang Chung, and the redhead confirms, saying she met him on a trip. The employee soon questions about a new hiring, and the woman confirms, saying she is preparing to change jobs. Totally surprised, the blonde widens her eyes, questioning if her dear boss was really going to resign from there. With a smile, the redhead reveals she would also go to the tycoon's new company, helping her colleague become his first artist. Worried, the blonde remembers that the manager worked hard to get there and questions if she really trusted the youth so much. The boss guarantees she trusts the youth completely, stating he is a super responsible guy, and asks to be treated like a sister. Suddenly, an employee interrupts the conversation, letting them know that a big surprise had arrived for the manager at the front desk. Without patience, the woman tells them to reject the delivery, imagining it to be one of those very annoying romantic gifts. But the youth gulps, revealing it was a very expensive vehicle, and that they couldn't reject it, because everything was already paid for. Shocked, the redhead gets up quickly while her colleague suggests they go down together to see that super machine. Arriving on the street, the two women are received with a big confetti party by the other workers of the place. At that, an elegant saleswoman in a suit approaches courteously, asking the manager to reveal the big prize. Pulling the huge dark cover, the beautiful redhead reveals a luxurious bright pink Lamborghini that leaves everyone open-mouthed. The blonde is dying of envy, congratulating her boss for having won such a wonderful multi-million-dollar gift. Around them, the employees gossip about the manager's new rich boyfriend, envying the youth's absurd financial power. The clerk then hands over the keys to the powerful machine with a large smile, congratulating the lucky woman on the treat. Wanting to confirm, the redhead asks for the sender, and the saleswoman reveals that the young Jiang Cheng hoped she liked it. Emotion takes over the beautiful manager, who sighs blushing, reflecting how no other man had treated her so well before. Changing scenes, we see the tycoon receiving a warning from the system, informing that his intimacy with the redhead reached almost the maximum. The hero wins valuable cash, back cards, and finds the peculiar name of one of the big magical prizes curious. Reflecting, the billionaire concludes that he needed to be very careful when using those bonuses so as not to upset his beauties. Soon the system gives him an opportunity to open an investment company, demanding a high rate of annual profits. The youth is satisfied, knowing that the more money he invested in that new business, the much larger his returns would be. Being bold, the rich student decides to invest 500 million right off the bat, awaiting the platform to configure his company. Observing the blue screen, our protagonist smiles excited upon seeing that his new investment company was totally ready. At that moment, the beautiful driver emerges wrapped in a towel, and the youth notices that her attributes remained very high. Enjoying the romantic mood, the rich guy hugs his dear partner from behind, leaving the beautiful girl slightly embarrassed. With this, the tycoon decides to ignore the magical system's new functions to focus solely on having fun with his beloved there. 1 hour later, the couple has breakfast while the redhead asks for her big fan to stop spending so much on her live streams. At that, the young woman complains about the high fee charged by the app, while a beautiful manager with brown hair heard everything from afar. Being very economical, the driver sighs, stating that donating 2 million in a single broadcast was a huge waste. Very surprised, the attentive manager reflects on the youth's luxurious life and finds that amount of money absurd. Finding everything funny, the billionaire tries to calm her down while the girl asks if he minded if she kept recording. The hero smiles gently and gives permission for the employee to do whatever she wanted because he trusted her common sense quite a bit. Very happy with her beloved's huge support, the influencer decides to focus solely on creating cooking videos from now on. Affectionately, the student pinches her cheeks and tells the young woman to let him know if anyone tried to cause trouble on the site. Right after, the youth hands his luxurious card to the manager and asks her to extend his stay for 2 more months. Totally shocked, the woman tries to warn him that the youth didn't need to reserve that space for so long if he wasn't going to use it. Seeing the situation, the redhead remembers that the value of that extravagant suite cost an absurd 80,000 for each day rented there. With a mocking look, Jiang Cheng warns that the owner of that famous hotel would be quite disappointed with the young woman's attitude. Blushing, the manager tries to justify herself, saying that almost 5 million was a very high value for a little used place. Eating a strawberry, the influencer observes the curious interaction and wonders the reason why the woman cared so much about him. Using his magical skill, the hero analyzes the beautiful manager's profile, noticing a big affection accumulated in her heart. The tycoon is impressed upon realizing that that gorgeous woman was super willing to approach in a romantic way. Feeling the billionaire's intense look, the hotel employee squeezes her legs embarrassed, fearing having been too direct. In her thoughts, the manager remembers that the charming client used to have fun with some other young women in that place. Even knowing of the wealthy youth's big fame, the beautiful woman admits that the mysteries of that beautiful boy left her very curious. Increasingly enchanted, the employee sighs, helping in the tidying of the place, wanting to please her dear VIP guest. With her heart beating fast, the beautiful manager even wonders if she would accept some intimate request if he were bolder. Reading the woman's feelings, the protagonist finds it all very interesting but prefers not to try anything in front of his girlfriend. Disguising the situation, the rich guy tells the attentive manager to just open a new room to avoid problems in the future. Being very obedient, the woman with brown hair says goodbye respectfully and steps out to fulfill the orders immediately. Already in the hallway, a coworker notices the manager's strange expression and questions if the young master was very demanding. Fixing her hair, the woman dismisses her friend's doubts and guarantees that that beautiful billionaire was wonderful to deal with. The receptionist's colleague laments the lack of clients at the hotel, envying that beautiful woman's incredible luck in her work. Very frustrated, the employee complains that not everyone achieved the feat of hooking an extremely rich guest for the whole week. Trying to cheer up her colleague, the beautiful woman smiles gently, letting her know that the month was only beginning and everything could improve. With this, the short-haired friend mentions she would steal her luck and plans to go to sleep right after her tiring shift. However, the manager says goodbye, informing she needs to speak urgently with the director to get a discount for the billionaire. Widening her eyes, the receptionist takes a huge fright upon discovering that the wealthy youth intended to stay there for 2 more months. Totally incredulous, the colleague remembers that the tycoon had money to spare and questions the reason why she wanted to give a discount. Blushing, the beautiful employee confesses she found it strange to charge the full value, knowing the boy would spend little time at the location. Being very curious, the short-haired young woman jokes, suggesting she serve the rich guy in her place, and soon asks if he was good-looking. Remembering the tycoon's muscular body, the woman turns red with embarrassment, leaving her friend even more provocative. Quickly, the receptionist proposes a bold deal, offering her intimate services in exchange for her colleague's fat commission. But the manager cuts the joke short, stating that rich men manage to get any woman, not wanting to create false hopes. Despite that, the beautiful girl with long hair sighs, imagining what that charming client thought about her appearance. Changing the subject quickly, the employee dismisses her friend and walks hurriedly to resolve the lodging matter. Overhearing everything, the chubby manager runs to collect the value and decides to call the president to thank the tycoon personally. Lying on the couch, the hero finds the smaller charge on his card strange while the system presents him with a 100 times bonus. Right after, the big shots of the luxury resort knock on the room's door, wanting to speak directly with our protagonist. At that, the youth is very well received by the executive president, who hands him a personal card full of respect. The mustachioed man explains that the beautiful employee had guaranteed a huge discount and many VIP benefits for him to use there. With a look of distaste, the student concludes that that sweet manager's good intentions ended up costing him a lot of money. Even so, the youth smiles, reflecting that the woman preferred to lose her own commission, just to please her dear guest. Shaking the executive's hand, the rich student pretends to be happy and declares he is friends with the big shot, thanking him for the generosity. Excited by the multi-million-dollar friendship, the hotel leader tells his beautiful employee to do absolutely everything the youth requested. With everything resolved, the mustachioed man says goodbye in a very friendly way, leaving the beautiful receptionist in charge of everything. Being very polite, our hero thanks them for the unexpected visit, closing the door with a very seductive look at the young woman. Out of nowhere, the red-haired driver jumps into her lovely sponsor's lap, letting him know in a cuddly way that she didn't want to leave. Smiling, the tycoon explains that he needed to resolve some matters and suggests that his beautiful partner stay there enjoying the space. Pouting, the young woman rejects the idea, stating that staying alone would be pretty boring, and soon reveals having plans with her friends. Accepting her decision, the student fixes the girl's clothes, promising to look for her as soon as he had free time. 1 hour passes, and we see the rich guy walking along the street while a stunning blonde woman waves to him full of charm. Interrupting the stroll, the beautiful blonde hugs the hero, trying to thank him for all the help received, but is soon silenced by a shout. Being very scandalous, a red-haired youth points his finger, insulting the stunning woman with super heavy words on the street. The crazy fellow threatens to throw himself into a famous river nearby if the beautiful manager didn't accept to marry him at that instant. Seeing that bizarre scene, Jiang Chen questions his beautiful partner if she hadn't already resolved the problem with that fellow. At that, the stunning blonde sighs, lamenting that the guy kept making scandals at the company and she didn't want to worry the hero. Hearing the conversation, the fellow flips out with rage, offending the young couple by calling them cheating dogs acting behind his back there. Fearing some confusion, the beautiful woman holds the protagonist's arm and begs him to ignore the crazy fellow's nonsense. But the scandalous guy refuses to leave them in peace, promising to throw himself into the river to force the blame for the tragedy onto the 2 lovebirds. Suddenly, the madman advances, trying to grab the blonde, and the beautiful young woman takes a big fright at that idiot's aggressive attitude. Quickly, our hero steps in front, blocking the attack with quite a lot of ease by holding the cowardly fellow's arm. Looking deep into his rival's eyes, the tycoon warns that since he spoke so much nonsense, it would be very good to lend a helping hand in that. At that, the rich guy calls the local guards, offering $5 million for each one to pretend he tried to prevent the redhead's jump into the river. Being cruel, the billionaire suggests that the security guards let him slip accidentally into the water, guaranteeing the madman's end. Completely terrified, the scandalous fellow accuses the student of trying to hire a hit in public in the middle of that street. Confused by the bizarre situation, the local guards break into a cold sweat, asking if the young master was just making a joke. With a cold smile, the hero guarantees to pay in advance and promises to give 5 million more to their families if they were arrested. Taken by greed, the guards reflect on the miserable salary they received and conclude that the crime was very much worth it. Sweating from desperation, the redhead backs away with fear of death, warning that termination was a very grave crime with no return for them. Wanting to resolve everything soon, Jiang Cheng tells the fellow to jump into the river once and for all to finish that theater very quickly. Smiling, the tycoon mocks his rival's cowardice, betting that he wouldn't even have the courage to land a simple punch there. At that moment, a transfer notification hits the guards' phones, proving that the extremely wealthy youth spoke super seriously. Totally motivated, the 5 security guards advance with everything and begin to give a big beating to the scandalous guy on the sidewalk. Seeing the big confusion, the beautiful blonde leans against the hero's chest, asking him to forget that and not lower himself so much. Being very gentle, the protagonist calms his beloved, asking the beautiful woman not to worry about that human trash. After 5 minutes, the security guards drag the beaten fellow away, promising to clean up the mess while the rich guy praises the service. Right after, the tycoon asks for his beautiful partner never to hide this type of problem from him again, promising to take care of everything. Suddenly, the magical system rewards the hero with a private security agency to deal with these problems in the future. Very excited with the new prize, our protagonist invites his stunning companion to check out the company's headquarters right now. Surprised, the blonde notices the boy's smile and comments that she thought he would lose all his mood after that huge confusion. Walking to his luxury car, the billionaire guarantees that he wouldn't let trash ruin his big business of the day. Observing the huge commercial building, our protagonist analyzes the place chosen to be the headquarters of his newest company. Walking through the large office, the billionaire praises the beautiful modern decoration, stating it is perfect for his agency. Sitting in the chief's comfortable chair, the wealthy youth decides to close the deal quickly, planning to move in very soon. At that moment, the charming tycoon pulls his beautiful partner and suggests for the blonde to sit there a bit to rest too. Understanding the youth's ulterior motives, the stunning employee walks to the door, locking everything and closing the blind. With a mischievous smile, the beautiful woman kneels on the office floor, staying right in front of her beloved young master. Taking advantage of the moment of great privacy, the beautiful young woman decides to reward her dear boss with a very special service. After a few minutes, the student pretends to be surprised, joking that he had asked only for her to sit down in an innocent way. Turning all blushed, the stunning blonde finds the boy very annoying and threatens to ignore him if he kept mocking. But quickly the seductive woman sits in our protagonist's lap, suggesting provokingly to stay on top of him now. Smiling a lot, the rich student lets his beloved partner take control, telling the blonde to do whatever made her happy. Without wasting any more time, the passionate employee takes off her clothes, starting a long moment of love in the office. Returning to the luxury hotel, the hero is received by the attentive manager, who asks if he wished to have dinner or take a bath. With a red face, the beautiful woman imagines giving a bath to the boy, but the tiger tycoon cuts the mood, preferring to just eat first. Totally surprised, the brown-haired young woman gets disappointed seeing her coveted billionaire walk to the large room. At that, the disappointed employee cries internally because she had practiced several secret techniques to please her dear VIP guest. Serving the tasty food, the woman sighs while the rich guy concludes that the timing was wrong, leaving the romance for later. On the next day, our protagonist meets with his rich friends at a luxury event of famous cars in the city. Walking through the trendy place, the young masters spot a stunning model in a golden dress posing beside a big car. Admiring the woman's wonderful figure, the hero's friends praise the hiring of that beauty with the appearance of a goddess. However, observing calmly, the young rich kid notices that the beautiful girl seemed uncomfortable with the approach of a photographer. Approaching, a gross fellow takes photos under the model's dress while the poor girl begged for him to stop right there. Finding it funny, the harasser states that a simple model shouldn't wear such short clothes if she didn't want to be photographed. Completely losing his patience with that human trash, Jiang Cheng delivers a flying kick, destroying the gross guy's phone. Fallen on the floor, the crazy photographer enters absolute desperation, crying for the lost photos, accusing our hero of being blind. Stepping on the broken device, the billionaire invents that his foot merely slipped, promising to pay for the damages without any problem. Boiling with pure hatred at the rich student's attitude, the gross fellow gets up quickly, trying to land a punch on the hero. But possessing great physical skills, the tycoon dodges the cowardly blow very easily and without taking his hand out of his pocket. Giving a dark smile, the youth reminds himself that the opponent had attacked first, and with that, self-defense laws would apply. Closing his large fist, the protagonist lands a brutal uppercut on the rival's chin, launching the harasser straight into the air. With the gross guy fallen on the ground, our protagonist raises his victorious fist, showing who bossed there. Running desperate, the event's manager begs the tycoon's pardon and tells the guards to call the police quickly. Very tense, the man in his suit demands that the security guards arrive sooner to avoid more problems at the location. Approaching the rich guy, the friend praises his big punch while the hero laments the amount of madmen in the city. Trying to defend the place, the gray-haired youth states that everyone there was decent people without such bizarre fetishes. At that, the stunning model approaches the hero, thanking him for the big help, and asks if he was hurt. Smiling a lot, the rich friends notice the intimacy between the two, and joke that the hero had fought for love. Being very gentle, our protagonist presents the wonderful woman to his colleagues, saying she is an old school friend. Soon the charming student also presents his good friends to the beautiful girl, and the rich guys greet her smiling. Curious, the stunning model in the golden dress wants to know if the billionaire was there to look at more luxury cars. The wealthy youth explains that he intended to buy a gift for his father, while the beautiful girl invites him to dine out. Inviting the beauty to go out, the tycoon suggests she join their group at night, and the young woman accepts on the spot. Changing scenes, we see the manager in a suit showing a luxurious 4-door sports car to the young master. Trying to emphasize the sale, the salesman lists several powerful parts of the machine, but the hero cuts him off, wanting to know the price. Being direct, the man charges the value of more than 2 million, but the rich guy just ignores it and demands delivery to his city. Clapping his hands with joy, the experienced manager guarantees a super safe and fast delivery to any place in the country. Without thinking twice, the billionaire hands his valuable dark card to the salesman, telling him to charge the money. Excited, the student asks for the fellow to prepare a big delivery party, wanting to make a beautiful surprise for his father. At that, the rich friends find it funny that the tycoon considers a super sports car like that is something very discreet. Reflecting on the protagonist's wealth, the red-haired youth concludes that whoever had money made their own rules. Lamenting life, the jacket youth jokes about having begged for a car from his father, and now his friend bought one in cash. Already at the end of the shift, the charming student invites his stunning friend to leave, leaving everyone with a lot of envy. Inside the super luxury machine, Jiang Cheng buckles the belt, wanting to know if the beautiful model would return soon to college. Being sincere, the beautiful girl reveals she works to earn extra money because her poor family was totally faulted. With a distant look, the woman confesses she doesn't care about the school's silly gossip, stating she is proud of her own sweat. Understanding, our protagonist praises the young woman's grit, stating she's much more grounded than most thought. The stunning girl laments not having paid for a fancy dinner for her old friend, and warns she owes him a big favor. Speeding through the city's beautiful streets, the tycoon tries to make the beautiful woman comfortable, saying that dining out was nonsense. Arriving at a famous, more rustic restaurant, the wealthy youths call our hero and the beautiful model to sit with them. However, the mood weighs totally when the group notices a bad-looking fellow arriving there without having been invited by anyone. Whispering, the gray-haired friend complains about the presence of a very annoying rival, wondering who would have invited that fellow. To provoke, the young rich kid mocks calling the blonde by an irritating nickname, and the fellow sores his face at that very instant. Being stared at, the red-haired youth smiles tense, asking for the bad-looking fellow to calm down, remembering they came there only to eat well. With spirits controlled, the group finally gathers around the pot full of fancy food, arranging to drink heavily. Half an hour later, the blonde youth begins to brag, saying he received great investment tips in the city stock market. Impressed, the girl's brown knows the guy while he plays the superior, saying everyone needed rich friendships like that. Hearing that talk, the gray-haired youth sores his face, deducing that the fellow was sending indirect jabs to his group. Very furious, the youth decides to collect a huge old debt from the arrogant blonde, who flips out with rage, telling him to shut his mouth. Without fear, the hero's friend slams the table, warning he is well-mannered, wanting to know if the rival thought himself the big top dog there. Intervening in the discussion, our protagonist holds his partner, asking him not to ruin the fun with that foolish fight. At that moment, the blonde flips out for good and throws a glass of drink in the tycoon's direction, telling that country bumpkin to shut his mouth on the spot. However, the purple drink ends up splashing straight onto the beautiful model's blouse, surprising the poor girl, who lets out a scream of fright. Quickly, the rich guy pulls his beautiful guest close, casting a look full of hatred at that uncontrolled fellow. Indignant with the offense, the red-haired host gets up furious, wanting to know what was the big problem of that aggressive madman. At that, the gray-haired youth also joins, asking seriously if the guy was there only to act like a lunatic. Seeing the rich guys defend the rookie, the blonde breaks into a cold sweat, realizing that the protagonist must be very powerful to have such support. Pointing his finger in his rival's face, the red-haired youth demands that the guy stop causing so much confusion in the middle of others' party. To maintain his posture, the arrogant fellow slams the table furious, not accepting that everyone was flattering any random country bumpkin from the fields. Maintaining calm, the hero stares at the human trash and tells the guy to apologize for having ruined his guest's beautiful clothes. Being gentle, the long-haired young woman touches the young master's chest, stating she was fine and asking him to let it go. Ignoring the warning, the billionaire repeats the demand while the rival mocks laughing, warning he wouldn't do any of that. In an extremely fast movement, Jiang Cheng lifts his hand and lands a very powerful slap straight on that annoying guy's face. With the strong impact, the arrogant fellow's cheek is completely squished, launching his body backward through the air with everything. Observing the blow, the student laughs internally, deducing that the trash thought he was just any fearful weakling. Holding his swollen face, the crazy blonde shouts enraged, not believing he had taken a beating in the middle of dinner. With a mocking smile, the protagonist tells his rival to look for a doctor, promising to pay the bill if he were too poor. Completely out of his mind, the fellow lifts a heavy wooden chair and jumps in our hero's direction, wanting to eliminate him. Without much effort, the tycoon delivers a brutal kick that destroys the chair and hits the fellow's face squarely at the same instant. Fallen on the floor, the defeated guy coughs blood while the hero tells him to vanish from there, before things got even worse. Full of rage, the blonde gets up supported by a girl and leaves, promising to get revenge on that big country bumpkin in the future. Curious, the hero asks the rival's background, and his red-haired friend explains that the fellow's family owned food industries. With a dark smile, Jiang Cheng stares at the horizon, stating that he would love to test the true capacity of that arrogant family. At that, the beautiful model approaches worried about causing problems, but the tycoon reassures her, deciding to take her home early. Being very polite, our protagonist lifts his hand, saying goodbye to his good friends, letting them know they had already drunk enough. The gray-haired friend apologizes for what happened, and the student guarantees that that was nonsense because they were all big brothers. Already on the street, the rich guy hands the keys of his powerful machine to the young woman, wanting to know if she managed to drive that car. Smiling, the hero remembers that the young woman was already a rich heiress in the past, while the beautiful beauty asks him to stop with the jokes. Driving through the city, the beautiful woman comments that it had been a while since she piloted in laments, not being able to speed much more through the streets. Observing the driver's joy, the young master reflects aloud, saying he never imagined the beautiful girl liked cars so much. Being very sincere, the model explains that her family was very strict and now she no longer possessed so much money for this luxury. Being very gentle, Jiang Cheng states that that was simple to resolve, promising to take her for other laps in the future. Outside the vehicle, the young woman holds the billionaire's hands, thanking him for all the help, while the boy finds her loving attitude strange. Very blushed, the long-haired girl invents an excuse, letting him know it was getting quite late and that she needed to leave soon. Seeing the beauty flee quickly, the charming student caresses his chin, deducing that the beautiful woman was very embarrassed. Shaking his head, our protagonist decides to set romance aside for now, focusing on resolving his true business. Grabbing his phone, the hero plans to use his new magical security agency, wanting to teach a big lesson to that gross blonde. Lying with the beautiful blonde, the hero reads the news, discovering that the rival factory was involved in a huge hygiene scandal. At that, the friend calls the protagonist very excited, reporting that all the dirt of that nasty company had been leaked. On the other end of the line, the partner confirms the news, revealing that the factory was using several totally rotten ingredients. The TV warns that the suppliers removed the products from the shelves, while the corrupt company bittered incalculable losses. Very surprised, the jacket youth gulps, asking if his partner remembered the wise words of our tycoon. Completely shocked, the two rich friends realize that the hero was behind all that huge corporate destruction. Reminiscing about the student's look, the youths break into a cold sweat, noticing that the hero tested the true great power of the arrogant family. Impressed, the youth comments on that absurd influence, stating that the enemy family would lose almost all their money. The red-haired friend fully agrees, remembering having felt a quite powerful and different aura as soon as he met our student. At the rival's house, the madman's father bellows into the phone, trying desperately to win some time to manage to save his business. Irritated, the bald old man holds the phone snorting with hatred, wanting to find out which scoundrel tried to destroy his large company. At that moment, the stuck-up blonde approaches wearing a robe and asks very confused about what was happening in that place. Looking at the hair, the father notices his whole swollen face, demanding to know where the stupid brat had gotten into trouble. Scratching his head, the boy justifies himself saying he had taken a beating from a country bumpkin and lets him know he was already planning his revenge. The bald old man delivers a slap to his son's face, complaining that he only knew how to find confusion all day, thinking himself a mafioso. At that, the man gulps, deducing that his son's rival could be the big culprit for the fall of his entire company. Desperate, the patriarch holds the boy, telling him to tell everything because the family's corporation had lost a lot of money. After hearing the story, the old man bellows, calling the hair trash, demanding that the idiot go beg for the tycoon's forgiveness. But the blonde refuses the order, stating it is too humiliating to kneel to the enemy, telling his father to ask for a divorce. At that moment, the boy's mother pulls his arm, completely shocked by that hair's rebellious and stupid attitude. The woman soon points her finger at her husband, calling him crazy for not trying to resolve that small fight with money. Furious, the man calls his wife stupid, revealing that the family's fortune had plummeted absurdly from day to night. Without patience, the patriarch goes up the stairs, warning that the marriage would end if that huge problem weren't resolved. Sweating coldly, the crazy youth holds his own face, wondering if the country bumpkin from the previous night was indeed the big culprit. The desperate mother agrees, ordering the hair to go beg on his knees for forgiveness from that powerful, untouchable man. Meanwhile, our hero eats his breakfast while receiving a report warning that the rival company is being destroyed. Just then, the stunning manager approaches the table, asking very attentively if the tycoon liked the food. Complimenting the meal, the charming student holds the collar of his pajamas, asking if the beautiful woman had changed his clothes. Blushing completely, the attentive manager remembers the night before when she saw her beloved boss bringing home a wonderful new woman. Feeling quite jealous, the beautiful employee had tried to please the wealthy man by bringing him hot soup to cure his heavy hangover. However, the beautiful girl was disappointed when she reached the room and noticed that the young master was already sleeping like a rock on the couch. Being very careful, the woman deduced that the spot wouldn't be comfortable, deciding to take the tipsy boy straight to bed. Noticing the strong smell of drinks on his clothes, the blushing manager took the initiative and began to undress our sleeping hero. Thinking of her ulterior motives, the beauty reflected that this was the perfect chance to practice her massage techniques. With a look of desire and sweating quite a bit, the stunning employee her hand over her own body while admiring the young man. Returning to the present, the beautiful woman holds her own face, burning with embarrassment, claiming she had only changed his clothes. Taking advantage of the moment, the hero pulls her by the waist, making up a story about having an intimate dream and regrets that it wasn't reality. Very seductively, the beautiful girl leans in, offering a relaxing massage to soothe the tired muscles of her great sponsor. Without wasting a single second, the manager invites the wealthy man to lie on the huge double bed, wanting to give him her best service. With a gallant smile, our protagonist agrees to the idea, warning that he would give the stunning woman plenty of work right there. Once in the bedroom, the beautiful employee sits on the hero's legs, starting the massage, but the young man begins to find the mood a bit too serious. Suddenly, the beauty's short skirt rides up a bit, revealing bold undergarments, leaving the charming student very surprised. Admiring that beautiful sight, the tycoon breaks into a cold sweat, noticing that the girl trusted him completely, and tells his mind to try to calm down now. Pulling the fabric of his silk pajamas, the billionaire breathes a sigh of relief for being able to control his masculine instincts just in time. The manager looks over her shoulder and asks seductively if the tycoon is enjoying that excellent service. Smiling relaxedly, our hero praises the beautiful girl's skills, stating that she is a true professional. With that, the stunning employee decides to change positions and sits on top of the young man to make the service even better. At that moment, the young master gets a big shock when he notices the very bold undergarments the beautiful woman is wearing. Realizing the student's gaze, the blushing manager tries to hide her immense embarrassment in that very seductive situation. The wealthy guy doesn't miss the chance and comments that the romantic mood feels a lot like the dream he had earlier. Completely giving in, the beautiful girl asks very timidly if the great billionaire wants to be intimate with her. Without hesitating, our protagonist agrees to the idea, telling his beautiful partner to do whatever she pleases. Starting a passionate kiss, the sweet employee states that her beloved boss is a very mischievous man. And so, the young couple gives in to their true desires, beginning a long night of pure romance in bed. Changing scenes, we see the crazy blonde guy arriving at a motel with a girl, asking for the most expensive room for her. The receptionist fulfills the request and soon hands the access card to the arrogant hare so he can enjoy his night. Being very stubborn, the fool reflects that he would never apologize to that country bumpkin like his father ordered. However, the employee politely informs him that the playboy's credit card has been declined by the system. Thinking it is a simple machine error, the arrogant guy tries to keep his cool and hands over another luxury card. But the attendant states that the card has absolutely no funds, leaving the bankrupt hare completely shocked. Scratching his head, the guy remembers his recent spending and deduces that his old man is truly punishing him. Trying to hide his bankruptcy, the crazy guy hugs the girl, asking her to pay for the room and promising to pay her back later. Being very gold-digging, the girl slaps the guy's hand away, calling him useless trash for pretending to be rich when he has nothing. The broke blonde stands frozen in pure embarrassment, watching the beauty walk away and leave him completely alone there. To make matters worse, the employee of the establishment asks if the hair still wants to book that room. Venting his anger, the guy screams that his partner ran off and insults the innocent receptionist in a cruel way. Calling his father, the spoiled brat screams, demanding his money back, but the old man just tells him to figure it out on his own. Realizing the severity of the situation, the arrogant playboy breaks into a cold sweat, deducing that he will need to turn to his old friends. Completely desperate, the blonde begins to pace back and forth, trying to contact our hero's group. On a video call, the bankrupt guy forces a huge smile, trying to please his old rivals and beg for help. On the screen, the tycoon's partners are enjoying a pool with beautiful women while the blonde asks to speak to the country boy. Being completely humiliated, the fool confesses to making a huge mistake and begs, crying for a miracle rescue. Pouring a glass of wine, the rich kid mocks his former rival's face while the broke guy continues to beg intensely. Feeling a bit sorry, the billionaire's partner agrees to inform our protagonist, telling the blonde guy to wait for an answer. At the pool, the young rich kid questions if they are really going to help the bankrupt rival, since our protagonist was the one dealing with him. Laughing, the friend states that even if the wealthy guy forgives the idiot, his family is already bankrupt and full of market problems. On his cell phone, the redhead invites the hero to a club, warning that someone is coming to beg for forgiveness, and the young man accepts right away. Relaxing in the bubble-filled bathtub, the billionaire invites the stunning model to the party, and the girl quickly agrees excitedly. Once night falls, the charming student arrives at the trendy party accompanied by his beautiful friend, and his partners call her their sister-in-law. Completely blushing, the beautiful woman reflects that it isn't worth explaining the misunderstanding, since she wouldn't see them again anyway. With that, the group of suited friends gathers at the entrance of the venue, anxiously awaiting the young master's orders. Giving a confident smile, the hero orders them to prepare luxury drinks and some cans of special milk for his ally. Being very helpful, the owner of the place agrees to the grand request and tries to offer several hostesses to the rich guys. Just then, the gray-haired partner holds the guy back, warning him that the tycoon brought his own girl to have fun with. Sweating in desperation, the manager begs for forgiveness for the terrible mistake, promising to fetch the luxury orders as quickly as possible. Minutes later, beautiful attendants dressed as bunnies arrive at the table, serving the extremely expensive champagne bought by the wealthy man. Admiring the bottles, the wonderful partner whispers in the protagonist's ear, confessing that she would love to taste that drink. Being protective, the student tells the young woman to drink very little outside the house, promising to take a few bottles home for her to enjoy better. The girl's heart beats faster, noticing the hero's great respect and not trying to get her tipsy, ensuring even more affection from him. Suddenly, the mood gets completely heavy when the arrogant blonde guy from before approaches the table, leaving the beautiful model very tense. Sensing the girl's fear, our protagonist tells her to just relax and watch the show that is about to unfold. In front of everyone, the blonde bows in a massive apology, making up an excuse that he said a lot of nonsense because of the alcohol. Maintaining his powerful aura, the billionaire coldly warns that the sincere apology shouldn't be directed at him. Completely confused, the bankrupt hair breaks into a cold sweat, and the young man mocks him, telling the disgusting guy to use his brain to remember. Very calmly, the hero brings up the massive past insult, demanding a long apology to his beautiful guest. Trembling with fear, the arrogant fellow finally realizes his stupidity and bows, calling the girl's sister-in-law and begging for forgiveness. Being very sweet, the beautiful young woman touches our protagonist, trying to calm the situation by saying everything is fine. But soon the stunning model melts with love, realizing that the tycoon set all this up just to defend her honor. Sweating bullets, the losing blonde continues to degrade himself in front of the group, begging them to forget the trouble once and for all. Using mockery, the wealthy man jokes about being a country bumpkin and proposes to forgive the trash if the crazy guy smashes bottles on his own head. With an extremely dark smile, the student offers an empty bottle, wanting to see that lunatic's little show. Burning with rage inside, the bankrupt hair reflects in disbelief that the country boy has come up with the worst punishment of all. Pressuring the defeated rival, the charming young master casts a cold look, wanting a quick response from the pathetic young man. Left with no choice, the poor guy accepts the humiliating deal, remembering that his wealthy father would only return his money if he did this. Fulfilling the punishment, the blonde hits the bottle against his own head, taking a big hit to the delight of everyone there. Desperate, the crazy guy continues the bizarre punishment, smashing more glass on his own face to pay off his massive debt. With the impact, the spoiled hair falls to his knees on the club floor, groaning in pain in the middle of all the sharp shards. Laughing out loud, the young master claps his hands, praising his former rival's great performance in front of the entire crowd. Just then, the gray-haired friend praises the guy's willpower, surprised that he has so much courage to hurt himself like that. Completely exhausted and humiliated, the arrogant blonde ends up passing out on the cold floor of the dance track after paying for his grave mistake. The manager of the place asks if he should call an ambulance, and the wealthy guy tells them to just clean up the mess from the event. Worried, the beautiful partner fears some trouble with the police, but the hero guarantees that he did nothing wrong there. Changing the subject, the tycoon raises his glass excitedly, proposing a great toast to celebrate that excellent night. Serving the drinks, the beautiful bunny sighs, reflecting on how that charming customer could be so terrifying and cruel. Taking a drink, the red-haired partner reflects on the blonde's fear, concluding that our student hides a terrifying power. Once outside, the stunning model suggests a private date in the future, confessing that she doesn't really like crowds. With a sweet look, the woman thanks him for making the enemy beg her for forgiveness, showing immense affection. Being protective, the billionaire promises that on their next outings, he won't let any crazy person ruin the mood between them. Blushing, the long-haired young woman tells the guy to go rest soon, warning that he had drunk quite a bit at that party. Reading his cell phone, the hero receives a message from his security guards, warning that another rival is trying to sue him today. In the photo, the investigators show the long-haired fellow running after lawyers to stir up trouble. The spy reports that the annoying guy is still harassing the beautiful blonde every day, causing a massive headache. Running out of patience, the young master orders them to set a major trap, demanding that the piece of trash be kicked out of the country quickly. Returning to his luxury bedroom, the wealthy man is received by the attentive manager with much affection and enormous respect. Smiling mischievously, the hero hugs the stunning employee's waist, questioning why she is being so formal right there. Dying of embarrassment, the beautiful woman asks him to stop, fearing they might be seen, but the student mocks his partner's fear. The brunette insists that someone could show up, and the young man immediately suggests heading inside very quickly. Once in the private living room, our protagonist lies on the couch, suggesting they enjoy themselves right there, changing the scenery. Completely giving in, the seductive manager blushes with desire, accepting her dear boss's idea without a second thought. Changing scenes, we see the long-haired rival in a shady bar while ordering a very flashy drink from the bartender. Drinking his glass, the crazy guy gets red cheeks, showing that he is suffering over some lost love. On his cell phone, a woman warns that she already has a new boyfriend, telling the idiot to forget about the brief romance they had. Just then, a waiter serves a man with glasses at the counter, handing a generous shot to the mysterious customer there. Being bold, the rival approaches the man with glasses, proposing they drink together, guaranteeing that true love never fails. Drinking his glass, the man with glasses laments alone, reflecting on how someone like him could ever find true love. Just then, the intoxicated rival approaches flirtingly and introduces himself as Zhang Yu, wanting to know the name of that charming guy. Smiling, the fellow says his name is Li Minhang, offering a drink to listen to the stories of that broken heart. With that, an hour and a half passes quickly with the two young men drinking and talking very closely at the bar counter. Thanking him for the company, the long-haired young man mentions he needs to leave, because he has an early flight the next morning. Being dramatic, the guy explains that he is going to Thailand to make one last trip to say goodbye to his old romance. At that moment, the crazy guy says goodbye to his new friend, stating that destiny might cross their paths in the future. Drinking alone, the fellow laments pretending to be so mature, forgetting to ask for the contact info of that super charming guy. Analyzing his cell phone, the rival realizes there is only one flight at the scheduled time and decides to buy the ticket immediately. By the next day, we see the plane flying while the deluded guy dreams of running into his beloved during the trip. During the afternoon, our hero disembarks at the Grand Airport in Thailand, walking with immense style through the local lounge. Quickly, a man in a suit introduces himself as the captain of the security team, showing extreme loyalty to the tycoon. The wealthy man wants to know the rival's whereabouts, and the guard informs him that the guy is already detained at the hotel, leading them to the location. Arriving at the huge luxury hotel, the staff receives the young master with much respect and guides him through the corridors. Entering the room, the hero finds the rival tied up, surrounded by security guards, and orders them to wake the fellow up immediately. Throwing a bucket of water, the man with glasses awakens the fellow, who smiles, thinking his beloved likes games. Completely tied up, the crazy guy confesses to being super excited, suggesting they try even bolder tricks there. Coughing mockingly, the billionaire appears behind him, asking why the guy harassed his beautiful friend so much before. Getting a huge shock, the long-haired young man panics upon recognizing the face of our extremely wealthy student. Showing no mercy, the hero delivers a brutal kick, knocking the rival tied to the chair straight onto the floor of that luxury room. Glaring at the trash, the tycoon reminds him of his last threat, stating he promised to shut his mouth forever this time. Trembling with fear, the fellow begs for mercy, warning that committing crimes is illegal, imploring the young man to calm down. With a dark smile, Jiang Cheng warns that accidental deaths are extremely common in that country without drawing any attention. Sweating cold, the poor wretch swears never to go near the model again, begging for the love of God to spare his miserable life. Turning his back, the protagonist orders the guards to confiscate all the money and documents of that scandalous guy. Being cruel, the wealthy man states that if the trash manages to return home with nothing, it will be the great will of the heavens acting. Completely humiliated, the guy is left in only his undergarments, trembling from the cold while the security guards record the scene. Leaving the hotel, our student decides to enjoy the trip to sign the papers for the magical stocks won from the system. Arriving at a massive company, a suited executive receives the hero, smiling excitedly to finally meet his partner. Shaking hands, the young rich man greets his partner, and the two walk inside the building to discuss business. Signing the contract, the young master says he fully trusts his partner, while the suited man checks if there are any doubts. Reading the system screen, the tycoon feels reassured upon seeing the new partner's loyalty, guaranteeing his peaceful profits. Just then, the suited man suggests a tour of the local culture, but the hero declines the offer, stating he is just a pure boy. Laughing out loud, the partner understands the refusal and tells the charming student to make himself at home, calling if he needs any help. During the car ride, the wealthy guy asks to look around, and the driver immediately suggests the busy night market nearby. Without thinking twice, Jiang Cheng agrees with the excellent idea, asking the guard to take him straight to that location. Arriving on the busy street, our protagonist drinks some coconut water until he notices a little child crying, frightened, nearby. With a sharp look, the billionaire perceives the danger and quickly signals his loyal security guard to save the girl. In a brutal move, the guard lands a powerful flying kick, knocking both kidnappers down hard into the middle of the stalls. Being very fast, the henchman in the suit knocks out the criminals, leaving the little girl completely shocked by the action. With that, the charming student kneels down in front of the girl, gently asking where her parents are. Crying, little Anne thanks him for the massive help, confessing she ran away from her mother just to try to eat a sweet treat. Sighing from exhaustion, the young master deduces that the little girl is quite stubborn and spoiled to cause all that trouble. Keeping his calm, the hero takes out his modern cell phone, asking if the girl remembers her mother's phone number. Being very attentive, the wealthy man puts the device in the child's hands, telling her to call the woman immediately. A few minutes later, the beautiful mother arrives running to the scene and thanks him immensely for the grand rescue of her daughter. Desperate, the woman scolds little Anne, warning her about the major dangers that exist on those dark streets. Seeing the child cry intensely, the long-haired mother gives in and hugs the little girl, promising she won't punish her. Introducing herself as Anne Sin, the beauty thanks him again, while the student advises her to take better care of the girl. Completely embarrassed, the stunning woman agrees with the tycoon, swearing she will pay more attention next time. Just then, the little girl defends her mother, asking the hero not to scold her, taking all the blame for the massive escape. Giving a gentle smile, Jiang Chen pats the little girl's head, telling her to obey her mother from that moment on. Being polite, the mature woman offers a ride, wanting to know the young man's name to treat him to a nice meal in the future. The billionaire declines the offer, mentioning he will return to Wrong City the next day, leaving the woman surprised. Finding it a huge coincidence, the beauty asks for the tycoon's contact info, revealing that she also lives in that same city. Reading the secret information, the protagonist gets confused, trying to understand how she had a daughter without ever being intimate before. Walking down the street, the woman's guard suggests investigating our hero, but the beautiful mature woman quickly dismisses that big idea. With a serious look, the mother notes that the young man possesses a hidden power, reflecting that it is very dangerous to investigate people like that. The next night, the young master relaxes on the couch at home while his parents arrive, asking what he had bought. With a beautiful smile, the good son hands a very expensive watch to his father, who calls him a rich kid wanting to show off. In his house, the young man hands a luxury purple bag to his dear mother, making the woman very happy with the beautiful gift. Smiling, the matriarch praises the young man's good taste, stating that he chooses better things than his own father. With much affection, the lady hugs her husband, wanting to know the grand price of that beautiful wristwatch. So as not to scare his father, the tycoon lies, saying he paid over 100,000 through a great friend in the industry. The good mother advises the boy to save more money, wanting to arrange a romantic blind date, but the wealthy guy declines the idea. Watching the student leave the house, the proud parents feel that they are finally being well taken care of by their beloved son. Just then, the old man ruins the romantic mood a bit, and his wife jokes, thanking God that Jiang Cheng didn't inherit that flaw. Arriving at the Taiko Li Commercial Center, our hero notices a large crowd admiring a very beautiful girl there. Hearing the young woman's name, the protagonist is surprised to realize that someone is asking that old friend to be his girlfriend. In the middle of the crowd, a suited guy drops to one knee with a ring, swearing he can make the beautiful Jo Ying very happy in the future. The onlookers around are shocked by the romance of that wealthy fellow, noticing a very expensive necklace in the young man's hands. Highly uncomfortable, the young woman rejects the offer, stating she only sees him as a friend, asking the fellow to stand up quickly. Furious with all that massive pressure, the beautiful girl warns that she will leave if that annoying fellow keeps this up. Being very arrogant, the suited guy claims he already expected this grand refusal, guaranteeing he has an excellent backup plan prepared. In a conceited move, the playboy snaps his fingers, calling his numerous henchmen to emerge from the crowd. Quickly, dozens of people hold up signs, forcing the girl to accept the relationship in exchange for a fat monthly allowance. At that exact moment, the system screen glows, offering missions for the hero to either ignore the scene or help his defenseless classmate. Finding the rewards amusing, the charming student plucks a few simple flowers from the garden, deciding to save the beautiful woman. With a very confident smile, the tycoon approaches the couple, warning that he will take the young woman's silence as a big yes. Being quite gallant, the young rich man offers the simple daisies, wanting to know if the girl accepts being his girlfriend right there. The crowd begins to laugh at that massive audacity, mocking the small, withered flowers that showed no sincerity. Trying to humiliate our protagonist, the rich brat tells him to go home to sleep, warning that winning girls over costs a lot. The gossiping people agree with the rich man, deducing that any normal person would choose the jewelry over the weeds. Ignoring the charming young man, the suited fellow insists that the beauty should give in to luxury, stopping her resistance to his love. Surprising everyone, the beautiful woman smiles in relief and accepts the withered little plants, thanking him for the great gift. Completely incredulous, the rejected fellow panics while the others think the girl is losing her mind. Very seductively, Jiang Cheng pulls his partner by the waist, praising her beautiful eyes, guaranteeing he chose those colors for them. Sweating from nervousness, the rival tries to force a smile, deducing that the hero is just an old friend trying to cause jealousy. Maintaining his class, the billionaire touches the loser's shoulder, advising him to act like a man and look for other fish in the sea. Full of fury, the rejected guy screams, telling the young master to get lost, swearing that a poor nobody could never make the girl happy. The student fires back at the rich kid's provocation, questioning how the guy knows he couldn't provide for the beautiful girl there. With an arrogant smile, the rich brat reveals the monthly amount, demanding to know if a simple poor guy could afford all that. Wanting to humiliate our hero, the fellow continues asking if he could buy luxury cars and extremely expensive jewelry. Ignoring the loser, the wealthy guy asks if the young woman likes those luxury things, and the beautiful girl states it depends on who is giving them. Shopping very seductively, the charming tycoon questions if the beauty would accept his luxuries, receiving a very positive response. Furious with that grand theater, the rich kid pulls out his cell phone, promising to give a lot of money if the rival leaves right away. Leaning against his sports car, the loser mocks the student, doubting that the fake poor guy has a vehicle like his. Suddenly, a beautiful saleswoman approaches, warning that the young master forgot an item from his last purchase in the store. Acting very naturally, the billionaire agrees and asks the girl to place his luxury item in the vehicle right next to them. At that, the crowd is shocked to realize that the car pointed out by the wealthy guy is a model millions of times more valuable. Pressuring the defeated rival, the hero asks his opinion on his super machine, leaving the rich brat trembling. The protagonist holds his beautiful partner's hand, leaving while the humiliated rich kid accepts the role of a massive clown. Once in a coffee shop, the young man apologizes for the trouble, and the girl states that the annoying fellow was just the son of an acquaintance. With a very affectionate look, the beautiful woman thanks him for all the help, revealing that the hero remains just as playful as before. Very surprised, the young master reflects aloud, asking if the beautiful goddess used to pay attention to him during their old classes. Eating a sweet treat, the beauty confesses that her family was always strict, feeling very envious of the student's lively clique. Drinking a coffee, the billionaire mentions that the beautiful girl is underestimating herself too much, as her grand presence is undeniable. Being very humble, the girl denies being popular because few pursued her, but the young man explains that everyone thought they weren't handsome enough for her. With blushed cheeks, the stunning young woman leans across the table, wanting to know if the charming tycoon also felt that fear. To dodge the subject, the hero says he went to school only to study, but the woman quickly reminds him of an ex-girlfriend. Sweating cold, our protagonist confesses to ending that brief, passing relationship that didn't even have many luxuries. Sighing with affection, the beautiful woman imagines going back in time to play along with the young man, increasing her loyalty points. Observing his partner, the young rich man notes that the girl doesn't care much about his money, making her quite hard to win over. At that exact moment, the system sends a shopping mission, suggesting the perfect gift for the billionaire to enchant the goddess. Without losing time, the gallant young man holds the woman's hand, pulling her to take a quick walk inside a chic store. Feeling the young man's soft touch, the beauty burns with embarrassment, left totally speechless by her friend's romantic attitude. Being well received by a manager, the wealthy guy doesn't hesitate and orders the employee to fetch the best piece from that incredible display poster. The saleswoman praises the student's refined taste, revealing that the valuable golden jewelry has rare diamonds in its structure. Turning sideways, the charming student questions if his lovely companion liked that beautiful and brilliant gift. Totally surprised, the beautiful young woman warns that her request for luxuries was a joke, but the tycoon states he is very serious about it. Thoughtful, the beautiful young woman states they aren't that close yet, but the tycoon guarantees it is just a small token. Admiring her reflection in the mirror, the beautiful goddess thinks she looks wonderful, while the charming student praises his partner. Determined, the young rich man orders them to wrap it all up, while the employee warns that those treats will cost 1 million in total. Showing all his pride, the wealthy guy questions that small obstacle, making the shocked shopkeeper agree to the request. Completely shocked, the saleswoman feels immense envy, reflecting on how that charming billionaire flaunted so much wealth. At that, the system screen glows, and the young hero wins a grand refund of 50 million, smiling happily over the profit. Now in front of a humble building, the beautiful girl explains that her family lost a lot of money, living there out of necessity. Being a great gentleman, the young man mentions he needs no thanks, offering help to carry the bags. Very embarrassed, the beautiful goddess declines the offer, stating her mother is at home, saying goodbye to her great friend. Entering the residence, the girl sighs in relief while the mother mistakenly deduces that the rich brat gave her those luxuries. Losing her patience, the beautiful girl clears up the confusion, stating she didn't go out with the rich brat and denying liking the trash. With a very sad look, the matriarch recalls the massive debt they possess, fearing that only marriage can pay it off. The old lady insists, saying she knows the enemy family, thinking her beloved daughter would be safe with them. Hearing that, the angry girl fires back, stating she will get a job, lamenting how cruel that rich brat truly was. But the discouraged lady says that paying off those millions would take a lifetime, guaranteeing that the spoiled rich kid will change. Completely irritated, the girl tells the old lady to stop insisting, turning her back and heading straight to her room. Suddenly, the mother notices the valuable necklace on the young woman's neck, demanding to know the true relationship between those two. Highly blushing, the goddess turns her face away, trying to hide it, revealing that the charming tycoon is an old classmate. Looking at the large bags, the mother gets startled, deducing that nobody would give such luxury without a romantic spark happening first. Waving her hands, the girl rejects the dirty idea, guaranteeing that her high school friend is too rich to care about any of that. With much firmness, the girl faces her mother, swearing she doesn't care even a little about fortunes, wanting a sincere romance. Sighing from exhaustion, the lady fires back, stating that all this teenage love won't put food on their poor table. Sad about the whole argument, the beautiful girl tells her mother to be quiet, grabbing her valuable bags, wanting only to sleep. Alone in the living room, the older woman laments her daughter's naivety, remembering when she followed her own great love in life. The next day, our protagonist answers a call, hearing the sweet voice of the little girl he saved in the past. Over the phone, the beautiful mature woman apologizes for the bother, inviting the young tycoon to her beloved daughter's little party. At that moment, the system screen reappears with a new mission, ordering the young master to go play with the little child. Finding the rare reward excellent, the charming wealthy man agrees to go to the joyful event, making the little one sigh happily. On the beautiful afternoon, the hero finds the adorable duo, wishing the child a happy birthday and suggesting buying many gifts. Very excited, the girl promises to behave while the beautiful mother cuts off the idea, forbidding the billionaire from spending his fortune. Hugging the hero's leg, the little girl states she only wants gifts from him, deducing that her beautiful mother also adores the young man. Walking down the street, the child reveals that the matriarch keeps talking about the tycoon at home, leaving the beautiful woman dying of embarrassment. With a blushed face, the young mature woman tries to justify herself, warning that she had only commented on the rescue of her little daughter. Smiling broadly, the charming student reassures the beauty, stating that everything is fine and she doesn't need to worry. At that moment, the excited billionaire pulls the little girl by the hand, calling them both to finally buy the beloved gifts. Lagging behind, the stunning mother sighs in relief while trying to calm her heart, which is beating very fast with emotion. In the toy store, the beautiful group has a great time, making the customers around think they are a real family. The gossips at the location praise the couple's beauty, and one confesses she would want to have children if she found such a charming husband. Once night falls, the woman thanks him for everything while our protagonist's father passes by the street and sees his son holding the child. In shock, the old man deduces the little girl is 5 years old, fearing the young man had made a baby back in his school days. At that, the frightened father's mind creates romantic and very intense scenes of his beloved son lying down next to that beautiful woman. But soon the man dismisses that terrible idea, remembering that in the past, the hero was innocent and only thought about watching cartoons. Being very creative, the old man imagines the beauty seducing his son, but soon dismisses it upon noticing the woman's elegant clothes. And then, an old business partner approaches the startled patriarch, wanting to know why he is still standing there like that. Looking in the same direction down the street, the rich-suited man also gets a big shock upon seeing who is on the other side of the sidewalk. Quickly the man walks over to the stunning mother, calling her president and asking if she came to enjoy the party. Hearing that powerful title, the charming student gets quite curious, trying to understand what is going on there. At that, our protagonist questions what his father is doing there, and the old man mentions he is just discussing important business. Keeping his calm, the young rich man replies that he is accompanying his beautiful partner on a night stroll, and the father raises an eyebrow. Being very polite, the beautiful mature woman introduces herself to the patriarch, mentioning she would love to visit the family residence in the future. The hero's father widens his eyes, completely shocked and sweating cold, deducing that things are far too serious between the two. Watching the beautiful couple leave, the patriarch clenches his fists, promising to do everything to end that absurd relationship. Suddenly, the old suited man holds the father's hands, guaranteeing a major proct at his company, just because he knows that influential woman. With his heart beating fast, the sweating patriarch is left speechless, reflecting that he really wants to know that girl's true identity. Returning home at night, the good mother welcomes the hero, mentioning she has arranged major blind dates with very rich girls. Taking off his shoes, the young master rejects the invitation on the spot, warning that nobody goes to that type of fake romantic event anymore. The matriarch crosses her arms suspiciously, demanding the truth, while the wealthy guy reflects that if he told her about his harem, he'd get beaten. Trying to escape the major trouble, our hero smiles and lies, stating that massive subject is far too complex. At that exact moment, the furious father gets up from his chair, yelling at the young man, warning that he thought about that problem all night. Quite confused, the billionaire asks the meaning of this, and the old man questions if his son's partner doesn't have a child. Maintaining his tranquility, the protagonist questions what the big problem would be if his beautiful partner has a daughter. Very worried, the old man advises his son, warning that a relationship like that would only bring many headaches in the future. Sweating cold, the patriarch emphasizes the woman's wealth, mistakenly deducing that the student is being provided for by her. Scratching his head, the young master realizes his father's confusion, noticing the old man is furious over a silly misunderstanding. Holding his mother's hands, the wealthy guy asks them to calm down and sit on the couch, wanting to explain the entire situation. Gesturing calmly, the hero explains in detail how he saved the poor little girl during his past trip. Laughing in relief, the mother confesses to getting a big scare, while the patriarch apologizes for suspecting the good young man. Later, the news shows that the famous red-haired actress was beaten badly by an arrogant veteran during a recording session. Lying in his bed, our hero reads the major internet gossip, discovering that his employee is suffering. On social media, several photos of the injured young woman go viral, while foolish people praise the aggressor without mercy. The reading showed internet users calling the beautiful actress trash, wanting to gain fame on the back of the more famous star. Observing that, the billionaire quickly deduces the assault was intentional and that the enemy is manipulating the entire media. Furious at the cowardice, Jiang Chen calls his loyal security guards, ordering them to destroy that rival's career. A short time later, the beautiful red-haired actress waits for her beloved boss on the street, praising the beauty of that sports car. Now inside the luxury vehicle, the seductive girl jokes about the heat of the moment, suggesting taking off her own clothes right there. Sweating from embarrassment, the beauty hides her boldness, telling the hero to drive soon because she is going to pay for a very expensive dinner. In a very private restaurant, the two enjoy a delicious meal while the waiter serves several savory meats. Drinking beer, the red-haired goddess laments being so useless, confessing she is suffering deeply from the harsh insults online. Completely revolted, the girl slams her bottle on the table, feeling massive hatred for the tremendous injustice she is living through. Maintaining his tranquility, the tycoon eats a piece of meat and advises his partner to always strike back against any aggression. Wiping away her tears, the beautiful employee thanks him for the support, mentioning that the magical team is already handling the fake gossip. Being protective, the young man questions why she still accepts small roles, since she now belongs to a wealthy agency. Just then, the guard sends a message reporting that he leaked all the grave dirty secrets of the arrogant actress to the worst haters. Reading the report, the implacable hero orders them to spend fortunes to sink that piece of trash's reputation all at once. Wanting to care for his friend, the charming student holds the young woman's arm, affectionately asking her to drink much less. Completely tipsy, the redhead asks not to be stopped, confessing she only has the courage to act like this in his presence. Hours later, the young master carries his sleeping partner to the bedroom while she murmurs, asking for even more drinks. Falling onto the bed, the rich protagonist is surprised when the woman pulls him down with all her might, making up an excuse for the moment. Being very clever, the charmer feigns a headache, asking mockingly what the naughty girl is trying to do there. Very embarrassed, the stunning goddess grumbles quietly, swearing she doesn't remember absolutely anything of what had happened. At that moment, the actress warns about the wealthy guy's wandering hand while reflecting marvelously on her great boss's beautiful body. Completely blushing, the redhead holds her own blouse, reflecting that she had drunk too much and lost control of her actions. Lying about the strong headache, the beautiful young woman decides to leave, telling her beloved boss to sleep alone in the room. In front of the mirror, the employee washes her face, noting it is her first time so close to a man and feeling intense desire. By the next day, the stunning employee eats her breakfast, getting a big shock upon reading her cell phone screen. Very confused, the girl questions the hero, wanting to know how the rival's dirty secrets leaked so fast overnight. Eating his snack, the red-haired goddess gulps and asks if her beloved boss is behind all that chaos. Drinking a little tea, the young master confirms the big suspicion, stating that their agency possesses very strong backing. Completely in love, the actress imagines ways to repay the massive help, realizing her old company would never do something like this. With a radiant smile, the beautiful woman thanks him, swearing to act perfectly to bring in a lot of money for the charming tycoon. To her surprise, Jiang Cheng warns that scandal is too minor, wanting to increase the intensity to completely destroy the enemy. Becoming embarrassed, the talented young woman thinks of the massive expense the hero is making just to avenge her honor right there. With her heart beating fast, the stunning employee breaks into a cold sweat, noticing that the young man's financial power is terrifying. Laughing, the wealthy guy jokes that the girl seems to be the true great prize, making his partner ask him to stop with the jokes. Being mischievous, the protagonist rests his face on his hand, questioning why she gets so anxious over that major possibility. Highly blushing, the redhead questions how the boss can say such nonsense so seriously, and the billionaire says it just takes having a lot of nerve. Changing scenes, we see the bosses of the rival company gathered in desperation, questioning the absurd drop of followers on social media. Fake crying, the arrogant actress tries to blame other girls, while her manager blames some envious enemy agency. Highly suspicious, the suited man demands to know the real motive for the cowardly assault, suspecting the actress who was beaten the other day. Playing the victim, the disgusting woman rejects the idea, calling our dear heroine an insignificant artist with no power. Just then, the manager defends the cowardice, claiming it was just acting and guaranteeing all the controversy would serve as marketing for the movie. Sighing, the old rich man mentions he bought other headlines to hush up the case, telling the stupid actress to be much more careful. At that exact moment, a henchman whispers into the leader's ear, revealing that the great owner of the rival agency offered millions. Upon hearing the absurd amount, the wealthy president stands up from the table, completely paralyzed and in shock with so much cash. The suited man points his finger at the artist's face, wanting to know the size of the mess she made with that guy. Sweating in desperation, the vile woman reflects that she had been with many powerful men, unable to remember our hero. Full of rage, the old man demands a quick answer, while the manager quickly notices that the grave mistake involved the young red-haired woman. The spy reads his cell phone screen, reporting all the support given to the redhead, making the boss insult his actress for being a liar. Crying, the girl admits her grave mistake, assuming she beat her on purpose just because she was humiliated in the past by that girl. Desperate, the coward begs for help, and the boss breaks into a cold sweat, calculating the immense losses he would pay to the sponsors. To fight back, the suited man orders the company to release a major statement, offering $25 million to protect the girl. Crying, the actress thanks him, but the old man warns that if she messes up again, the agency will abandon her for causing so many losses. On a call, the beautiful blonde partner warns the student that the enemy agency decided to spend $25 million in the dispute. Drinking a coffee, the hero asks his ally to increase the budget to $100 million, promising to spend much more if needed. Completely shocked, the two beautiful women can barely believe that massive amount of money stated by the billionaire. Over the phone, the blonde explains that the rivals just want to keep up appearances, arguing that $100 million would be an exaggerated expense. The tycoon denies the exaggeration, reflecting that entering the business world with everything would draw a lot of attention to his new agency. Being very calculative, the young master plans to use this chaos so all the wealthy moguls remember his great name in the future. Smiling, the blonde accepts the order, feeling a bit of envy from seeing the boss spend all that massive fortune on another girl. At the club, the curious onlookers are shocked by the news, trying to find out who the mysterious young owner of that rookie company is. Suddenly, one of the rich kids hears that familiar name, while the girl next to him questions if he knows the powerful tycoon. Recalling the grand auction, the guy warns that our protagonist has been spending insane fortunes on very random things. Sweating cold, the blonde fellow reflects on that dangerous teenager, noting that the hero is truly a very cruel man. Curious, a friend asks if the defended actress is some girlfriend, but the rich brat denies it, reporting she is just an employee. Giving an excited smile, the suited young man asks to arrange a major party, wanting to get closer to the mysterious youth. That same night, the rival executives meet, claiming the amount is too high, and suggest simply abandoning the famous actress. A man with glasses decides to charge for all the contract breaches, warning that the bankrupt goddess would have to do adult films now. Showing no mercy, the old president complains about the constant crying, remembering she didn't shed tears while attacking innocent people. Crying in desperation, the woman begs not to be sent away, promising to kneel down and beg forgiveness from the billionaire. The old man warns that kneeling is the absolute minimum to be done, sending his henchmen to look for the billionaire's contact info as fast as possible. The next day, the old couple expresses thanks for a major deal closed, offering to buy a luxury car for their good son. Arriving at the chick store, the excited patriarch tells him to choose any model, being interrupted by the arrival of a saleswoman. Confused by that good service, the father feels a bit indignant, thinking the employees are foolish for not focusing on him there. Laughing at the situation, the charming tycoon puts his arm around the old man's neck, revealing he prepared an early birthday surprise. Very gently, the beautiful manager extends her hand, congratulating the small family on the new purchase while the beautiful car is revealed. With the tarp being pulled, the black vehicle emerges shining intensely, leaving the old father completely wild over so much beauty. Feeling jealous, the sweet matriarch jokes, calling the hero spoiled, complaining that he only remembers the old man at gift time. Running his hand over the roof, the man smiles very excitedly, praising the immense power of the new toy he had just won. Observing the great joy, Jiang Cheng prefers to hide that he possesses better machines, focused on taking the cars to his house. Perceiving that excellent family mood, the stunning manager pulls out a camera to record that incredible moment. The beautiful family photo shows our hero smiling, embracing his mother and his old father, who holds the car keys. Over the cell phone, the beautiful partner warns that she will return to Shanghai earlier, and the student informs his father about his trip tomorrow. Very disappointed, the old man questions the young man's haste, laments not being able to go for a ride in his new sports car. But the wise matriarch defends the boy, remembering he is an adult, and the patriarch agrees that his wife is always right. Observing the scene, our protagonist reflects lines of amusement at how his kind mother continues to rule everything in that family. By the next day, the stunning goddess arrives at the airport carrying a very heavy luggage while passing through security. Suddenly, the girl lets out a gasp of surprise when someone bumps hard into her back in the middle of that massive crowd. Looking back, the beautiful young woman is completely surprised to see the face of the charming tycoon, asking what he is doing there. Shopping very seductively, the young rich man states he can't bear to be away from the woman, revealing he decided to travel along with her today. With very blushed cheeks, the beautiful girl questions if the hero is going for work while her loyalty points go up. The billionaire confirms the business trip, noticing happily that his partner already possesses a high girlfriend rating in the system. At that, the beauty finds the young man's fixed gaze strange, and the charmer responds directly that he is admiring all her beauty. Dying of embarrassment, the young long-haired woman averts her face, telling her friend to walk fast so they don't miss the flight. Once inside the luxury plane, our hero notices his partner trembling quite a bit in her seat and asks if anything is wrong. Trying to hide it, the beautiful girl confesses she is very afraid of flying, and the protective student firmly holds the poor girl's hand. Feeling the warmth of that touch, the timid goddess blushes deeply, thanking him for the immense affection of her attentive companion. Without losing this great chance, the charming young master draws the beautiful woman's face in, starting a romantic and passionate kiss. Completely giving in, the beauty closes her eyes and returns the affection, wrapping her arms around the strong body of the great millionaire. But the hot mood is broken when a flight attendant offers hot towels, making the couple separate in the biggest scare ever. Burning with embarrassment, the young woman fears other people saw the scene, while the bold rich guy says kissing isn't a crime. Avoiding more contact, the girl rests her head on the hero's shoulder, mentioning she will sleep a bit to cure her dizziness. Hours later at the airport, the tycoon offers a ride, but the girl declines, stating his house is far too distant from there. Observing the charming young man, the goddess reflects internally that their relationship isn't ready to advance just yet. Getting into the taxi, the young woman says goodbye, and our protagonist tells her to send a text message as soon as she arrives safely. With his hands in his pockets, the student deduces he scared the girl on the plane, realizing it is better to take things slow. Arriving at his mansion, the beautiful manager welcomes him, asking if he wants to eat, but the exhausted young man prefers to take a nice bath. Being very formal, the employee agrees, thinking her great boss is acting coldly after all these days. In the bath area, the manager thought the romance was over until the bold rich guy asks her to scrub his back. Without hesitating, the stunning employee begins to take off her uniform, revealing her wonderful body in the middle of the steam. With a seductive look, the beautiful woman confesses she is crazy for the young man, accepting any affection from that rich scoundrel. Calling his lovely manager, the hero pulls her close, feeling all the soft skin of that beautiful goddess inside the water. Giving in to the kisses, the beautiful woman confesses that the last few days alone at home were very difficult to bear. Panting, the young mature woman yields to the rich guy's bold touches, demonstrating all the longing she kept during the long week. Being seductive, the young master questions his partner's haste while she suggests that the young man eat after such a long trip. Hearing this, the charming tycoon carries the beauty in his arms, asking if his great stamina shows any weakness right there. Dying of embarrassment, the blushing employee tries to explain herself and apologizes, feeling her beloved boss's strong embrace. Falling onto the soft bed, the wonderful manager lets out a long sigh, preparing herself for a night of deep romance. By the next day, the stunning woman wakes up desperate, noticing she overslept and fearing being seen by her colleagues. Fixing her clothes, the woman burns with embarrassment, remembering that the tireless protagonist enjoyed the romance the entire night. Hugging his goddess, the hero tells her to relax, but the dedicated employee mentions she needs to organize his lunch right away. Using his charm, the student states that her duty is to serve him, and the customer only wishes to sleep, embracing the young woman. Very timid, the woman fears workplace gossip, and the young man guarantees he doesn't care about that because sleeping with his woman is normal. The manager's heart beats fast with the declaration, wanting to know if she can finally be considered the official girlfriend. Giving a confident smile, the billionaire states that the coveted title depends solely on the will of his beautiful partner. Being sincere, the hero warns that as long as the goddess wants to stay by his side, she will have his love, leaving the beauty surprised. Totally melted, the young mature woman ignores the young man's scoundrel reputation and asks if he likes her at least a little bit. With an affectionate look, Jiang Cheng kisses his beautiful partner, guaranteeing he would never embrace her if he didn't feel true affection. Aware of the other girls, the woman asks only for the young man not to bring anyone along with her, and the wealthy guy agrees on the spot. At that moment, the radio plays, warning that the great customer's luxury car has arrived, breaking the entire romantic mood. Adjusting her blouse, the beautiful manager asks the tycoon to get up quickly to unload the new vehicle in front of the hotel. Once outside, the attentive delivery employee asks the young master to sign the papers, confirming the transaction. Opening the container, the workers are completely shocked to see the incredible machine shining in the middle of everyone. The curious onlookers drool over the famous, super-fast Porsche, deducing that the owner of that spaceship must be a filthy rich man. Far from there, the hotel president tries to get to work, complaining about the standstill traffic, demanding to know the reason for the chaos. Through the window, the manager explains that the young student is unloading his vehicle, promising to clean everything up real fast. Losing his patience, the old suited man yells, ordering them to remove the spaceship from the front, caring very little about who owns the automobile. Sweating cold, the fearful employee walks over to our protagonist, remembering the orders to treat the young man like a great king. Sitting in the driver's seat, the charming wealthy guy notices the nervous man and asks calmly if there is any problem there. Observing from afar, the furious president gets a scare upon recognizing the hero, blaming his lackey for not warning him earlier. Quickly, the businessman flashes a large fake smile, making up an excuse that he was just admiring the billionaire's machine. The hotel manager approaches and asks politely if our protagonist needs anything at all. At that, the young rich man asks for a local license plate, mentioning he wants a very special and exclusive model. Quickly, the old suited man recalls a client who won a beautiful plate at an auction, promising to speak with her. Relaxing in the driver's seat, the tycoon agrees to the idea, deducing that an auction item must be of high quality. An hour later, the manager calls the hero's cell phone, passing along the address of a chic restaurant for the great meeting. Arriving at the venue, the billionaire finds it strange that the man is alone, and the old man explains that the mysterious woman is already waiting for them. Suddenly, a stunning beauty approaches the table, leaving the student impressed by that wonderful woman. Reading the system screen, the young man analyzes the goddess's perfect attributes, noting that she possesses an unshakable loyalty. Observing the data, the young master reflects in surprise that the beautiful girl is extremely faithful even without romantic bonds. Being very polite, the suited man greets the beautiful manager, but ends up being completely ignored by her. Leaning over the table, the long-haired woman smiles seductively and calls the hero president, leaving him quite confused. The old partner is in shock over the closeness of the two, while the protagonist tries to understand what is happening there. Giving a provocative smile, the wonderful young woman asks if the wealthy guy has forgotten his own investment agency. Pulling from his memory, the young man remembers that the system placed the beautiful girl in the position of principal manager of his grand company. Making a charming pout, the goddess complains about the young man's attitude, pretending to be sad for being forgotten by him. Being bold, the tycoon gives a playful smack to the woman's curves, justifying himself that he fully trusted her great work. Sweating cold, the old manager can't believe the scene, reflecting that the girl was known as the ice queen of the market. The frightened partner remembers that the talented young woman was a true genius, commanding funds of millions with great ease. Admiring the couple, the old suited man concludes that the young student is terrifying for holding so much power in his hands. Laughing at the great coincidence, the manager finds it funny trying to introduce the beautiful woman to her own boss. Raising his wine glass, the old man praises the billionaire's incredible success, predicting a legendary future for the boy. Drinking along with him, our hero asks his old friend to relax and enjoy that delicious meal at the table. Just then, the stunning manager runs her hand through her hair and asks if the boss has read the reports she sent earlier. The young man fakes it, remembering he spent the night enjoying himself, but praises the 20 million in profits that the young woman generated. Being ironic, the goddess smiles in agreement, while thinking irritably that the slacker tycoon didn't care at all about the business. Changing the subject, the charming student questions if she is the owner of the famous 5 million plate mentioned by his friend. Drinking his wine, the old partner smiles relaxedly, mentioning that he doesn't need to make any more introductions there. The beautiful girl agrees to pass the item to the boss, while the hero touches her legs, promising to visit the company in the future. Completely blushing at the bold touch, the beautiful woman mentions she will be waiting anxiously for the young master's visit. Later, the billionaire answers his cell phone, receiving an invitation from a good friend to visit a super exclusive art gallery. 2 hours later, our hero arrives in front of the grand mansion, finding his old partners waiting for him there. Observing the luxury machine, the friend in the brown jacket praises the beautiful plate, mentioning that it matched the boss very well. Leaning against his beautiful vehicle, the charming student confesses to winning that beautiful gift from a mysterious beauty. Laughing at the situation, the partner suggests that the young man use his gift with women to get a discount from the owner there. At that moment, the young man in the gray shirt agrees, saying that the great collector seemed young but already had a child. Evaluating the scenario, Jiang Chen jokes that the situation will be difficult, while his friend asks him to show off his charms. Laughing, the protagonist mentions he has a very weak stomach, needing to be supported by some filthy rich woman. Cutting the jokes, the blonde young man calls the small group to head inside, agreeing that the biggest spender will pay for the drinks. Walking through the courtyard, the gray-haired boy remembers that the owner was the top jewelry specialist, hoping for rare additions. Arriving at the huge door, the polite butler receives the visitors, mentioning that his great lady is already on her way. Once inside the sophisticated reception room, the guests settle onto the couch while a maid serves a delicious tea. Being very attentive, the butler shows a luxury piece on his computer, praising the stunning beauty of that machine. Very thoughtful, the charming tycoon admires all those options, reflecting that all the items are of an absurd quality. Excited, the blonde friend questions his partner's choices, deducing that the very expensive watch will be a magnet for beautiful girls. Relaxed on the couch, the gray-haired young man agrees, predicting a nice bakachi for his friend if he walks around with that piece. Being serious, the golden-haired wealthy guy reproves the jokes, stating he uses valuable items solely to check the time. Hearing everything, the young master suggests keeping the extravagant accessory, wanting to know if the blonde wealthy guy desires another jewel. Giving a great laugh, the blonde partner confesses to being very interested in an exclusive model that wasn't for sale. Drinking his drink, the other friend is impressed, realizing that the protagonist is evaluating only the 10 million items. Giving a sharp smile, the blonde companion accuses the hero of wanting to buy the most perfect jewel just to draw attention. Being curious, the young man in the gray shirt asks the reason for the restriction, and the old butler explains it belongs to the boss's collection. Admiring the jewel on the glowing screen, the young master is marveled by the object's mysterious air, coveting it more and more. Trying to liven up the mood, the friend guarantees that they will return there soon, giving the hero a new chance to try his luck. Suddenly, a wonderful woman wearing a very provocative, skin-tight outfit walks down the long corridor of the large house. Immediately, the experienced butler bows his body, demonstrating deep respect for the owner of that entire luxury empire. Being gentle, the stunning woman apologizes for the major traffic delay, hoping that the clients liked everything. Quickly, the friends flatter the gallery owner, praising the insuperable beauty of that goddess and calling her big sister. At that exact moment, Jiang Cheng freezes, completely shocked to recognize the mysterious owner of that major business. Looking at the boy, the incredible beauty gets totally confused, questioning why her dear tycoon is in that place. Observing the strange tension in the air, the watchful blonde suspects that the two already possess a major, well-hidden history. The charming protagonist smiles, confessing he didn't know the place was hers, while the woman asks what he is doing in the city. With tranquility, the hero mentions he was bored, and the manager laments that they didn't travel together after his friend missed her so much. Observing the closeness, the partner in the gray shirt is completely shocked, deducing that the two are already old acquaintances. Returning to business, the beautiful businesswoman comments on the desired jewel, but the young man mentions that the coveted item isn't for sale. Giving a beautiful, blushing smile, the enchanting woman states that the student's desire is the only thing that matters there. Being very generous, the wealthy woman orders the old butler to fetch the valuable luxury piece to give as a gift to the coveted young man. Upon hearing this, the tycoon's partners are jaw-dropped, unable to believe he will win a fortune like that for free. Envious, the guy in gray complains about the requirements demanded by the woman, while the spoiled hero receives everything with great ease. Approaching in a seductive way, the beauty states that the boy is special and can have anything he desires in the store. The shocking revelation leaves the companions perplexed, reflecting that the location's gigantic collection is worth over 1 billion. At that, the experienced employee mentions the exact name of the extremely expensive brand watch to the boss, who agrees very thoughtfully. The woman mentions she will fetch the item, but the young master declines, demanding to pay the market value or he won't accept the gift. A bit confused, the manager questions the sudden formality, and Jiang Chung guarantees it is impossible to take something so valuable for free. Accepting the fine payment, the businesswoman decides to help the young man in the future and invites him to look at other, more exclusive collections. Totally curious, the friends beg to see the items, breaking the highest rules of etiquette among major collectors. Giving a nice wink, the stunning queen of the place ignores the protocols and invites all the young men to follow ahead. Relieved, the blonde partner reflects happily that the boss didn't get offended, clearing the group for the important private tour. Soon, the beautiful owner runs her fingers over a super high-tech lock, using her beautiful eyes for an advanced security scan. The massive metal gate opens, clearing the passage to the mysterious treasure area under the command of the powerful woman. The young man in the gray shirt is impressed, noting that the place's protection level is comparable to that of an immense bank. Descending the stairs, the manager tells the curious visitors not to mind the heavy guards, as it was standard procedure. Arriving at a massive, luxury hall, the hostess displays all her exclusive machines, clearing the group to walk freely. Observing everything, the blonde is shocked by the place's wealth, praising the incredible rarity of those unique models in the world. Drooling over the display cases, the partners find precious items used in famous movies, admiring the good taste of each expensive piece. Being seductive, the billionaire woman tries to please the protagonist by offering the new accessories, but the charming youth declines politely. Pondering a bit, the businesswoman plans to deliver the reward on the wealthy guy's birthday, avoiding drawing attention from other people. Half an hour later, the companion in gray expresses thanks for the grand visit, but the hero scolds him, telling him to go hunt for a girlfriend. Completely embarrassed, the boy denies that absurd gossip, waving his hands and pretending not to like that type of talk. Resuming the gossip, the blonde young man hints at a romantic affair with the mature manager, but the protagonist mentions he has just met her. Envious, the colleague concludes in shock that the wealthy goddess is already in love with the handsome billionaire, coveting all his partner's luck. The young student mentions that his friends are overthinking things, justifying that only that woman's little daughter likes him. Laughing, the partner accuses the young man of not sparing even little girls, and the furious protagonist tells them all to go jump in a lake. Bringing the valuable jewel, the woman charges 23 million, and the tycoon asks for help to put it on his wrist, promising to pay everything. With much affection, the beautiful manager adjusts the accessory on the client's arm, who praises the soft touch, stating it looks perfect. Totally melted, the beautiful goddess displays a look full of affection and care while fixing the billionaire's shirt sleeve. Observing the hot mood, the partners are astonished by the feared owner's submission, praising our hero's skills. Raising his cell phone, the young master confirms the cash transfer, saying goodbye to the wealthy woman while walking out of the place. Once outside, the rascal in the gray shirt reminds him of the bet, mentioning that the night's biggest spender will pay for all their fun. The hero receives a bonus in the system, asking his partners to choose the destination, and one suggests a bathhouse. Being very mischievous, the blonde friend guarantees that the place is full of wild fun, and the protagonist agrees, wanting a good massage. The other colleague agrees, feeling pains in his entire body, and the charming group leader gets into his car, telling everyone to follow him. Arriving at the luxury night venue, a very well-dressed manager receives the guests, presenting his most beautiful employees. Very excited, the blonde pushes his dear friend forward, mentioning that the wealthy guy will have the great honor of choosing first. The manager asks our hero to make his selection, but the young man uses the system, noticing that all the girls are not very reliable. Reading the digital screen, the watchful tycoon perceives that only one short-haired girl possesses a much lower score. Without wasting much time, the direct and charming youth points his finger at the young woman with bluish hair, choosing her to accompany him. Getting a big scare, the fearful beauty obeys her boss's strict order, preparing herself to serve the coveted client. Quickly, the blonde boy also grabs his partner, inviting the small group to eat something before the action. Everyone has fun with the girls pampering the clients, and the hero finds his chosen one's tension strange, telling her to relax and eat. Suddenly, the phone rings, and a beautiful pink-haired girl asks longingly if she can visit the young master today. Using a flimsy excuse, the tycoon makes up a business dinner, and his partner teases him, asking if it's his girlfriend keeping tabs. Soon another woman calls, calling the protagonist husband, jealous about the busy line, and the scoundrel lies, saying it's a client. Over the phone, the blonde executive wishes to see her beloved, and the scoundrel tells her to take a good bath, promising to go to the company tomorrow. Seeing the entire scene, the friends notice that the wealthy guy is talking to someone else, proposing a bet to see how many more will call. Ignoring the numerous calls, the billionaire decides to put his device aside, preferring to enjoy the fun with his friends. Shocked by that attitude, the colleague in the brown shirt thinks indignantly that their powerful leader is a heartless scoundrel. Drinking his glass, the other henchman agrees in silence, envying the student's supreme ability to manage his time. Embraced with his partner, the blonde man tells the young man to be very careful with excesses, telling him to preserve his body. Giving a bold smack to his companion's curves, the blonde alerts that physical performance drops brutally with sad old age. Eating his chicken, the colleague complains that age is weighing down, confessing he can only enjoy things a few times a month with the girls. Laughing a lot, the partner tells him not to be sad, promising to send a truckload of pills to cure his health. Changing the subject, the blonde questions the reason why the billionaire spent fortunes to ruin the young actress's career. Shocked by the rumor, our hero wonders how this spread, guaranteeing that he never even met that famous girl. Understanding everything, the partner deduces that the girl must have offended some girlfriend of the tycoon for him to spend so much money. Drinking his drink, the protagonist denies the theory, while his colleague praises the young master for spending so much on women. Excited, the blonde friend tells the companion to make the most of her luck, telling the young woman to think well on how to serve the rich guy. 20 minutes later, the young man notices the girl trembling in the luxury room, telling the fearful one to take a shower first. Taking off his shirt, the charming student displays his muscular body while the beautiful girl turns on the hot water tap. Observing the young man's body, the timid woman is impressed by the size of that beast, fearing she won't handle the strain. At that, the wonderful client calls the young woman's attention, asking why she is standing there staring at him in the shower. Building up courage, the employee confesses she deeply needs the money to pay the medical bills of her old and sick grandmother. Being bold, the scoundrel praises the girl's great effort while holding on to the soft curves of that lovely employee. Starting the shower, the student guarantees he will treat her very well, starting a very romantic kiss with that needy goddess. By the next morning, the young woman wakes up alone in the large soft bed, wondering if her beloved client has already left. Observing the edge of the bed, the girl finds a beautiful note alongside a valuable bank card with a lot of money saved. Very touched by the hero's immense care and help, the beautiful girl cries with joy, embracing that life-saving gift. Far from there, the billionaire speaks on the phone, informing his secretary that he has already taken the elevator, feeling a bit tired today. Suddenly, a stylish woman wearing beautiful sunglasses emerges behind the young man, calling him by his grand title. Recognizing his friend, the young man questions her delay, and the girl jokes that she was fleeing from journalists to avoid too much gossip. Giving a great laugh, the excited hero thinks it's all a big exaggeration, questioning if the girl has become that famous. Celebrating a lot, the beauty expresses thanks for the boss's massive sponsorship, revealing that her career rose in a brilliant way. Walking down the corridors, the model flirts with the boss, who responds by telling her to look for him whenever she misses him. Arriving at the huge floor, the wonderful blonde secretary receives the student, curious about the presence of the other girl with him. Being direct, the billionaire mentions he ran into the employee on the way, and the blonde agrees, leading the tycoon to the office. Taking advantage of the ride, the young redhead says goodbye to both, telling the blonde to ask for her help if she needs anything. The other employees of the place drool over the handsome young man, coveting that strong man, thinking he is a new hire. Entering the beautiful room, the young boss praises the entire decor of the environment, perceiving the immense care in those expensive works. Very happy with the fine compliment, the enchanting blonde prepares a drink, serving a hot cup to warm up the wealthy man. Tasting the mixture, the boy praises the drink's taste, but jokes that today's youth loves to drink tea with lots of milk. Very willing, the blonde mentions that there are many shops in the area, offering to send someone to fetch a snack for the boss. The bold tycoon pulls the beautiful blonde onto his lap, stating that he didn't need to leave there to drink something very delicious. After a good amount of time passes, the red-haired model enters the room, wanting to know how business went, while the blonde fixes her skirt. Highly blushing, the stunning secretary covers it up, saying she was almost finished and needed to fetch more documents there. At that, the watchful actress notices that her partner's lipstick has vanished, but the young woman makes up a story that she drank tea with the great boss. Being mischievous, the model approaches, wiping the blonde's face, wanting to know what kind of strange tea they drank. Dying of embarrassment, the beautiful manager flees the situation, making up an excuse that she deeply needs to touch up her makeup right now. Observing her colleagues escape, the seductive redhead wonders internally about the reason for so much desperation from that beautiful woman. Rubbing her fingers, the famous star finds the texture of the white liquid strange, deducing that it didn't look like a common drink. Sensing a familiar scent, the curious beauty tries to guess what the secretary and the charming student were doing there. Giving a beautiful smile, the woman opens the office door, asking permission to enter and keep the billionaire company. The young master tells her to make herself at home, while the actress praised all that luxury worthy of a very powerful man. Drinking his tea, the charming protagonist provokes the girl, inviting the young woman to enjoy all that wealth with him. Soon, the bold artist approaches from behind, offering a good message she learned during her famous recordings. Closing his eyes, the student praises his partner's skill, asking only for her to apply a bit more pressure. Leaning against the wealthy guy, the redhead increases the pressure, pleasing the boss, who sighs with relief at that great care. Suddenly, the famous model sighs a bit disappointed upon noticing that the young master has truly fallen asleep right there. Returning to the room, the blonde manager finds the young man's silence strange, asking her red-haired partner to wake the sleepyhead. Shaking the hero's shoulders, the beautiful actress calls out quietly that her great assistant has returned with the papers. Waking up a bit confused, the tycoon hears the secretary demanding more energy from him, because they have many things to look over. Being very polite, the charming actress says goodbye to the two, stating she didn't want to disrupt the duo's business. Walking outside, the redhead reflects on the assistant's seriousness, feeling a bit silly for having suspected her. Hours later, the work ends, and the beautiful blonde questions if the hero is tired because of his other girlfriends. Being bold, the scoundrel holds firmly onto his partner's waist, threatening to give her a nice punishment for saying those things. Giving a beautiful smile, the woman confesses she is just joking, but demands to know how many other companions he possesses. The boy answers calmly that there are only two, and the curious blonde young woman asks if she knows them. Relaxed in his chair, the wealthy guy mentions the famous manager of that chic hotel and another beautiful online content creator. Hugging his neck, the blonde feels jealous, but the hero guarantees that she will always be the most special one in his life. Melted by the beautiful declaration, the manager accepts sharing the young man, wanting to know if he can handle dealing with all three. Accepting the major challenge, the young master pulls the girl down hard, suggesting making a new test of his immense stamina. Commenting that she is tired, the seductive beauty provokes him, wanting to drain all the young man's energy so he won't run off at night. 4 hours later, the young master appears in his car, very exhausted from spending so much energy, deciding to stop to eat something. Parking on the street, the tycoon asks the friendly vendor if he can leave his machine there, and the old man agrees with no problems. Highly hungry, the hero orders 10 skewers and 20 portions of oysters while the excited cook prepared everything over the coals. Observing the scene, the old gossips notice the exaggerated order, deducing that the rich young man needs to replenish his strength. Laughing at the situation, one of the men confesses to envying all that immense stamina, layman's no longer having so much energy to spend. Suddenly, the humble merchant goes into shock, warning in desperation that some driver just hit the boss's car. Drinking his soda, the calm student asks the old man not to worry about that, wanting to know only about his food. Completely shocked, the gentlemen conclude that the boy is filthy rich for ignoring the crash, focusing solely on the skewers. At that moment, a very stylish young man approaches a bit awkwardly while the vendor points, revealing who owns the spaceship. Joining his hands, the culprit apologizes for the massive damage, explaining that he needed to swerve from a dog in the middle of the street. Savoring the delicious meat, the protagonist mentions that safety is the most important thing, deciding to evaluate the damages later. Admiring the two crashed luxury machines, the young master doesn't care much about the destruction, and the other wealthy guy decides to call. Observing the culprit's great calm, our billionaire reflects that the mysterious young man must have a very powerful background. Hanging up the phone, the boy mentions he called for help, lamenting the damage to the beautiful vehicle, and the hero invites him to eat. Accepting the generous invitation, the friendly newcomer sits at the humble table, calling his savior who had just arrived there. Arriving at the location, the platinum-haired hare complains about his companion's bad driving, questioning why he didn't use insurance. The driver justifies that he took his sister's machine secretly, and our tycoon recognizes the newcomer, becoming impressed. Being very polite, the driver introduces the calm student, warning that he is the great victim of that terrible collision. Shaking the famous rich man's hand, Jiang Cheng receives compliments for his good attitude in eating skewers after losing a car. The protagonist downplays the problem, and the driver mentions that his men will handle everything, promising to buy him a good drink. Saying goodbye in a friendly way, the charming platinum-haired guy asks if the young master needs a ride right now. Jiang Cheng declines, stating that his ride is already on its way, and the rich kid praises the student's gentlemanly posture. At that moment, a beautiful manager emerges, warning that the car is ready, and the billionaire questions the employee's delay. Displaying her beautiful curves, the seductive girl guarantees she didn't want to disrupt the meal, confessing she arrived just a moment ago. Hugging the girl, the scoundrel praises her wonderful perfume, and the goddess explains it's a fragrance very famous for being addictive. Getting closer to her neck, the cheeky tycoon whispers, wanting to know what she would do if he got addicted to the scent. Maintaining the seductive mood, the partner confesses that was the goal, becoming very happy for having provoked the young man. Eating in the background, the old gossips feel immense envy, seeing the boy recharge his energy and immediately jump to another one. Once inside the new vehicle, the tireless hero attacks his beautiful employee, who reminds him of the agreement they made earlier. Ignoring the rules, the bold billionaire continues his fun, enjoying himself immensely in the back seat with the manager. The poor driver drives sweating cold and dying of embarrassment, hearing all the hot noises coming from the vehicle's back seat. The next day, the beautiful woman feeds her boss, while the hero reflects that a common man would already be broken from fatigue. At that moment, the tycoon's cell phone rings, receiving an invitation from an old friend to have lunch, and the young man accepts to pick her up soon. Being very affectionate, the scoundrel kisses the blonde goodbye, praising the delicious breakfast that helped him recover. Arriving at the huge mall, the young woman in the white top suggests heading straight to the restaurant to wait for the food, making small talk. However, the billionaire tries to please his partner by offering luxury bags, and the girl declines, stating she wants nothing bought. Using his great charm, the protagonist tells the young woman to relax, justifying that giving expensive gifts was very normal for him. A bit worried, the beautiful goddess reflects that the rich student's gifts cost true fortunes, being far too expensive. Holding the young woman's hand, the young master suggests that she try on new designer clothes, and the girl accepts, quite embarrassed. Very excited with the beautiful clothes, the wealthy guy calls the store attendant, ordering her to bring many more exclusive pieces. Becoming angry, the modest partner begs the hero to stop with that waste, threatening to leave if he continued there. Upset, the boy gives up on trying to activate his $1 million refund card, realizing that the items were too cheap. Yielding to her requests, the understanding tycoon hands the bag to the cashier employee, paying for everything without making much fuss. Going up the escalators, the leader of the outing decides to take his companion to a famous restaurant, and the woman agrees, smiling. Arriving at the huge venue, the student recognizes a familiar girl, perceiving it as the little idol recording a video there alone. The pink-haired girl freezes completely upon seeing her charming sponsor accompanied by an absurdly wonderful woman. Observing the strange mood, the friend in the white top asks if he knows the influencer, and the boy fears being unmasked right there. Maintaining his great calm, the billionaire approaches the famous youth, feigning much surprise at that coincidence of destiny. Resting his hands on the table, the scoundrel asks in a friendly way if the beautiful girl is really streaming her massive meal. Dying of embarrassment, the famous idol apologizes to her internet audience, ending the recording in the greatest desperation ever. As soon as the camera turns off, the pink-haired girl questions directly if that beautiful young woman next to the billionaire is his girlfriend. Being very polite, the beautiful content creator introduces herself formally to the woman, mentioning she is a great friend of the wealthy guy. Observing the looks, the mature beauty feels a bit of jealousy, but decides not to overthink things to avoid misunderstandings there. Being very gentle, the beautiful companion returns the politeness, holding the famous artist's hand while stating her beautiful name. Giving a mischievous smile, the scoundrel protagonist finds the sight of those two goddesses meeting to be something very interesting. Inviting the couple to sit, the needy young woman gets a flat refusal from the tycoon, who jokes that there isn't enough food for everyone. Insisting, the influencer suggests ordering more dishes for the table, praising the beauty of the girl in the top, who becomes embarrassed. The influencer reveals she doesn't have many friends because she works too much, and begs the pair of lovebirds to sit and keep her company. Happy to manage to win the battle, the pink-haired girl raises her hand, calling the employee to bring more food. Totally lost, the companion in the white top looks to the hero, asking for help, and the young man accepts the artist's bold invitation. Observing the beautiful accessory, the pink-haired girl praises the wealthy guy's watch, asking if that unique piece is very expensive. Giving a light smile, our protagonist reflects lines of amusement that wherever many women exist, major dramas always happen. Perceiving the conversation, the beautiful young woman in the white top gets extremely nervous, fearing that the $1,000,000 secret might be discovered. Being modest, the humble student makes up a story that it was just a children's model worth 1,500 Rs, leaving the young woman confused. Evaluating the materials, the watchful star suspects the jewelry's high value, while the scoundrel makes up a totally fake brand. Searching the internet, the shocked actress discovers that the machine is worth millions, perceiving that the young master had tricked her. Changing the subject, the seductive idol tries to feed the mature goddess by hand, but the timid companion declines the affectionate gesture. Keeping her look focused, the curious content creator questions directly how the beautiful assistant met the billionaire. Giving a confident smile, the stunning employee responds calmly that the two were great classmates back in school. Agreeing smoothly, the girl with the colorful hair savors the meal, while the calm tycoon continued eating right there. At that moment, our hero gets a big shock with someone's leg touching him underneath that huge table at the venue. Evaluating the two women, the boy notes that both were eating their meats normally, hiding their intentions very well. Perceiving the owner of the feat, the cheeky rich guy smiles mischievously, deciding to join that dangerous secret game. Without hesitating, the bold student uses one of his hands underneath the table and grabs that soft foot with plenty of force and much desire. Immediately, the startled idol freezes in surprise, feeling the young man's firm grip, not expecting such an aggressive reaction. Savoring the meat, the scoundrel feigns innocence, finding the dual personality of the cheeky girl in front of him very amusing. Completely embarrassed, the young woman tries to chat with the other friend, while the sadistic hero told jokes to cover everything up. Displaying a sadistic expression, the young master deduces that the stubborn artist is still holding on strong, deciding to increase the pressure. Using his skillful fingers, the implacable protagonist begins to tickle the sensitive foot of the desperate beauty intensely. Unable to bear the touches, the pink-haired girl lets out a very loud and sudden laugh, startling the stunning manager next to her. Trying to justify herself, the idol makes up a story that she remembered something very comical, while the student continued his harsh attack. Observing that scene, the mature secretary suspects a bit and tells the youth to eat quickly before the food goes cold. Trembling and laughing from nervousness, the poor girl promises not to remember that joke anymore, hoping the billionaire stops the punishment. With an almost tearful look, the repentant influencer begs for forgiveness, and the compliant hero agrees to let go of her body. Rising from his chair, the charming student adjusts his clothes and warns his beautiful partners that he needs to use the local restroom. 3 minutes later, the tycoon returns and finds the two rivals exchanging contacts, wondering what is going on. Hugging the stunning employee, the idol declares that the two are now best friends, promising many outings together. Running his hand through his hair, our hero smiles, admiring the artist's capacity to charm even the toughest manager. Reading a text from an old friend, the young man prepares to leave, and the understanding assistant tells him to focus on business. Giving a fine wink, the excited influencer guarantees that she will look after the woman, telling the rich student to enjoy his night. Reflecting on the night, the protagonist finds the unexpected friendship of those two beautiful girls amusing. Arriving at the luxury party, the platinum-haired partner calls the hero to sit alongside his beautiful companion. Announcing his friend to everyone, the rich kid tells the girls to treat the great guest of honor very well right there. Impressed by the scene, one of the guests admires the massive amount of beauties surrounding the charming tycoon. A curious young woman questions who the mysterious guy in the middle is, deducing that the billionaire is someone important. Approaching the platinum-haired guy, the long-haired driver confirms that he is already preparing everything for the apology. Being calm, our hero mentions it isn't necessary to worry over so little, while the youth insisted on paying. Showing his great gratitude, the partner with the long hair quickly orders 5 combos of a valuable drink. The employees of the place are jaw-dropped, calculating that the exaggerated order costs nearly $500,000. The platinum-haired friend finds the generosity funny, and the driver laments that he will be poor for a long time. Reading the floating system, the student is surprised to note that the duo already possesses a very high loyalty. Placing his hand on his colleague's shoulder, the wealthy guy expresses thanks for the party, being called a very gentle man. The organizer tells the waiter to go all out on the fireworks and food, demanding to put the protagonist's name on everything. Quickly, the entire nightclub celebrates the extravagant request, with the entertainers shouting the billionaire's grand name. Bringing the expensive bottles, the beautiful attendants draw a lot of attention from the guests, who envied the massive wealth. Parading through the massive party, the stunning woman carries the glowing board, displaying the young master's name. Being very social, the calm long-haired guy calls his partners for a toast, starting the night out with lots of fun. Approaching, the beautiful foreigner introduces herself, and our hero praises the stunning blonde's excellent vocabulary. Explaining her lineage, the gorgeous girl laments not possessing a visa, living there for work, and the young man questions the field. Getting much closer to the tycoon, the bold blonde confesses to working as a model, wanting to provoke the coveted man. Observing the beautiful body, the strategist suggests an influencer career, while the girl fears she won't find success. Being very visionary, the student guarantees that the girl's surreal beauty would yield rivers of money in the future. The seductive model reveals she already records videos with not much return, and the billionaire warns that the secret lay in another format. Showing a lot of wisdom, the wealthy guy drinks his wine, explaining the famous, controversial tactics to get very rich. Totally impressed by the business plan, the gorgeous girl widens her eyes, unable to believe it is something so simple. Hearing the great talk, the platinum-haired guy gives a light smile, suspecting that the hero desires to enter the new industry. Twirling the glass in his hand, the bold young master responds that he is interested solely in the valuable internet economy. The intelligent billionaire explains that the true fortune was hidden within the major streaming platforms. Toasting with his partners, the student proposes to unite that scattered market to be able to dominate all the finances. Becoming very intrigued by the fine business vision, the platinum-haired friend suggests creating a massive agency. Jiang Cheng says he doesn't care about agencies that make low revenues, and the blonde friend admires his ambition to want money from the source. Drinking wine, the hero thinks his partner is clever while the fellow questions if the idea is to create expensive and already saturated platforms. Keeping his calm, the tycoon reflects in silence that nobody there knows about the future global explosion of short videos. The intelligent student recalls an internet giant that will soon reach an absurd market value of billions. Focused on business, the wealthy guy plans to invest heavily in the brand's next funding round to profit fortunes. Just then, a beautiful bunny hugs the platinum-haired guy, complaining that the two men only talk about finances instead of drinking with them. Being serious, the youth pushes the girl away, warning that she doesn't understand the subject and telling the young woman to go play elsewhere. Resuming the talk, the hare asks to continue, and the protagonist summarizes that they need to look for great new platforms. Serving the wine glasses, the charming youth decides to end the boring subject, preferring to focus on enjoying that party. Excited with the break, the friend fully agrees, toasting with the group to drink until they drop from pure exhaustion. 2 hours pass, and our hero leaves embracing the pink-haired girl after his blonde partner went to another hotel. Observing the other girls, the scoundrel evaluates their attributes, deciding that his pink-haired companion is the most beautiful. Saying goodbye to the group, the long-haired guy mentions he called a driver, alerting about the major dangers of some scammers. Giving a gentle smile, the billionaire expresses thanks for his friend's advice, keeping the beautiful influencer glued to his body. Hugging his beautiful companion, the platinum-haired guy expresses thanks for the great finance lesson, arranging to talk later. With that, the young master says goodbye to his new party partners while walking down the street with the two beautiful women. Already driving the car, the famous artist thinks enviously about the reason why that handsome young man is always surrounded by many goddesses. Competing for attention, the bold pink-haired girl holds firmly to the student's hand, telling the foreigner to back off from that territory. Being friendly, the beautiful foreigner ignores the jealousy, thanking him for the excellent nightly advice and arranging a return. Alone in the vehicle, the wealthy guy touches the driver's soft face and asks the destination, hearing that they are going to her house. Giving an excuse, the influencer pretends to be surprised, claiming she thought the boy would sleep at the other friend's house. Perceiving the drama, the calculative tycoon reproves the attitude, cutting the subject by threatening to look for another place to stay. Fearing losing the prize, the girl apologizes for the jealousy, while the hero warns that she is free to leave. Pouting, the young woman confesses she has fallen in love for real, asking for more affection, and the young man remembers everything he did today. Being manipulative, the charmer caresses the idol's cheek, guaranteeing he would never forget her if she is very obedient. Patting the young woman's head, the student confirms his desire for her, calming that artist's heart once and for all. Taking advantage of the opening, the mischievous companion holds the client's hand, asking for a hot night to satisfy all her longing. Arriving at the small apartment, the billionaire evaluates the modest place while the homeowner invited him to sit down soon. Without losing time, the seductive woman lies on the soft bed, displaying her perfect legs, summoning the scoundrel to action. Completely giving in to the strong touches, the beauty lets out a long groan of pleasure, starting a great session of romance. Continuing the hot night, the passionate couple gives in to their strong desires in that stuffy bedroom. The next day, our hero wakes up very excited and asks if the beautiful pink-haired girl is very hungry there. Hugging his goddess, The tycoon suggests eating out while the influencer thought about making something quick. Observing the modest bedroom, the wealthy guy questions the rent price, discovering it costs only $1,600. Being very sincere, the student thinks the place is far too small, but the girl mentions it is hard to find something cheap. Jiang Cheng asks the reason why she doesn't live at the school, and hears that her roommates were very envious. Caressing the young woman's hair, the charming youth reflects that this attitude is normal due to her immense beauty. With that, the billionaire tells the idol to choose a luxury apartment, and the girl raises her arms very happily. Thanking him for the massive care, the stunning artist hugs her client, promising to look over everything tomorrow. Getting up from bed, the hero notices the almost empty wardrobe, deciding to take his new partner to the mall. Being humble, the pink-haired girl declines the gifts, wanting only a little love, while the youth reveals his ambitions. Perceiving his scoundrel side, the beautiful woman accepts her destiny, and the intelligent student tells her to get ready. Arriving at the luxury commercial center, the beautiful couple enters an expensive store, being very well received by the managers. Observing the client, the two employees remember him with another woman, but focus solely on the major sales. Finalizing the purchases, the girl mentions that everything came to nearly $500,000, and the rich boy soon hands over his card. Using the system bonus, the strategist wins an insane return, receiving $48 million in his account. Walking down the street with several bags, the affectionate influencer asks if her partner wishes to drink something. At that moment, the duo notices a poor boy on the sidewalk, begging for financial help to treat his sick mother. Reading the sad cardboard sign, the girl with the colorful hair feels much pity for the child's terrible situation. Being extremely generous, the beautiful young woman kneels on the ground and hands all her cash to the small boy there. Seeing the good deed, some pedestrians complain that it was a scam and that the young woman is just trying to please her boyfriend. Evaluating the beggar's expressions, the calm tycoon deduces that that pure look does not belong to a dirty rascal. Without hesitating, our protagonist pulls more bills from his own pocket and hands them into the hands of the surprised little boy. Very touched by the help, the poor boy bows his body, touching his head to the ground to show immense gratitude. Suddenly, the system rewards the hero with the ability to read minds, startling the young man with such immense power obtained. Meanwhile, the gossips on the street recognize the wealthy guy's handsome face, commenting on the recent internet video. Using the new secret technique, Jiang Cheng listens to the child's heart, confirming that all that pain is genuine. Holding the boy's arms, the student asks him to stand up and questions how much is still missing for the surgery. Focused on the story, the young master laments that fake beggars have ruined society's trust in people. Wanting to resolve this massive problem, the charming billionaire pulls the kid along, telling the little one to accompany him without fear. Holding the child's hands, the rich student hands over $100,000 to guarantee the little boy's mother's surgery right away. Startled by the amount, the poor boy mentions that it is too much money because the procedure cost only $28,000. Observing all that generosity, the goddess with the colorful hair gets confused, trying to understand the tycoon's actions. Patting the boy's head, the hero explains that the remainder of the cash would serve for their recovery and comfort. Crying a lot, the little boy promises to pay the debt in the future, while the young master tells him to focus solely on his studies. Suddenly, the system rewards the good deed, giving an ability to sense danger and an information card about stocks. An hour later at the hospital, the affectionate partner reflects on the expensive purchases, but the wealthy guy tells her to relax. At that moment, the charming student receives a call from a friend, warning about a race and inviting him to the party. Arriving at the luxury event, the partner praises the protagonist's strong influence, who warns he doesn't really enjoy supercars there. Very confused, the long-haired guy questions the reason why the billionaire has several luxury machines stored in his huge garage. Entering the conversation, the other wealthy guy compares cars to beautiful clothes, claiming it is just a matter of pure style. Being ironic, the youth with the platinum hair defends his thesis, asking if there truly is any major difference. Finding that silly discussion funny, our hero smiles while his beautiful companion held firmly to his arm. Admiring the machines across the hall, the girl with the colorful hair is totally impressed by the location's options. Being gentle, the host mentions he rented the entire space, revealing that the girls would have a special race later. Looking at his partner, the charming student suggests she drive a bit, leaving the wonderful idol super excited. With her heart beating fast, the thrilled beauty accepts the fine invitation, wanting to show her skills on the track. Speeding everything up, the protagonist's friend quickly calls one of the event employees to guide the gorgeous girl in the driving test. Quickly, a beautiful woman wearing sportswear appears, confirming the service with a wide smile on her face. After the girl walks away, the long-haired young man rubs his hands, coveting the cars and laments being too poor to have one. Becoming a bit confused by his friend's talk, the tycoon deduces that the partner possesses a lot of money stored in his account. Explaining the sad situation, the colleague reveals he depends on his father, who cut his allowance after some terrible accidents. Giving a wise piece of advice, the young master tells him to make his own cash, while the rich kid speaks of the boredom of investing. Adding fuel to the fire, the platinum-haired partner teases his colleague's lack of patience, stating it is impossible for him to profit. Hearing the conversation of the two, the brilliant strategist projects the system screen in front of him with plenty of discretion. Giving a light smile, the bold student perceives that the divine tip pointed to a massive surge in the foreign market. Maintaining his impeccable posture, the hero defends the stock market area, while the long-haired guy asks if he traded on the exchange. The system then launches a fine mission, rewarding the building of rich friendships to dominate the entire grand market. Checking his cell phone, the calculative billionaire reveals he possesses some insider information, promising a high return. Shocked by the promised amount, the silver-haired friend totally doubts that tip, thinking it is a major scam. Questioning the information, the long-haired youth doubts that investment, while our hero guarantees it is something very safe. Curious about the talk, the smart silver-haired guy asks which is that highly promising investment company. Explaining the details, the billionaire warns that his company would handle everything, and the friend confirms joining with only 100,000. Being understanding, the rich student comforts his partner, warning that modest amount already yields an excellent luxury car. Totally thrilled, the young colleague questions what exact amount the young master would place into that business. Taking out his cell phone, the tycoon reveals he is investing 600 million right away, and the startled long-haired guy thinks his partner robbed a bank. Passing his hand over his head, the silver-haired guy praises the protagonist's massive fortune, declaring him as the true richest man. Maintaining his friendly posture, Jiang Chung warns that he didn't want to force anything, asking for that not to affect their great friendship. Fully trusting the tip, the platinum-haired youth decides to bet all his chips, investing the casual sum of 100 million there. Desperate with the competition, the long-haired guy complains about having little money, and asks for some time to try to raise a few more million. Hearing the wild conversation, the beautiful pink-haired idol stands completely paralyzed by the charming client's bizarre amounts. Admiring her great love's back, the stunning girl reflects on the mysterious and gigantic wealth of that handsome man. Offering good help, the silver-haired guy wants to lend some cash, but the honest long-haired fellow declines using other people's resources. Being proud, the stubborn driver guarantees he can get the money on his own, dying of embarrassment to walk with a pair of wealthy guys. Giving a calm smile, the quiet protagonist respects his colleague's decision, asking them to send their account numbers later. Supporting the wild idea, the excited silver-haired hair expresses thanks in advance, looking forward anxiously to the good market results. Approaching quietly, the beautiful pink-haired girl praises the track, and the smitten billionaire questions the reason why she doesn't buy a beautiful car. Looking at her face, the young master plans to use his discount coupons, predicting spending tens of millions on the purchase. Being very humble, the affectionate woman prefers to ride in taxis, declining to spend valuable gifts gained in such a useless way. Remembering the gorgeous girl's small room, the hero gives up on pressuring her, noticing that his partner didn't like exaggerated luxuries. At that, the event announcer warns over the microphone that the massive track is clear, telling all the drivers to get ready soon. Walking through the venue, the long-haired guy asks for advice on the grand prize, but the rich partner confesses he doesn't care much about that. Asking for suggestions, the poor boy faces Jiang Chung, who quickly asks how the group usually bets on that type of game. Counting his fingers, the friend reveals that the racers always donate 10,000, and the last place finisher needs to pay for everyone's dinner. Suggesting a change, the wise wealthy guy proposes to take all the bet money and use the valuable prize for a fine charity action. Becoming very impressed by the beautiful initiative, the platinum-haired youth thinks it's brilliant, revealing he is motivated to race too. Giving a laugh, the excited organizer grabs his cell phone device, passing those noble rules along to all the drivers. Already putting on the large racing suit, our hero enters his competitive mode, telling his colleagues to get into their vehicles. Positioned on the starting line, the wonderful machines roar their potent engines, while the announcer began that dispute. Lowering his large flag, the starting judge authorizes the fierce race, letting the cars accelerate at full speed right there. Thinking to himself, the protagonist decides to maintain his calm on his first time there so as not to steal the show from the more experienced ones. With the cars speeding on the grand track, the entertainer shouts into the microphone, announcing the winner of the first round of that night. The excited female announcer raises her arms, asking the crowd to clap and congratulate the great champion named Han Anning. The stunning driver removes her helmet, displaying her immense beauty and a beautiful body that drew everyone's attention there. Giving a provocative smile, the girl mocks her long-haired partner, asking if he remained a massive incompetent. Giving a flimsy excuse, the boy claims a lack of familiarity with the car and proposes a new race to prove his value. The cheeky champion accepts the challenge, demanding that he make a bow, and the hero finds her personality quite explosive. Without losing time, the young announcer heralds the start of the second stage, clearing the competitors to accelerate again. Once on the track, the seductive racer perceives a mysterious vehicle approaching very fast, and wonders who the rookie could be. Being very competitive, the gorgeous girl steps hard on the gas, warning that she didn't like it at all when other people passed in front of her. The grand engines roar violently while the pair of racers disputed every inch of that dangerous race. Maintaining total focus on the track, our protagonist perceives the girl's fury and decides to show his true skills. With an insane move, the charming student takes an impossible curve, sliding his luxury car with a divine precision. The tires screech loudly on the asphalt while the vehicle cut through the air, leaving the skillful girl eating dust on that curve. Accelerating fully on the final straight, the dark-haired hero crosses the finish line, securing the grand victory in a heroic way. The curious ones in the audience are shocked, praising that perfect technique worthy of a great professional of the racing tracks. Shortly thereafter, the powerful speakers blast Jiang Cheng's name, declaring him as the winner of that second dispute. Emerging from the car, the platinum-haired guy highly praises his friend, while the long-haired one notes that the wealthy guy hid his talent at the start of the game. Removing his helmet, the modest billionaire smiles, revealing that he didn't want to draw so much attention right on his first round. At that, the beautiful racer approaches the hero, praising his driving and introducing herself formally, wanting a friendship. Holding her hand, the young master introduces himself and is surprised that the gorgeous girl's skin is soft despite racing so much all day. Perceiving the tycoon's long touch, the seductive woman thinks in a conceited way that she had just enchanted the rich boy. Joking with the situation, the bold driver asks for his contact info to exchange great racing tips during tonight. The silver-haired friend is totally open-mouthed, unable to believe that the rookie managed to hook the goddess so quickly like that. Deciding to test the recently acquired divine power, the strategist orders the system to investigate the girl's feelings. The cheeky young woman's mind was imagining very romantic scenes between the two, leaving the startled hero speechless at that moment. Despite this strong desire, the wise billionaire soon discovers that the beautiful racer played with the hearts of many guys there. Rejecting the offer, the intelligent hero mentions he is very well accompanied by his partner, preferring to leave the talk for later. Feeling the weight of the rejection, the jealous gorgeous girl observes the other young woman, wanting to test what that man's girlfriend was capable of. Pointing her finger at the pink-haired girl, the rival warns that the next race would be for the women, calling the beautiful partner to the track. Pointing to herself, the beautiful girlfriend with the colorful hair questions in surprise if the challenge was truly for her. Feeling much pressure, the beautiful pink-haired girl reflects on the rival's skills, fearing she will face a massive embarrassment there. Being very affectionate, the protagonist embraces the gorgeous girl, telling her to relax, and the girl begs for his company in the car. Whispering in the young woman's ear, the bold tycoon accepts the request, but demands a very hot reward for the night. Observing the lovebirds, the jealous racer scowls, maintaining total focus to destroy her rival on the grand track. Quickly, the potent vehicles line up on the starting line, roaring their strong engines for the start of the race. Already inside the machine, the jealous girlfriend deduces that the rival wanted to steal her man, and the hero plays dumb. Being ironic, the bold pink-haired girl questions the scoundrel, while the rich student guarantees he feels nothing for the other driver. Joking with the situation, the young master makes a mischievous joke, leaving his beautiful partner totally startled by it. Completely embarrassed, the stunning driver asks the youth to stop with the jokes, fearing everyone's gazes. With the cars speeding on the track, the excited female announcer narrates the intense chase between the two great goddesses of the venue. Cutting through the winds, the skillful rival racer crosses the finish line, securing first place in that dispute. Emerging from the car, the happy girlfriend jumps into her beloved's arms, celebrating the great adrenaline despite losing the challenge. Approaching, the conceited champion congratulates the girl, but the humble pink-haired one expresses thanks for almost defeating the veteran. At that moment, the victorious driver gets a big shock when she perceives a strong masculine hand grabbing her beautiful arm. Analyzing the young woman, the divine system reveals all the bold woman's intentions, showing that her loyalty was low. Reading the floating screen, the calculative billionaire deduces that goddess felt nothing, wanting only to conquer him right there. Trying to please the rich student, the young racer suggests he buy a machine, but the youth declines the gentle invitation. Entering the conversation, the long-haired guy gives a bold little wink, joking about dating the wealthy guy if he liked men. Giving a laugh, our hero rejects the bizarre offer, passing the ball to the platinum-haired guy, who also denies his partner. Being very social, The long-haired driver ends the jokes and calls his great colleagues to enjoy the luxury party. Inviting his girl, the tycoon receives an affectionate refusal because the dedicated influencer needed to work today. Arriving at the huge restaurant, the group finds an arrogant rich kid who immediately begins to provoke the protagonist's friend. Being ignored, the annoying smart Alec raises his tone of voice, accusing the calm long-haired guy of being a massive fearful loser. Maintaining his posture, the offended youth tells the aggressor to get lost, recalling the recent punishments of that hair. Going over the limits, the villain insults the long-haired guy's new friendships, making the powerful student intervene in the argument. Finding the billionaire's attitude amusing, the arrogant youth smiles sadistically while grabbing a knife from the table. Totally out of control, the crazy guy raises the sharp blade, threatening to cut our hero because of that response. Thanks to his high divine reflexes, the agile young master dodges the mortal strike, leaning his body backward. Without giving chances to the enemy, the implacable protagonist fights back with a devastating slap to that cowardly boy's face. Running his hand over his face, the daddy's boy questions if that mere rookie had the courage to touch him. Without saying anything, our implacable hero raises his leg, prepared to teach the cursed youth a major lesson. With a powerful kick, the rich student strikes the coward's chest, knocking the aggressor onto the restaurant floor. Bleeding heavily from his nose, the spoiled rich kid groans in pain, feeling the weight of the strong blow suffered to his face. Fallen on the floor, the lunatic grabs another knife, threatening to take the protagonist's life and using his father's name. Totally blinded by rage, the coward advances again with the sharp blade, aiming straight at the tycoon's chest. Using his divine instincts, the young master dodges the dangerous attack, lowering his body with style. Immediately, the agile hero extends his hand, grabbing the aggressor's neck with a colossal strength right there. Desperate with the scene, the long-haired friend begs the hero to maintain his calm and not dirty his hands with that trash. The platinum-haired partner reflects that the villain's family was very powerful, forcing his friend to endure the insults. Worried, the long-haired guy understands the major risk of that fight, knowing that the spoiled one possessed dangerous connections. Releasing the rival's neck, the protagonist listens to his friends while the humiliated coward promises revenge. Grabbing his cell phone, the aggressor decides to call his family, and the long-haired guy criticizes the attitude, being demanded an apology. At that, the gentle partner advises Jiang Cheng to flee from there, promising to find a way to calm the situation. Yelling loudly, the rich kid forbids the tycoon's escape, wanting his end, while the friend defends his hero. Totally arrogant, the daddy's boy mocks the two, heavily insulting the rich student's mother. Losing his patience, the implacable protagonist warns that he would teach a major lesson and delivers another fine slap. The violent slap strikes squarely on the coward's face, making his head turn from the immense impact suffered there. Without any mercy, our hero begins a major combo of slaps to the spoiled kid's face to teach him respect. Impressed by the beating, the platinum-haired guy is shocked by his friend's great courage because nobody there would do that. Holding the boy by the collar, the young master tells him to think before speaking since he spared his life. Observing the trouble, the partner with the long hair doesn't understand the reason why the student ignored all the warnings. The platinum-haired friend judges that the protagonist's wealth came from a weak company, if compared to their rivals. With that, the divine system rewards the billionaire's strong attitudes, delivering a high privilege card. Covering his smashed face, the rich kid warns that there would be grave consequences, while the long-haired guy tried for peace. Rejecting the truce, the overbalanced villain decides to claim his revenge, and the protective friend calls the blame onto himself. Facing the driver, the coward focuses his resentment totally on the tycoon, promising that the city would collect. Being loyal, the partner tries to defend the wealthy guy, but the hero warns that he would test who possessed the best contacts. Worried, the long-haired friend prepares his cell phone to ask his father for help, but the billionaire declines the offer. Giving a confident smile, the powerful protagonist closes his eyes, activating his new special item from the system. Answering the call, the youth confirms his name and questions curiously who was speaking on the other side of that line. The elderly man reveals himself to be his second grandfather, complaining about the youth not having asked for the family's valuable help to resolve the problem. Totally confused, our hero wonders mentally where that relative came from since he had never heard of him before. Giving a sigh, the old man understands that his ungrateful son hid the truth, while the boy accepts the grand new family. Being affectionate, the gentleman warns that they worked hard to provide comfort to the heir, and the intelligent tycoon notices the power. The rich relative warns that he would send an assistant to resolve everything, telling the boy to slap the face of whoever dared to annoy him. With that, the elderly man invites the young master to visit his grandfathers in the capital, reinforcing the strong family union of everyone. The charming student promises to make a fine visit soon, while his long-haired friend finds all that talk strange in the middle of chaos. At that moment, some uniformed police officers arrive at the location, demanding major explanations about all the heavy trouble that occurred. The peaceful protagonist tries to calm the situation, claiming it's a misunderstanding, but the beaten, spoiled kid orders them to arrest his rival. Supporting the injured here, the officer questions about the terrible assault, and the sincere whistleblower confesses to the deed with calm. Pulling out the shiny metal handcuffs, the tough guard warns that the youth was a suspect of a crime, telling him to accompany them. Maintaining his intimidating posture, the courageous wealthy guy questions the officer about what would happen if he refused the order. Sweating cold from much nervousness, the tense guard raises his voice, unable to believe the bold rebellion of that simple boy. Fearing making some major mistake, the police commander quietly asks his colleague who that mysterious youth could be. Suddenly, the elegant mother of the humiliated villain appears, scolding the team, demanding the immediate arrest of the great aggressor. The chief of the police department panics and orders his slow subordinates to quickly take the violent youth away from there. Caressing her son's battered face, the wealthy woman suggests a hospital, but the furious hare desired revenge right now. Displaying a cruel, sadistic look, the spoiled kid plans to use all his massive influence to destroy the poor student in prison. Being very arrogant, the elegant woman threatens the dedicated officers' jobs, demanding a major, heavy, and fair punishment. Desperate, the long-haired guy wants to call his family, but the hero warns that his kind relative was already resolving the problem. At that exact moment, a majestic $1 million luxury vehicle parks on the dark street, drawing a lot of attention from everyone. Observing the expensive fleet, the surprised friend deduces something while numerous men in dark suits emerged from the huge and beautiful cars. Seeing that army of strong guards, the platinum-haired hair suspects that the young master's family had arrived. The intimidating group of bodyguards walks through the hall, led by an elegant man wearing a fine brown suit and glasses. Displaying the special badge, the private secretary introduces himself directly to the two police officers, paralyzing the duo with fear. Totally in shock and stuttering heavily, the Grand Department commander gulps, wanting to know the reason for the visit. Bowing, the assistant greets the protagonist, mentioning he is there at the command of the grand elderly man, and the rich boy expresses thanks for the help. Being very polite, the suited man reveals that the boy was the family's successor, placing himself at the complete disposal of the future boss. Completely paralyzed, the two rich friends are jaw-dropped, trying to imagine the size of their companion's fortune. The furious woman loses control and begins to scream at the police director, threatening to call her husband right now. Finding it funny, the tycoon mocks the villainess, asking if the city was hers, while the woman swears she would crush the outsider. Defying the hag, our hero smiles sadistically, wanting to see how that spoiled woman would deal with him at the end of the day. At that, the suited secretary interrupts the socialite, questioning who she thought she was to command in that massive city. Being imposing, the man introduces himself as the personal secretary of the president of a giant group, revealing the hero's lineage. Completely pale and trembling with fear, the arrogant madame cannot believe the name of that gigantic company mentioned there. Reflecting on the scene, the platinum-haired guy understands his friend's confidence, since he was the only heir grandson of a billionaire. In addition to all the cash, the rich kid remembers that the protagonist's grandfather possessed massive connections even with the country's military. Displaying a terrifying aura, the assistant faces the villainess, wanting to know how she would explain this trouble to the young master. In total shock, the desperate wealthy woman is left speechless, trying to understand how the situation turned upside down so fast. Yelling, the spoiled kid accuses the outsider for the beating, but the suited man reveals he has videos proving that the aggressor started everything. Totally indignant, the coward accuses the secretary of transforming the poor victim into the great culprit of that entire crime right there. Realizing the grave mistake, the startled mother tells her son to shut his mouth, and the boy deduces that outsider had divine connections. Trying to save her own skin, the woman smiles nervously, making up an excuse that all that was just a simple misunderstanding of children. Changing targets, the secretary looks to the police commander, mocking the major lack of competent employees in the district. Sweating cold, the fearful chief tries to make conversation, remembering a time he had the honor to participate in the grandfather's party. Adjusting his glasses, the implacable assistant warns that his boss would get very irritated if he knew of his presence there. At that, the spoiled madam answers her cell phone and listens to a superior from another state mocking that her family ruled the city. The hag's husband also hears major scoldings over the phone, being alerted not to do anything that irritated the powerful family. Gulping, the terrified wealthy woman faces reality, perceiving that all the superior scoldings were because of that outsider. Shaking all over, the intimidated mother accepts the orders, promising to bow her head and apologize to our hero. The police chief watches everything in silence, realizing the young student holds the greatest power in the entire massive capital. Showing deep respect, the executive says goodbye to the calm billionaire, mentioning he has a lot of work back at his luxury office. The group of arrogant rich kids freezes in terror, anticipating the major nightmare they will face from that exact moment on. Completely giving in, the fearful mother pulls her son forward, apologizing profusely for the terrible upbringing of the little coward. Remaining cold, the ruthless tycoon calls out his rival's foolishness, making it clear that everyone has good connections in this crazy world. Outraged, the spoiled kid asks what else the boy wants, but the ruthless protagonist demands he hurt himself to pay off the debt. Hearing this absurd demand, the mother tries to protect her pride and joy, calling the hero malicious while the strict assistant steps in again. Desperate, the foolish guy tries to use his father's name to save himself, but the scared mother covers the idiot's mouth to prevent a bigger disaster. Defeated, the woman and her son bow down, begging for forgiveness from the wealthy guy, who ignores them completely while playing on his phone. The terrified rich kid asks what the hero really wants, and the calm student repeats his harsh demand. Screaming in despair, the coward claims it is impossible to do that since he has already apologized to everyone. Watching it all play out, the long-haired guy thinks the punishment is a bit too heavy, even though he absolutely hates the whiny villain's actions. Remaining cold, the tycoon warns that the coward can leave if he is willing to handle the major consequences of running away. The young master points out that normal people would already be gone if they had taken a beating from that spoiled rich kid. At that, his silver-haired partner agrees with the idea, understanding that society always punishes the weak and the poor. The billionaire vigilant warns that he has plenty of money to ensure the coward never humiliates another innocent person again. Holding his phone, the desperate aggressor cries as he hears his own father abandon him in the middle of the mess. Over the phone, the coward's father explains that the powerful rival family is untouchable and filled with military heroes. Completely in shock, the pale, spoiled kid realizes he messed with the absolute worst person in the entire massive capital. Accepting his sad fate, the fearful boy lowers his head, preparing to carry out the imposed punishment. Holding the tool while shaking uncontrollably, the defeated rich kid asks if the injury will fully settle the massive debt. Crying heavily, the humiliated young man begs the wealthy guy to keep his word after the harsh punishment is done. Maintaining his imposing stance, the calm protagonist guarantees he is a very honest man when it comes to his agreements. With no other choice, the coward screams in pain, inflicting a sharp wound on his own leg to pay for his mistake. The desperate mother cries heavily seeing her beloved son suffer, screaming for an ambulance. Bleeding heavily, the defeated villain takes a deep breath, announcing that the debts are finally paid off. Satisfied with the fitting punishment, our hero agrees that the revenge is over and lets the group of cowards leave. The medical team quickly arrives at the scene, places the injured guy on a stretcher, and takes him to a top-tier hospital. The long-haired partner apologizes profusely for the massive trouble caused on that hectic night. Tapping the hair on the shoulder, the elegant assistant invites the young master to get into the luxury black vehicle. Once inside the machine, the wealthy student praises the comfort and hears that the beautiful car is a highly exclusive model. The assistant hands over a valuable black card, mentioning that his grandfather saved up a ton of money for the boy to spend. Taking the gift, the curious protagonist wonders about the size of the massive fortune stored inside that tiny item. Arriving at the destination, the executive says goodbye to the billionaire, telling him to always ask for help whenever he needs it. Lying down in his modest room, the young man decides to call his father, complaining about their major lack of communication. Just then, his beautiful business partner walks into the room, and the confused boy asks about his grandfather's origins. Helping the wealthy guy take off his jacket, the stunning woman guesses that the heir just received a massive lecture. Over the phone, the father emphasizes the grandfather's power, telling the student to call them if he ever runs into any other absolute trash. Hanging up the call, the hero finds it funny that his father considers such a wealthy heir to be nothing more than basic trash. The alluring brunette asks if the young master prefers to take a relaxing bath or have dinner first. At that, the bold wealthy guy pulls his beautiful girlfriend close, guaranteeing he is not interested in any other food on this fine night. Losing no time, our hero embraces the beautiful woman, starting an intense session of pure romance and affection in that warm bedroom. The next day, the charming student walks through the sunny city streets, looking completely relaxed with his life. Meeting up with his silver-haired friend, the billionaire notices his partner is still shocked by the massive power of his entire family. Enjoying the modest food, the calm protagonist asks in surprise if the preppy blonde guy was really that much of a coward. Eating his food, the anxious friend replies that he is just relieved the hero is safe, warning him about the major danger avoided yesterday. But the relaxed tycoon tells his buddy to stop exaggerating, while secretly wishing he had been told about this wealth sooner. Reflecting on the madness, the silver-haired young man concludes that true billionaire dragons always prefer to hide in the shadows. Giving a slight smile, the bold boy claims he does not care about rival fortunes, guaranteeing he will always be the richest man in the room. Changing the subject, The partner brings up the hero's intention to buy real estate, and the young man confirms he wants a massive office soon. Finishing his meal, the excited hare stands up from his chair, calling his close buddy over to look at some beautiful, luxury buildings. Arriving at the massive sales office, the powerful pair of friends is warmly welcomed by the managers of the high-end establishment. Presenting the best building options, the rich friend surprises the protagonist, showing he understands the business incredibly well. Looking at the massive model of the metropolis, the young master points to a beautiful building, asking if it has already been sold. The friendly agent mentions that the large area is still locked, and the curious billionaire asks to take a good look at it. Evaluating the entire blueprint of the luxury project, the tycoon praises the security system and quickly asks about the premium price of the whole place. The silver-haired partner tries to quote the maximum market value, but the hero demands to hear the lowest, most friendly price the agency can offer right away. Breaking into a cold sweat, the tense salesman reveals that the internal price is around 18,000 to close a great deal between them. Being an excellent friend, the companion pulls the agent aside and reduces the cost even further, securing an absurd discount for his partner. Reflecting on the massive profit margins, the student accepts the bargain, calculating that the final price for everything will be wonderful. The salesman tries to stop the discount, fearing the rules, but the powerful hare settles everything, swearing to speak directly with his influential father. Completely paralyzed with fear, the employee accepts the absurd order, terrified of crossing his boss's aggressive and spoiled son. Refocusing, the excited guy asks exactly which floor the wealthy man wishes to buy to set up his new company. Maintaining his composure, our hero points to the model, wanting to know the total value of that entire massive commercial building. The startled agent widens his eyes, unable to believe the level of the request coming from this wildly powerful, billionaire young master. Stuttering heavily, the tense employee calculates a price of 6 billion, and the calm tycoon immediately requests a major bank branch right there. The silver-haired companion suggests taking the paperwork straight to the bank, and the smart hero agrees with that wonderful idea. Being highly efficient, the blonde guy tells the salesman to call the financial manager to get everything completely prepared for them there. Calling and celebrating wildly, the agent realizes the commission from that single sale will change his humble life forever and ever. Arriving at the bank branch, the manager receives the two rich young men with great politeness, inviting them to enjoy some nice tea. At that, the silver-haired guy introduces our protagonist, warning that his business brother is an even more powerful client. Breaking into a cold sweat, the experienced executive is highly surprised, noticing the deep respect coming from the usually spoiled silver-haired hare. Greeting the tycoon with a handshake, the dedicated director states he is ready to serve the client faithfully. Meanwhile, a beautiful assistant guides the distinguished guests, asking what kind of massive deal they will be doing today. Sitting on the comfortable sofa, the hero explains that he bought a large building and wants to make the transfers right there. Leaning on the desk, the director asks for the student's card, assuming the deal would amount to nothing more than a few million. Taking out his mysterious black card, Zhang Cheng calmly asks the man to transfer over 5 billion. Completely shocked by that mind-blowing request, the pale manager asks if he heard that number correctly. Looking at his phone, the billionaire notices the man's surprise, openly regretting it if the branch cannot handle the transfer. Holding the precious item, the worker stares at the wealth, unable to believe his gigantic luck in landing such a massive client. Getting back to business, the executive warns that such a massive payment can never be completed all at once. Shaking all over, the director explains the major lack of physical cash in the vaults, asking to schedule the long process instead. Being incredibly bold, our hero promises to deposit over 10 billion if the manager can resolve his little problem. Hearing the highly valuable proposal, the shocked employee almost has a heart attack, his eyes widening at such immense purchasing power. Observing his partner's immense wealth, the silver-haired guy breaks into a cold sweat, trying to figure out where the kid is getting so much money. Holding some papers, the director is terrified by the world of the mega rich, realizing the young man is a living legend. Totally incredulous, the worker tries to confirm the amount, and the calm student guarantees he will deposit the money if the man helps him out. Thinking to himself, the strategist focuses on his grand system, calculating all the massive returns on his purchases. Feeling intimidated by his friend, the silver-haired guy knows that even his own father does not possess that much liquid cash, while the humble manager celebrates. Toying with some coins, the tycoon demands the transfer happen in a single transaction, calling for speed from the powerful bank. Tapping his friend on the shoulder, the blonde guy suggests sending the profits in batches, but he is immediately shut down by the wealthy man, who hates delays. Maintaining his serious gaze, the impatient billionaire laments the major losses to his system if the amount is broken into too many installments. Seeing a major golden opportunity, the dedicated employee grabs his phone, promising to find a way to handle the whole situation. With a polite gesture, the heir dismisses the man, emphasizing that he expects excellent results very quickly. Left alone in the room, the silver-haired youth admits he is dying of envy, praising his friend's massive fortune. Remaining quite humble, the partner confesses to feeling useless next to his friend, but the bold billionaire warns that this is only the beginning. Reflecting on the massive amount of money, the student understands perfectly well that billionaires never keep too much physical cash lying around. Laughing out loud, the blonde guy asks if the tycoon wants a new brother, bringing a big smile to his calm companion's face. Stunned by the sharp response, the boy is startled to realize that his great friend is basically adopting him like a little baby. Returning with excitement, the manager announces that the higher-ups approved the massive transfer, asking them to wait just 1 hour. With a broad smile on his face, the experienced worker thanks him for his business, promising to serve the tycoon very faithfully. At that, the executive introduces his beautiful niece, mentioning she will take care of the valuable card and serve as his personal assistant. Showing off her great curves, the stunning assistant approaches gracefully, saying she is very happy to assist the wealthy young man. Completely mesmerized, Jiang Chen notices the woman's incredible beauty, figuring it must be the work of his powerful and wealthy system. Uneasy with the scene, the silver-haired rich kid asks why he did not receive a partner during his last negotiation. Trying to smooth things over, the clever director guarantees that he personally took care of the blonde guy, promising him a new female employee soon. Finding it hilarious, the silver-haired hair declines the offer, but the executive swears he will choose a beautiful woman for him too. Being highly seductive, the new assistant leans over the desk, asking the billionaire to review and sign the account papers. Catching the girl's sweet scent, the calm student completely loses his composure, trying hard to control his instincts right then and there. Maintaining a professional posture, the assistant hands over the new cards with an incredible initial limit of 20 million. Thanking her for the excellent work, the hero smiles at his new partner, and the young lady states she is merely doing her great duty. Seconds before entering the room, the old man had instructed his niece to make an excellent impression on the wealthy young master. Reflecting on their ages, the director planned to use the young lady's beauty to create a powerful connection with that billionaire. Seeing the great interaction, the clever man celebrates silently, understanding that his family will gain massive influence through this. After an hour passes, the excited manager brings the valuable contracts, announcing that the long process is finally complete. Just then, the system notifies him of a return of 27.5 billion, frustrating the wealthy guy with such a small profit margin. Celebrating the massive success, the blonde guy congratulates his partner on the new building, wondering why he looks so sad. Sweating profusely, the experienced executive panics, fearing the boy might not deposit the 10 billion promised in their agreement. Letting out a long sigh, our protagonist relaxes his posture, realizing he does not need to worry about money at all. Observing the virtual screen, the tycoon celebrates the system leveling up, guaranteeing a gigantic, automatic daily income. Completely paralyzed and stuttering heavily, the terrified manager tries to get the student's attention, fearing the absolute worst. At that exact moment, an employee bursts into the office yelling, announcing an immense transfer into the branch's vaults. Out of breath, the startled young woman announces the incredible arrival of 27.5 billion, freezing everyone in the room with the news. Hearing this absurd amount, the silver-haired hair widens his beautiful eyes, unable to believe the sheer size of his friend's massive power. Turning his head slowly, the pale worker's jaw drops as he realizes the monstrous level of that wealthy young man.